The most advanced racing simulator competition is here. From every corner of the planet, the top Gran Turismo drivers will compete in 2 FIA certified championships. We're here in Salzburg in the iconic venue of Hangar 7, and you are about to witness the 2nd Gran Turismo World Tour event. Now.
Hello and welcome to the Gran Turismo World Tour, coming to you live from Hangar 7 here in Austria. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We have got an incredible show lined up for you. My name's Julia Hardy and I am joined by the very wonderful, have to say that, Jack Nicholls.
Yeah, that's in my contract that she has to say I'm wonderful. It's a wonderful event. We're surrounded by some wonderful Red Bull machinery and we're in for some wonderful racing this evening as well. 36 of the best sim drivers in the world battling it out. They're from 12 countries and there's 2 competitions to be won tonight as well.
I know, and not only are we, going out live, we're going out live on YouTube, on Twitch, on Red Bull TV, and we are also having commentation in 6 different languages. This is how global it has become. So, I mean, obviously we've been here for a couple of days now, just kind of getting the lay of the land. What's your kind of vibe on it, Jack? Like, what are you looking forward to?
It is that world flavour. I think that's what I'm really excited about. The drivers that we're about to meet, they're from Brazil, they're from Hong Kong, they're from the States, they're from Japan, and all of those guys have not actually raced each other head-to-head before. They got a little bit of a flavour in the qualifying last night, but today, it's about the head-to-head.
Well, yeah, kind of chucking like the Japanese into the mix. Everyone's had their ears and eyes on that. But why don't we take a look at what exactly happened last night, because that's going to show what's going to happen through this. Let's take a look. Wow. You know what, like, we've got so many of the incredible drivers from the last series back here today to kind of, really try and, like, keep a hold of what what they did last time.
Yeah, exactly. And they'll be hoping so. These are the qualifying standings. These were the individual times, and those 36 times for the 3 nations were all added together, and that gave us the fastest nation qualifier, and that was Japan. So they'll start the first Nations Cup race in first place in front of Hungary, France, Spain and Great Britain, the top 5. And so a really impressive performance from Japan.
So they were right to be peering over the shoulders of the Japanese, basically, to see what was going on. So in terms of a schedule for what's going to be happening today, so first up we're going to have our Nations Cup, which is obviously what we're talking about there. Then after that we're going to have the Manufacturer Series. Now, we're going to break this down easy, step by step for you, so you know exactly what's ahead of the day. So why don't we take a look at exactly how the Nations Cup works?
So the Nations Cup, as you might imagine, is the Battle of the Nations.
Well, it's kind of in the title, right?
Oh, okay, fine. But I thought we were breaking it down. So we have got these 36 drivers, all 3 drivers from 12 different countries around the world. And therefore, it's 3 drivers per country, and that's how it's going to work out.
Yes.
Then there's going to be 4 races.
Yeah.
The first 3 races of those are going to be individual. So for driver 1, driver 2, driver 3, they'll all have their own short race.
And then the last one, the final one, it basically is all drivers doing each, in each section, and they have to kind of switch in and out of the cars as well. So there's actually some IRL, possible jeopardy going on there. I mean, what if they trip over a seat?
Exactly. And also, as you can see there, the final race is double points compared to the first 3 points. Ooh. So the team's champion, the nation's champion, will be awarded to the team with the most points overall. Yeah. So you might win the last race. That doesn't necessarily mean you win the overall Nations Cup.
I mean, no, but it does mean that last race is Just make sure you don't trip over the seat is my top tip for someone who never races.
No, that's a really good tip.
I know, right? Don't trip over a seat. Also, let's take a look at how exactly the Manufacturers Series is going to be working. Let's break it down in some numbers for you.
So this one's slightly different.
Okay.
We've still got the 36 drivers, but they are being split into 18 manufacturers that are in the Gran Turismo game. 36 divided by 18 is...
2.
Very good.
Why
So
are you giving me maths like that?
2 drivers per team.
What?
The top 6 teams go through to the final. So
Yes.
the final will be 12 after the first 2 semi-final A and semi-final B. And there are 2 drivers in each team. So once again, we're going to be having the car swap, and you can get excited about tripping over a seat.
I'll get excited about that. And obviously, actually, all of the manufacturers, they were kind of predetermined before they came here. Obviously, a lot of the guys who were using, Mercedes-Benz, things like that, if they were already using them, they've kind of given preference to the manufacturers of choice, as they could do.
And that's not a points championship one. That's whoever wins the final wins the final.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, it's so great to be here. Obviously, we've got the entire, world represented. I know you guys at home have definitely got something to say, so we would love to hear what you think on social media. Use the hashtag GTSport. We want to know what you think, and all the best ones we're going to be reading out. I mean, keep them clean. Friendly but funny, but keep them clean. Don't laugh like that.
Why?
It just sounds like desperation. You're like, don't.
Yeah, again, contractually, I have to laugh at your jokes. So I think it's about time that we get the competition underway, really. First of all, we're going to be meeting all of our drivers. They're going to be parading down, and it's a world tour, but we are here in Austria. So as a result of that, let's hear the Austrian national anthem. So a round of applause for our 36 drivers that are making their way up onto the stage. And they've come up in reverse qualifying order. So the fastest team, as we saw earlier on, was Japan, and they will be the last 3 drivers to line up at the bottom of the stage. And what a fantastic event this is going to be. There's going to be an awful lot of fights throughout the Nations Cup and the Manufacturers Cup over the course of the evening, and it's going to be really entertaining to watch them duke it out. There you can see the French team there down at the front, the Spanish team in there as well. The British team, they qualified in 5th place in the end, so that's where they'll be starting the first race of the Nations Cup. And with everybody there, we will get them into position. We've got 36 drivers, we've got 12 countries here, but we've almost got as many commentary teams, Julia.
Well, yes, as we said, we're going out in 6 different languages, which means all of our different commentators are up here. And it's not really much of a commentation booth as a really, really long strip because there are so many here. So we're going to take a quick look and say a quick hello. Hello to our commentators from Japan. How are you?
Hi. I'm excited. Ganbare Nippon!
Yeah, you excited?
I'm excited too. So, 日本の皆さん頑張ってください。
Okay, all right. Thank you so much. Let's move it on over here to Italy. They're all jabbering away. I'm just going to interrupt them. Hi guys, how are you?
Oh, we're very excited because there's a lot of talent on the grid. Giorgio Mangano, Blojan, Yatanaka, yeah, very good. But all the drivers are strong. So, Andrea.
Good luck for everyone.
Yeah. Well, you've got some hot contenders, so I think people are keeping an eye on some of your drivers to see how they're going to do, obviously. And welcome to Spain. Hello. How are you doing?
Very well. Excited here and can't wait for the races. But what a show. What a show.
It's already a show. I'm worried about your arm. How did you do it?
Well, you know, racing driver, we take risks, but this one was really unlucky. Cycling, training for next week race. Very unfortunate crash, but yeah, I will miss the race next week. But we are here with all of you, so excited.
Oh, I mean, you know, you think that you do it obviously while you were driving, but no, just something really inane and just straightforward, like right. Okay, well, look, good luck for the commentation, and we'll see you later.
Thank you. Ciao.
And bonjour, ça va?
What a surprise!
I know, isn't it? Such a surprise. Let me do some GCSE French for you. How are you guys doing?
We're very excited. It's going to be a good competition, and we're very glad to be here.
Who's kind of do you have a standout driver that we should all be keeping an eye on? Your best driver?
For France?
Yeah, for France.
Oh, of course, we like the race clutch driver, Pierre Lenoir, but Oscar is here, Red Line 2. We've got really good driver, and also all the drivers from the other countries are very good and so nice.
Everyone is very diplomatic here. It's like United Nations, but better. And hello, guten Tag to Germany. How are you doing?
Well, that was very impressive.
Wasn't it? It's just like I can't speak German.
But it was good. We can agree on that.
Okay, thanks. So who out of Germany's drivers should we be keeping an eye on in these races?
I mean, it's obviously TRL Lightning. Like he's really good. He had a bit of trouble in the qualification, which saw him doing way better than in free practice. Yeah. So I hope that he will come back strong for the competition right now.
Yeah. What do you think? And is it exciting to be here?
Yeah, of course, especially here in Hungary 7. It's a great venue to be here, and there's even better of a show.
Yeah, I'm super excited. We'll have a really great show. We'll catch up with you a bit later on. And then we come to the troublemakers, i.e. the Brits. How are you doing?
Pretty good, pretty good. Very excited to be here, as Tobias said, in Hangar 7. I don't really understand how you guys keep getting these locations.
Yeah, it's money. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. So who should we be looking out for this race? What are you keeping your eye on?
I think Martin Grady. The guy's part of the furniture at this point. He's always around these competitions, so if he doesn't do well, he's doing something wrong. So definitely one to watch out for.
Because he's quite consistent.
Yeah, consistently okay.
Well, I mean, that is being consistent. I didn't say it was consistently great. There we go. But so obviously, kind of chucking Japan into the mix. Was it like during the qualifiers? Was everyone kind of just like peering over the shoulders of the Japanese team just because they're such an unknown variable?
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, all the drivers have been competing in Europe, so all the European drivers are used to each other. They haven't been racing with the drivers from the Asian and Oceania region, so it's a bit of a step into the unknown, and it has made qualifying and certainly will make the racing this evening quite interesting.
Okay. Well, I'm very, very excited to find out how this is all going to go. As you can see, we are going out in over, 6 different languages. Everyone is super keen and, to find out exactly how this is going to go. So good luck, guys. We're going to chuck it to some actual racing now. Let's throw over to the Nations Cup.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is what it is all about, the Gran Turismo World Tour. Here we go then, and we're off away in racing. Who's going to emerge from the lead in all of this? What a fantastic move, but the race is not over yet. Oh, no, it's over! Oh. He has to keep them up ahead. Oh, but he's running a bit wide. They're still side by side.
This is fantastic driving.
You can't ask for much more than that.
Wow, that was a speed run for me through those commentators.
I think you got away with it. I don't think anyone noticed you only just got here in time.
I'm a little bit out of breath, I have to say. It's quite a jog in heels.
Yeah. So it's time for the first race,
yes.
The Nations Cup, and this is quite a cool track actually that we're about to see.
So this is very, very exciting because of course this is the first time that a lot of you guys are into Gran Turismo, and certainly these guys here are going to be racing on this particular track. So a lot of kind of unknown variables. Obviously people know the track, but no one's actually played it yet.
Yeah, exactly. It's a historic racetrack, Fuji International Speedway, under the watchful eye of Mount Fuji in Japan. It's something that's obviously a very special race for the Japanese racers. Not only the mountain itself, but the track too has an awful lot of history throughout the years, and I think they're all going to be very excited to see what's going to happen. And to learn a little bit more about the track, I spoke to Jonathan Wong from Hong Kong just to find out what the key parts of this circuit are going to be. So Jonathan Wong from Hong Kong is going to be our guide around the Fuji International Speedway. So tell me a bit about Fuji Speedway. Is it a circuit you enjoy? It's got a lot of history.
From Grand Turismo 5 I've played, the track is already there. And I like the long straight from in there and some tight corner.
That straight is 1 kilometer long, so it must be great for slipstream.
Yes, very much. Great place to do the slipstream and try to overtake the opponents at the first corner.
So if you have the choice, a big power car or a car that's quick in the corners around Fuji, which do you choose?
I would like to choose the car with fast corner because I love to break in the corner and race them at the corner and just pass through them. I don't want to be power through it and do hard work to defend it. Yeah. I want to attack.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you for that guide. It's really interesting stuff.
Thank you.
There's a look at the Fuji International Speedway then, and all these races are going to be a rolling start, but you can see the difference between the massive long straight, the fast sweeping corners, and then from turns 11 through to 14, very slow, technical parts of the circuit. So I think we're going to see plenty of overtaking and plenty of action in this one.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see how they do. And of course, it's underneath Mount Fuji. So I always get distracted by the locations of tracks, which is why I'm a terrible, terrible driver.
I've climbed it, Mount Fuji.
Have you?
Just thought I'd drop that in there.
Oh, I can hear it clang on the floor. There we go. Okay, so yeah, we are just about to get this underway. Why don't we, I think we're about time to chuck over to our commentators who are going to be taking over this race right now. Everyone's just getting warmed up and getting ready. And yeah, let's chuck it over to our commentators, Jimmy and Tom.
Thank you so much, Jack and Julia. Welcome up to the commentary box then. Tom Brooks and Jimmy Broadbent, rather, here with you. I was going to call you Jim then, I'm not going to call you Jim. But Jimmy Broadbent with you here in the commentary box, ready ahead of the first race. Jimmy, this is going to be an absolute cracker. N300 cars at this Fuji Speedway circuit. Comfort soft tyres, lots of variables going into it.
Well, I was saying before we actually went live, Tom, that the N300 class, one of my favourite classes to see drive. It's just road cars driving, being pushed their limits around the Fuji, a very memorable racetrack, of course. And to add into the mix even more, we have some of the best drivers in the world here to do so. So, I mean, how can that not be interesting? I don't really understand.
Yeah, absolutely right. It is going to be an absolute cracker, as you say there, Jimmy. Fuji Speedway, 5 laps for these drivers as well. Fuel consumption set at 6 times the normal limit. Tyre wear set at 10 times the normal limit. So there's going to be quite a lot of fuel saving, a lot of tyre saving, perhaps not pushing too hard too soon, because, of course, these guys are not going to want to wear out their tyres or, indeed, run out of fuel before the end of the race.
Well, the interesting thing about the N300 class is we see a lot of different drivetrains involved. We have some cars that are four-wheel drive and some cars that are rear-wheel drive and some cars that are old and rear-wheel drive. And as I'm sure you know, Tom, if you have yourself, for example, a Tommaso Pantera or a Lamborghini Countach, these things are going to slide a lot at the rear. And with this times 10 tyre wear, you're going to see a lot of oversteering moments if they're not taking care of them properly.
Yeah, absolutely. And these N300 cars, as you say, lots of different years, lots of different ways that they were manufactured and the ways that they were built as well. It really is going to be very, very exciting. You can see this video here as well as we have a little look at some of the absolutely stunning scenery around Salzburg. So, the grid then is set. N300 cars, 5 laps of the Fuji Speedway GT circuit. Japan on pole position, represented by Yamanaka-san. What will he be able to do going down towards that first corner? Well, Hungary will be hot on their heels. Patrick Blajan at the wheel of the Mazda RX-7. Row 2 headed by Leonhardt for France. Keep an eye out for him. That Countach, very difficult car to drive at the best of times. They've got the Spaniards, Marin on the outside of the second row of the grid. Row 3 in 5th position is Martin Grady for Britain. Keep an eye out for him as well. And then you've got Santiago for the USA alongside him. Heading towards the further end of the grid, we've got Law from Hong Kong. And alongside Law, it is Hizao, otherwise known as TRL Lightning for Germany. He is Lightning, so keep an eye out for him making his way through the field. Mangiano in the Corvette. That's a very tricky car to drive for Italy. He's alongside Healy for Australia. And the final row of the grid is Barker for Austria, doing some home nation proud, hopefully here for Salzburg. And then the Brazilian Neto in the Nissan 300 going down towards that first turn. So the revs are rising, the tension is in the air. 5 laps of the Fuji Speedway GT circuit about to get underway. It'll be a rolling start as they head their way down towards that first turn, which could be pretty crucial in terms of getting that run. These drivers are going to be using that slipstream to its absolute
maximum. Yamanaka-san will lead the way over the timing line, and as soon as that light does go green, we'll have this one underway. So the GT World Tour here at the Red Bull Hangar 7 Nations Cup Race 1 is underway, and predictably Yamanaka-san immediately going for that defensive line. Blajan already trying to attack, and look at third and fourth place there. Marin and Leonhardt trying to battle for position, Jimmy.
You see the Countach in the background, very fast in a straight line and benefiting from the slipstream too. Not too good on the braking zone, though. Let's see how these cars perform. Skyline, Grady on the inside, good on the brakes, but the NSX of Marin comes in behind just to hold him off. Gets up the inside of the Countach, which is forced wide there, wide onto the grass. So there goes the Countach off, and that means Yamanaka gets away unscathed. Yes, Blajan low, hot on his heels in that gorgeous-looking RX-7 coming through this left-hander, fast left-hander for the first time.
Yeah, comfort soft tyres as well. These cars are going to be very prone to understeer. You can see Marin there really pushing the limits of adhesion in third position. Blajan all over the back of Yamanaka like a bad rash. He's going to try and find his way past on this opening lap, try and make some headway. But look at that huge gap that they've already pulled out at the front of the field. And look at the battles taking place further back as well. Blajan, meanwhile, out in front, trying to find his way past. No way through Yamanaka-san in the middle part of the lap. But if he gets a good exit through this final sector and gets a good run through onto the final corner especially, he could find himself in that slipstream and having an advantage.
Worth noting, of course, catching something's one thing, getting by is another. We do have our first penalty from Mr. Santiago there, down in 7th position, so he's going to have to serve that at one of the allotted penalty points on the circuit. A bit different to what you're used to if you're into GT Sport. It isn't just driving and slowing down the line. We actually have an incident as well under investigation as Leonhardt and Grady. That'll be for T1, where Leonhardt was actually pushed wide in the Countach but off the circuit, so Grady there under the eyes of the scrutineers.
You can see Blajan there really closing up. He had a much better run through the third but last corner on this Fuji Speedway GT circuit, and coming into this final turn, if he's able to carry some momentum through here, as we look at the Hungarian driver in the bottom left corner of your screen, he'll be in the slipstream and really using it to great effect already on the early part of this 1 kilometre long start-finish straight. So Blajan in second position, going for the lead. He's going to try towards the inside as they come over the timing line for the first time. Let's see what he will happen. Let's see how they will go. Down the start-finish straight, Blajan takes over the lead out in front, and this is absolutely brilliant stuff for Blajan. Will Yamanaka be able to get him back under the brakes into turn 1? Doesn't look like he's going to be able to. Meanwhile, third place up for grabs as well. Leonhardt down the inside almost of Marin. These two are going side by side, two different cars than you can ever imagine. A Countach and a Honda NSX, and they are dueling for position. Side by side they come, and they're bringing Mangiano with him as well. This is absolutely brilliant. Giorgio Mangiano surely is going to dart his way down the inside of Marin into third position.
We'll have to note that, of course, that Mangiano as well is actually the World Tour winner from last time around. He won at the Nürburgring, so looking to do the same here again. He's in a bit of a interesting car to go around the circuit there. Corvette C3, gorgeous to see it, battling with a Countach. They go side by side. Look at that thing wallow through the corner. It hasn't got the modern handling performance of a modern car, but my God, does it have grunt in a straight line. Watch out of here. All sorts of sideways trying to get on the throttle, but now coming up behind Marin, by the way, who's actually the person who was awarded the penalty. We saw Grady on screen. That was a mistake. It was Marin that put Leonhardt off at T1, and he has been penalised as such.
Yeah, as you can say there, Jimmy. So let's see what will happen with these guys as they continue to battle. Big slide from Marin there as well. He's really dropped back. And Mangiano, Leonhardt and Law as well also coming into play as well. But Law coming under pressure from Martin Grady, who's looking to try and find his way further up the order. Grady started in 6th position on the grid. He's dropped down to 7th after the first lap here.
We actually had a bit of a chat with Grady a bit earlier on. It was wide, sorry, in the background. That was the NSX of Marin going up, but wide. That allows Mangiano to come back at him. Long right-handed here. You don't want to be on the outside. Is he going to go around the outside in the Corvette? Surely not. No, not quite. Sideways to the exit. Just about keeps a nose on him, and now it's going to be a power battle. And who's going to win that, do you reckon? My money's on the Corvette.
Well, keep an eye out for the Lamborghini Countach as well, who's just behind this squabbling duo. The Countach is certainly not afraid of putting its power down. You can see the advantage that that Corvette does have down the start-finish straight here. And going down towards the first corner, nobody looks like they're going to be able to challenge and pull out of that slipstream. Marin's going to go to the inside. Leonhardt is going to follow him as well, so we could have a three-wide battle almost going down towards turn 1. Leonhardt on the inside of Marin, on the inside of the NSX. Is he going to have to relinquish position here, Marin? They're side by side through the first corner. A nice clean move there for Leonhardt. He gets the drive out, but he's going to have the inside line for the outside line for the next corner. Marin is going to have the inside line as they run side by side, and Law also coming with him as well.
Law there in the background. Look, just watching us, and Marin again into the side of Leonhardt. That is the second time we've seen that happen, and there's a penalty for Law in the background. That must be for cutting the circuit. He was a little bit wide, I think, at T1, but that'll be another incident. I'm sure that'll be looked at by the stewards. Mangano, though, in the foreground has managed to pull away a little bit from this feisty little battle. Leonhardt in the background in that Countach. It's essentially just a wedge on wheels, that thing. Very fast in a straight line, a bit useless in the corners. And in the background, 3 wide, we've got Santiago, Law and Grady there. 2 GTRs just sandwiching the Hong Kong driver. Not a bad way to be sandwiched, if you ask me.
No, certainly not. This is very interesting. And look at Hezal as well, TRL Lightning. We can see on the top right-hand corner of your screen as well a notice to race direction. The incident between Marin and Leonhardt is under investigation, so it could be a second strike here for the Spaniard in this particular race. Let's see what will happen. But we were talking about Hezal, TRL Lightning, as he's otherwise known there, Jimmy. We know how quick he is, but he's not making the ground we thought he would do in these opening few laps.
A little bit tricky to get by around here. That's the problem. You see the slowing down marker there on the Law. That is one of the markers that's put onto the car. He has to slow down to a specific region for the penalty to get wiped away. But yes, as you were saying, sorry, Hezal, there's not really much place to get past. Lots of slipstreaming going on, but not many opportunities to actually get past unless you're on the back of someone coming into T1. Speaking of that, we have Blajan now at the front. Yamanaka is in the slipstream, but he's falling back. Looks like Blajan is actually pulling away a little bit, Tom.
Yeah, absolutely right there, Jimmy. That gap, though, last time around was 7/10 of a second. Over the timing line, it's gone down to just over half a second. Meanwhile, there's no gap between Marin and Leonhardt as they come down towards the first corner. This is absolutely brilliant side-by-side stuff between the NSX and the Lamborghini Countach, and that Lamborghini's engine is absolutely meteoric and manages to hold it into the braking zone, but he runs it a little bit wide through there. Is that going to cost him time on the exit? Because Marin got a very good run out of there as well.
Very slippy on the outside of the course around here, of course. You put a wheel onto the AstroTurf, you aren't going to have the same grip as you would have if you were on the circuit. Of course, noting, of course, both these cars have pop-up lights, so it's nice to see that flashing in the background as well. I want to very quickly go over the difference between cars, of course. Lamborghini very quick in a straight line, but Grady there in the Skyline, which is currently right in between the NSX and its granddad, the R32 in the background. He was saying that the R34 isn't very fast in a straight line, but it's very good under brakes. Let's see how good it is here into the tight left-hander. Santiago's going to try the cutback, but Grady is going to stay on the line and keep him behind for now.
Very experienced driver is Martin Grady, but you can see the experience of Santiago is really coming into the fore as well. They go side by side, old Skyline versus new Skyline, and it's the older Skyline that is now ahead of Martin Grady. So brilliant stuff there from Santiago, being patient, not forcing too much of a move through there, and it looks at the moment to have paid dividends for the American.
It seems so through here, of course. Here comes Santiago. A big lunge at Marin there, just showing his nose. Looks like Marin actually took the bait. Looked in his mirror, saw him coming, got that corner a little bit wrong, got a bit sideways there. Santiago just filling the mirrors of the NSX. He's going to try and cut back, but he's gone very wide into the left-hander. Grady's back now on the inside. So R34, R32 looks like Santiago does have the better run. He's now going to try and go to the inside of Marin for the last corner. Not quite got a nose. Let's see who got the grunt here, shall we?
Well, the thing is as well, he doesn't want to get too tight on the inside. That will compromise his exit going onto this straight as well. I mean, you can see that as well. Look at how much of an advantage Marin got going out of that final corner, and it's allowed Santiago to fall into the clutches of Martin Grady here as well. So this is absolutely crucial and could prove to be something of a small error that could be a big error really for Santiago here. And you can see Grady's run as they come down this start-finish straight. He's trying to find a way to pull to the inside, ducks back into the slipstream as they come down towards the first turn. And Hezal also looking very menacing in the background. Grady towards the inside of Santiago. He's just a little bit too far away, but Santiago is out well wide at the final corner. We're on the final lap now here at Fuji Speedway, and look at the race lead as well. Blajan versus Yamanaka. Yamanaka has worked miracles over the last couple of laps. He has really closed up onto the back of Patrick Blajan, and this is going to be an absolutely incredible final lap.
Tyre wear is a big factor now. You're seeing it on that RX-70, struggling to get the power down from that rotary engine now. Look, here's a great driver's eye view from Yamanaka in the A110. Looks to the left-hand side. We have him in picture now. You see the concentration on the Japanese driver's face. Looks to the inside. I think he's sold Blajan a dummy now. Is Blajan going to cut him off? No, he's just on his rear quarter panel. Here comes the braking zone.
He's going to do it. He's going to dive down the inside. Yamanaka for Japan takes the lead here at Fuji Speedway. Does he hold on to it? Yes, he does. There's a few more corners left in this particular race, though, and this is going to be absolutely incredible. Blajan is going to try and find his way past. I think, Jimmy, if he can just keep himself patient enough to get a run out of that final corner, but he's going to duck up the inside nearly at the penultimate turn. Contact between the two. Side by side they come as well. Blajan versus Yamanaka. It's going to be a drag to the finish between them.
Here it is then. Blajan on the outside, Yamanaka on the inside. He's got a tight line. Blajan's going to have the better exit, but it's going to be just an engine power Yamaha RX-7 versus Renault A110. Who's it going to be? They're side by side. It's anyone's game as we go now. Neck and neck. There's no telling. It looks like Yamanaka's just got it on the inside. Him in picture now. He's looking to the right. He's looking to the right. Have I got this? Have I got this? The gap is coming down very tiny. Who's it going to be? It's going to be Yamanaka at the line by 300th of a second. What a finish.
What an absolutely incredible race. Yamanaka-san does it for Japan on home territory. So it's first blood then to Japan. Blajan finishes in second position. Giorgio Mangiano holds on to third place. Leonhardt as well in fourth position. Marin, Grady, Hazal, Law, Santiago, Bakker completes the top 10. Then Healy and Neto, the Australian and Brazilian driver, right at the back of the field there. But an absolutely incredible race and exactly what we're expecting to see here in the Gran Turismo World Tour. Race 1 of the Nations Cup was absolutely stunning there, Jimmy.
I'm sitting here with a big smile on my face at the moment. That was fantastic racing. I can't say anything good about that. I mean, anything great about that. I've not seen one of these races end that way. We've had close races before, but this one, that just takes the cake. I'm sitting here shaking. That was fantastic.
It's absolutely brilliant. What a way to start. What a fantastic way to kick off proceedings here for the Nations Cup. And the best thing is for these guys, we've got another 3 races coming up. We've got 2 more normal races, then the final, which is double points as well.
If this is your first time coming to the Grand Tour events or the World Tour events, then you'll know that they are all like this. Here is a bit of a couple of replays here. This is from T1 on lap 1. Sorry, T2. We had Leonhardt and Marin. They were coming together quite a few times over the course of the race. Mangano there in the Corvette, not managing really to go much better than third, but using the grunt down the straight to get by in various situations. Here he is now. Was Leonhardt looking in the background.
This was Leonhardt as well. He made a few uncharacteristic errors during that one as well, and you can see him running wide a little bit there. Shake of the head for him as well. So really did put pay to his race then, unfortunately, and locked him out of that podium battle. From that point onwards, he was really on the defensive mode, but drivers behind him were trying to attack as well. Santiago and Grady in the 2 Nissan Skylines were going head-to-head. Santiago also had a bit of a cheeky look in the latter stages of that one. But this was the pivotal moment, the final lap, and an absolutely decisive move from Yamanaka-san down the inside of Patrick Blajan. He found his way through, and it was a drag to the line. This was going through into the penultimate couple of corners. There was a bit of contact between them. They were running so close, side by side, through the final corner, and it was always going to be a drag to the line. And it was Yamanaka-san who did it by just 47,000th of a second to the line.
Absolutely ridiculous finish. What a race.
Look at what it means to him. Look at the joy.
How can you not be elated after that result? There you go, number 1, and here are your standings as of now. Of course, Japan taking the victory with 14 points at the top, Hungary 12 and Italy in 10. I must say though, Tom, very interested to see that our boy TRL Lightning, otherwise known as Hazal, didn't do so well in that one.
Certainly not. Not the start that Germany would have wanted to the Nations Cup then. They are really going to have to pull out all the stops in the next couple of races. Their saving grace here might actually be the double points if they can get themselves off to a good start. Of course, the qualifying situation certainly didn't help either of the drivers for Germany, so they're really going to have to try and pull their finger out to get themselves up fighting. They're 10 points already adrift of Japan.
Well, the Japanese drivers showing their hand early on. We saw they were fast yesterday, and here they are doing it again. That's one of the Japanese drivers. I wonder what the other 2 have.
Yeah, absolutely right. It really is going to be very, very exciting to see how these guys fare. So Hungary there in second position on 12 points. Italy as well, not too far behind. So it's all to play for at the top of the table. Great Britain not getting off to a bad start either. 6 points on the board there for Martin Grady. That's R34 Skyline that he was pedaling there, Jimmy. Just didn't seem to have the legs on the other drivers.
Yeah, it was a car that was a good all-rounder, but unfortunately for here, Fuji's all about that straight line speed. Car didn't quite have it, so missing out a bit there.
Well, absolutely brilliant for race 1 of the Nations Cup. An absolutely incredible start to proceedings here. Let's head back over then to Julia, who's with our race winner, Yamanaka-san.
So I'm here with the Nations Cup race 1 winner, Yamanaka. So that was an amazing end. I can't even put into words. That was spectacular. Was that your plan? Was that your strategy from the start to kind of just sneak in right at the end?
ものすごく素晴らしいレースで、もうあれって最初からもう予定してたんですか？もう最初から一番最後にああやってバッと差し込もうと思ってたんですか？
最初はポールからのスタートだったので、そのまま逃げたかったんですけど、前に出られてしまって、でも前に出られたので、相手の動きをよく見ることができました。なので、最終ラップで勝負を仕掛けて、で、抜いて、最後あんなに接戦になるとは思わなかったですけど、いいレースでした。
Initially, I was in pole position, so I had intended to run away, but the guy, got in front of me. But that actually allowed me to really watch his movements on the track and see how he drives. So in the last lap, I made my move, and it was I didn't expect it to be that close though, with him trailing me behind.
Yeah, it was very close for a very long time. But also, you were so surprised when you finally won. Your headphones fell off.
ものすごく最後盛り上がってもうヘッドホンがもう取れてましたよね。
いや最後は本当にもうギリギリでどっちが前に出てもおかしくなかったので、思わず感情が爆発しました。
Yeah, my emotions exploded because I mean we were so close. You couldn't tell who was going to be at the front of the finish line. So.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. Congratulations. We will see you again a bit later on. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. Right. So next up. We have got some tweets and stuff. Okay, we've got GT Plan News. We're here at Red Bull Hangar 7. Some great Gran Turismo World Tour action later today. That's from them. We've got Web Napster saying it's time to dust off the Thrustmaster GT and get back into some GT sports. You should always dust off your Thrustmaster. It's a top tip for life.
I'm
okay.
I'm not saying anything to that one.
What? It's okay.
Let's move on to the next race.
Right, let's do that. Fine. I'm trying to make a joke. Just
we're
going
to see something a little bit different this time around. After
Really?
that, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
After that eclectic mix of cars, going at a fairly sort of lowish speed, we're going on to some really fast cars. It's the GR1 class of cars that are in Gran Turismo, which is like the LMP1 cars. And to find out a little bit more about the circuit, I spoke to one of the competitors.
So for our guide of the Circuit du Sarthe, the home of the Le Mans 24 Hours, we've enlisted Pierre Lenoir to talk to us about it. So Le Mans, for a French driver, must be a very special place, even on Gran Turismo to race.
Yeah, it's a very special track because I'm French and it's a French track.
What is the thing you must do at Le Mans to get a good lap time? Is the straights important or is it the chicanes?
So it's special because we can economy a lot behind a guy because we have time in the straight line, so it's special.
So if you start the last lap in first position, maybe that's bad.
Yes, it's bad. Yeah, clearly, because if you have fourth or fifth position at the beginning of the straight line, you can overtake everybody.
Okay, so that's the plan. Don't be in first place until the flag.
No.
Well, best of luck.
Thank you.
So here is a look at the Circuit de la Sarthe, a long
yes,
track.
It's very long, and also it's obviously one of the most famous ones as well.
Yeah, you got the top 3 motorsport events in the world, the Indianapolis 500, the Monaco Grand Prix, and the Le Mans 24 Hours. This race shouldn't take 24 hours with these drivers.
No, well, I hope not, unless they're going to bring us snacks, but that's fine. No, this looks really great, and obviously it's on public roads as well. That's like a different thing about this particular track.
Yeah, a historic circuit that's been hosting races for many, many years, and we're about to see a totally different race in this one. You know, that was all about using the momentum of your car and the different cars that they were racing, whereas these are just pure speedsters. We've got a couple of concept cars out here. For example, we got the Mazda LM55 concept car that's going to be driven by Italy and Marco Grasso, and then you've got real life Le Mans winning cars like the Audi R18 that Loris Garnier of France is going to be driving. So there's an awful lot of different competition in this one. It's going to be a lot faster, but what a start. The pole man winning the first race kind of makes sense, but it wasn't easy, was it?
No, but also I just couldn't believe how long the fight went on for. Like, it went on for ages, and like even when he was standing here, he was like, oh God, he was behind me for a really long time. I was like, yes, that's why we were all screaming. It was amazing.
Yeah, and it's certainly, and that win for Yamanaka-san means that Japan will be starting on pole position for this race as well. It'll be Takuma Miyazono starting at the front, and Hungary alongside them with Benjamin Bada. Again, another rolling start for this one.
Well, why don't we kick it off and see just how well everyone's going to do. We're going to kick it over to Tom and Jimmy, who are going to take you through this race.
Thank you so much once again, Julia and Jack. And well, Jimmy, if race 1 was anything to go by, race 2, race 3, and even the final race are going to be absolute crackers, aren't they?
I mean, what better track will be picked for this? Le Mans, one of the best circuits in the world. If you ask my opinion, you didn't, but I'm going to tell you anyway. And for these sort of cars here, the Group 1 cars, it's just completely a match made in heaven.
Well, this is an absolutely brilliant shot of the Austrian country that we are based in Salzburg, where the location of the Red Bull Hangar 7 is. And this is going to be an absolute cracker, mark my words, because that long Mulsanne straight is going to be very, very exciting. Of course, the grid results reflect the race results from race number 1. Of course, new drivers in the seat for this one, so it's going to make it very interesting, especially on these first few laps, to see where everybody pairs. But it is Miyazono-san who starts on pole position in the Peugeot. Alongside him is Barda for Hungary. Keep an eye out for Barda as well. Row number 2 on the grid is Grasso for Italy in the Mazda LM55. That's one of the concept cars on the grid. Alongside them is the Audi R18 from 2011 of Garnier. Row 3 is Rincon for Spain. Spain hoping to have a bit of a better run, really, than they did last time out. Thomas for Great Britain. Keep an eye out for him. He's been pretty quick in testing so far. He's in the Porsche 919. We've got La for Germany. Again, they'll be hoping for certain steps up the field following a disappointment in race 1. Then we've got Jonathan Wong, who we had that track guide with earlier on for Hong Kong. He lines up in 8th on the grid. Castro for the USA is in 9th position, the Dodge SRT Tomahawk Vision Gran Turismo machine. Then Nussbaumer for Austria in 10th position. The final row of the grid sees De Jesus for the Australian country in the Hyundai Vision Gran Turismo machine, and Gonzaga for Brazil at the back of the grid in the Bugatti Vision Gran Turismo. As we had for the first race, Jimmy, a rolling start for these guys.
Rolling start indeed, and watch out for that Audi on the right. They have a lot of hybrid power to use that's going to help them out even in a rolling start. We had a Nations race not too long ago, and this Peugeot, this 750R, was the car of choice. Now it's in the hands of Miyazono. So here we are then, coming through the Ford chicane for 3 laps here at Le Mans. And away we go then, race 2 of the Nations Cup. Miyazono makes a good start. What about that Audi in the background? Has it got the hybrid? Yes, it has. Already right on the back of the Peugeot. Coming up the hill, cars in the background going free. Well, that's M. Thomas there in the Porsche.
The lead changing as well here as soon as we come into the first corner. Down in towards the Dunlop chicane we go. Barda on the outside, but Miyazono makes a duff of his braking point. Barda, and there's contact at the first turn between Barda and Miyazono. The upshot is that Barda does manage to lead the way, and both drivers stay on the track there, but that was very much a racing incident, just overshooting the braking zone, a bit too eager into that Dunlop chicane there for Miyazono, and that has put pace to his race lead early doors.
It's a 3-lap race. All these guys are going in with a sprint mentality, and of course very much worth noting that we have a 25 times tyre wear around it, so these cars are going to be horrible come the end of the race. Anyway, now down the Mulsanne straight for the first time. A good start from M. Thomas up into 5th in that Porsche, although losing it, as I say that, to Grasso in the LM55 VGT now. All the cars working their way down the street. This is where Slipstream comes into play, Tom. Pretty much just sit behind someone and wait for that pull. Here comes Rick on there, and Jake Wong in the background. Rick on there, up the inside. I think that's going to be a move into the first Mulsanne chicane. Yes, it is. And in that situation, you're better just leaving it and then preparing yourself for the slipstream up to the next chicane.
Yeah, absolutely right there, Jimmy. So out of the first chicane we go, and then of course they'll flick flick left and then right, and then go on to the final part of this Mulsanne straight. We can see a penalty on the left-hand side of your screen. That red dot next to Lars' name for Germany. He's received a penalty for some kind of an incident, presumably exceeding track limits. So when he gets into one of the penalty zones, he'll have to serve that. But that is definitely not the start that Germany needed following a very disappointing race 1.
It goes to bad to worse, unfortunately. And there is the Thomas between Thomas and Garnier. We didn't actually catch that one on screen on the replay, so I'm not quite sure what happened there. But stewards are looking at those two, so we'll keep you updated on that when we know. Garnier there in that 2011 R18. All these cars, of course, are balanced so they can race together. And Badera at the front is now starting to lose a little bit of time to Miyazono. The slipstream proving to be his enemy at the moment.
Well, this is very, very exciting indeed. Coming down in towards the tight right-hander. Look at Jonathan Wong going straight into the scenery. He is going to have a very uphill task to try and find his way back up the order. He's going to come back onto racing traffic, and also Gonzaga as well, going straight into the gravel and into the barrier. Let's get a replay here.
Here is the replay. Here is M. Thomas and Wong together. Wong goes to the outside. No grip out there,
but he's got nowhere to slow it down either. He's forced to the outside, and as you say there, Jimmy, no grip on the outside when you're off of the tarmac that you should run on the circuit, and that has put pace to his race, sadly, in the early stages.
He did do a good job not to hit Thomas, so unfortunately he did go off. Here we are with Grasso there in that very interesting looking LM55, of course, the Mazda concept. Looks a little bit like the DPI car, actually, if it's been flattened by something. But here we come, coming to my favourite part of the circuit now, the Porsche curves. All about commitment and downforce through here. These drivers have commitment, these cars have downforce, so you're going to be in for a treat. So here we are then, we'll look at with Grasso. It's a fast right-hander, you just flick it to the right through here. play the throttle, then aim for the inside nice and tight through this left hand. There's a wall on the right to greet you if you're a little bit too ambitious, and Rincon in the back now much better through there than Grasso is. He's all over the back of that Mazda concept car there in his 908 Peugeot.
Can he think about something down into the 4 chicanes here? That's what I'm wondering, Jimmy. And look at further back as well, between Rincon and Thomas going nearly head-to-head. Sorry, Rincon rather and Garnier, I should say. Thomas and Garnier rather. They are looking very, very close indeed. No moves made for 3rd position, no moves made for 5th position there either. So everybody lining astern, keeping it pretty safe in this mid-pack early doors here, which is pretty important, really. You don't want to ruin your race on the first lap.
Bit of a gap there between 6th and the rest of our field, so the top 6 are breaking away, but it is still Bader and Miazano. You see the gap has opened up massively through the Porsche curves. Looks like the Audi R18 2016 version just has that downforce through the curves and managed to pull away. Of course, we've seen, though, that the Peugeot GT Vision car is quicker in a straight line, so that gap might come down when we get to straight. Here is M. Thomas on board in the 919.
Yep, absolutely right, as you say there, Jimmy. Look at the concentration on his face, and he's feeding the wheel there as well, and changing a couple of settings by the looks of things on his wheel. Could be adjusting brake bias or something along the lines of that.
He usually plays with a gamepad, Tom. He's out of his element here, and to come here and be on a wheel, something he isn't used to doing, and run this well against the best drivers in the world, of course, himself included, shows you the talent of M. Thomas.
Well, down in towards this first chicane, we're going to come for the second time of asking, of course, as we said, 25 times tyre wear, so these tyres are already well past their best. Look at Garnier trying down the inside of Thomas in towards this first chicane. He slices it through, he gets later on the brakes, he clips the apex, gets the move, nicely done and dusted. His next target is going to be Rincon in 4th position at the moment, but look at the gap that's already a little bit more pronounced, just a few more car lengths between Rincon and Garnier, so he's going to have a real uphill task here to try and find his way onto the back of the Spaniard.
Seems that Miazano is falling back into the pack at the moment, and there it goes!
Whoa!
Big move from Grasso there, just thrown it to left, and Miazano says, no thank you, mate. Going back round the outside, and that allows Rincon to get back involved, swipes over the nose there of that Mazda GT Vision car, and now it's 2nd, 3rd and 4th, all in your picture, vying for that 2nd position. Those little lines on your screen there, they are the penalty lines, and if you have a penalty, you have to serve a penalty within the markers. So
and anyone can see a penalty for Garnier here as well there, Jimmy, just as you say that. 0.4 of a second he's got when he comes to the next marker.
I think that was from earlier. We saw the instant come up earlier. I think that was a result of the steward's decision. Grasso there, very wide at the Mulsanne corner.
Very close indeed as they went through
to do that.
Yeah, absolutely right. Very easy, as you say. Lots of deceleration going through there. Just a bit more difficult when you're coming up to that braking point when you're following other cars. And speaking of following other cars, look at Rincon and Grasso nearly going side by side as they come down towards Indianapolis through the right kink, which precedes it. They're still running side by side here. Peugeot versus Mazda. This is absolutely brilliant stuff. Bit of contact between them. Rincon doesn't blink first. Grasso does, and he finds his way through, does the Spaniard, into 3rd place. Absolutely electric racing going on here.
That is an important move for Rincon because he's very, very fast through the Porsche curves, and before he was being held up by Grasso. Here's Garnier slowing his penalty. You can see it slowing down, and here comes the penalty now. He'll have to serve that, and now is allowed to go back about his way, and M. Thomas is allowed through as a result of that. Now Rincon, he is the person I think who can catch or get onto the back of Miazano, and maybe Bader if he can get through. The thing is though, only a 3-lap race, and we're coming to the end of a 2nd lap now. This looks like it's Bader's to lose at the moment.
Yeah, certainly does here. Bader, as you say there, Jimmy, with a 1.7 second advantage. He hasn't increased it much on this lap, but crucially, he's kept it at a constant, which is exactly what he wanted to do, really. He's not under any pressure immediately from behind. He just needs to drive his own race here, keep himself calm and composed out in front, and he will be in a great chance of winning this 2nd race for Hungary. So we could have 2 different nationalities winning it in the Nations Cup in the first 2 races. Look at Rincon, still trying to find his way through on Miazano. No way through in this final sector. He wasn't close enough in any way, shape or form. But if he gets a positive run through this first sector on towards the Mulsanne Straight, through Arnage crucially, and onto that Mulsanne Straight, he could be able to find his way past that slipstream, as we know in these these Group 1 machines rather, so effective in GT Sports.
As we heard from Garnier before the race, wow, Miazano, all sorts of sideways and exit there. Of course, we'll just reaffirm the tyre wear around here 25 times. At this point, Miazano's tyres have done 50 laps worth of wear. They have that much wear in them right now. Look at the concentration there from Rincon, one of the more aggressive the drivers from our last World Tour event, very fast as well, through Touch Rouge, just to throw it to the right, trust in the downforce, and then back into the slipstream of the car in front. Let's see who has the legs. It's Peugeot on Peugeot. There is a penalty for N. Thomas a bit further down, but we'll stick with this at the moment. In the slipstream now, will he be able to pull up to the back? Looks like he is gaining from this angle, kind of hard to tell. Yes, he is. Pulls out there to the left-hand side. Miyazaki goes defensive. Oh, he sells him a dummy. He goes up the inside. What a move by Rincon into the first chicane.
And makes the move stick as well, crucially. He gets the car slowed down, slows it right up on apex there, so that Miyazono has no way to get any momentum, crucially, coming through this last part of the chicane. Meanwhile, out in front, Bada and Rincon, 2.5 seconds over that separating. You can see Garnier there with a penalty. He's dropping back through the field like a stone at the moment, and he's still got 0.6 of a second, rather, to lose on this third and final lap here at the Circuit de la Sarthe. Look at Miyazono and Rincon, though. Miyazono is trying to find his way back past, but he's not going to find his way through there at the moment. He's all over the back of him. There's nearly contact between the two. This is going to be an absolutely enthralling duel for second place, and could be very, very crucial indeed. You can see the slipstream coming into effect now. He goes towards the outside as Rincon goes defensive. Will Miyazono have the overspeed? Will he be able to try and find a way through? Side by side they come. We can see Miyazono-san on the bottom left corner of your screen. Rincon has more of an advantage. He gets the breaking point. There's nearly contact. Miyazono is off. Nearly. Oh my goodness me. He runs it very, very hot into there. That was too close to call between them. And look at Grasso now finding his way through.
Round the outside, on the outside of the mole stand. You just don't see that. Miyazono, of course, slowed up, but now it's a battle for third position. Rincon has a little bit of a break. Miyazono is on the back foot now behind Grasso, coming up to Indianapolis, and it's GT Vision on GT Vision as the 908 pulls away. Look at the legs on that Mazda there coming down to Indy, but look how slow.
Oh, no, he's at the right moment. He's had a real mare of it through there and into the left-hander, which follows. He's going to have an appalling run of things at the moment. Coming through into the right-hander, which follows. He's going to find his way through. No, he's not, but he runs wide. He's way wide. He's way off. Oh, my goodness me, Grasso. He throws it all away. He's off the podium. Miyazono-san finds his way through, and Grasso has got it all to do with just one sector left here at the Circuit de la Sarthe.
Porsche curves coming up now. This is the real test of skill. Grasso's fallen back a bit too far, I think. Rincon now has a second place fairly much secured at this point. Let's stay with this battle for third and fourth position. It looks like it's going to finish that way, but here is Bada coming around the last part of the Porsche curve, through the Corvette curve now, coming to end off this race.
Absolutely brilliant stuff from Benjamin Bada. He has put this one to bed very, very early on, and he is looking comfortable, calm, composed, and everything in between. The Audi R18 from 2016 comes into the final corner. You can see the concentration on his face through the final turn and over the timing line. For Hungary, it's Bada that takes victory in race 2 of the GT Sports World Tour, the Nations Cup. He is absolutely, well, elated with that, I would say, but you can see the emotion that's not on his face at the moment. Rincon finishes in second. Miyazono holds onto that podium by half a second ahead of Grasso. Grasso very disappointed with that result.
You see Rincon there, had his head in his hands, but it wasn't through being upset. He was spent after that. You could see just how much he was trying. And Bada just looked like that was a day at the office. Gloves off, who's next, he says.
Absolutely right. Brilliant stuff for Bada. So he does become the second nation to win in the second race. So 2 nations having won so far in the GT Sport Nations Cup. And it is the way of Japan in race 1, now Hungary in race number 2. The Audi R18, the Group 1 machine, takes victory, and race 3 coming up very, very shortly as well is going to make it very, very interesting indeed. But Jimmy, what did we learn crucially from that race? We saw that if you're able to get out in front at the Circuit de la Sarthe, you can crucially keep an advantage.
If you can break the slipstream, that's the thing though. You saw that Bada got away early, and once there was about 2 seconds gap, he was home free.
Let's have a look at some replays then during that race. This is on the first lap. This is between M. Thomas and Rincon. You can see this battle, and look at the overspeed that Rincon had on M. Thomas going down in towards the right-hander. Look at that. Side by side they were. That was Jonathan Wong throwing it away at the corner. So very, very close racing indeed between them. Wong coming back on, and Gonzaga as well also going off there, and Nussbaumer for Austria losing out. So it's been a bit of a mare of a time so far for Austria and Brazil, and also Germany to a very big extent as well. Further in the race though, Jimmy, this is where it all started to get very interesting indeed.
A very aggressive move by Grasso up the inside, but Miyazono just showing his resolve and keeping it around the outside. Of course, all this battling let Rincon into the fray, and he took advantage of that. You can see the concentration there on the Japanese driver's face, a bit of a death grip, almost like a driver, Jean Alesi back in the day. Here's Garnier slowing down for his penalties, allowed, of course, M. Thomas to pop by, showing that cutting does not pay around here. Here is Rincon.
Yeah, no glory for France at home, as you say. That was Miyazono having a right moment out of the Dunlop chicane, and you thought really that Rincon would be able to close up at this stage. This is the concentration you can see on Miyazono-san's face. Look at the way he's wrestling that wheel as he tries to save the car, just pushing a little bit too far beyond his limits, and this was Rincon finding his way past as well. They went side by side down the Mulsanne straight into that first chicane. Rincon managed to find his way back past, and Miyazono-san wasn't taking it lying down, though. He was immediately fighting back at the next opportunity. These two going side by side on the final lap.
Unfortunately, just went a little bit too far to the outside, got offline, braked a bit too late. There was actually a little bit of contact between the two, which you're about to see. Just on the rear quarter panel, no one affected though. But Miyazono just is edged out there by Rincon, and that was where second place was decided. And ultimately, third place as Grasso hangs it round the outside on the gravel. That just shows you how much Miyazono was slowed down. Yeah, one more stab at it here though. Grasso just got a little bit too quick through Arnage, nearly ran to the wall, and that was the podium decided.
Well, that was very, very exciting. Benjamin Bader, though, absolutely electric performance from him in the Audi R18. He was over the timing line with absolutely no competition from behind. Incredible stuff from him, and we're going to hear from the race winner in just a few moments' time. But here are the race 2 rankings. This is how they all sit after that particular race. It was Hungary who took the victory and the crucial 14 points. Spain in second place, but here are the tables there, Jimmy. It's now Hungary at the top from Japan by 2 points. Spain there not too far away on 20 as well.
It was a good result for Spain. They needed that result. They were going to come down a bit now in the top 3, of course, but it's still very tight. We have 4 teams who are in the top with only 7 points. Of course, always worth noting that Germany, one of the favourites, down right at the bottom of the table. So not a good start for them. They need something very special from the last 2 races. And that double points race, I think, going to be very important at the end.
Absolutely, yeah. They're going to have to hope that everybody else in front of them really has a shocker, and they win it by a pretty much a country mile more than anything. But that was hugely, hugely exciting. The race winner, Benjamin Bader, is over with Julia and Jack. We're going to hear his thoughts after that emphatic race 2.
Wow, yes, we are here with race 2 winner, Benjamin Bader. I have to say, well, first of all, congratulations. You did really, really well. But you were so far ahead, we sort of just left you. You were just quite happy just going on the track. There was a lot of chaos going on behind you.
Yeah, I was lucky. My opponent was braking too late in the first corner, so I had to manage a good gap behind me. So everything was good, the car was good to handle, so it was perfect.
Yeah. The slipstream at Le Mans is very strong, so you must have been worried that, you know, maybe being in first place isn't the best at the start.
Yeah, I had to go for the exit, good exit, to make a good gap, and that was the point, maybe.
Yeah. So you're actually now, Hungary's at the top of the standings ahead of Japan. How does that make you feel? You've done good, you're pushing ahead.
Yeah, it's good so far, but we have 2 more races, sorry. So it's very important to make a good result in the end.
Oh, well, so thank you so much. Congratulations. Go have a rest.
Thank you.
Yeah, take a break before your final race. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk schedule in terms of, so we have 1 more race, which is an individual race for each of the country, and then of course our final race, which will see each one of the drivers go head to head, well, go one after the other in a relay to then obviously get points for that. This is the worst explanation I've ever done of this. Basically, it's double points for the final race, so everything could change at the last moment. So it really is everything to play for.
Yep, and a lot of it will be decided in this final race of the first 3 before we go to the grand final.
Are we just terrible at explaining things?
Yeah, we've got another race coming up, and because of Hungary's win, we are going to see them on pole position for this next race. It's Adam Tapai who is going to be starting on pole position there. This next circuit, though, is a very historic race circuit, and it is Willow Springs. 6 laps of this circuit. It's about an hour north of LA in California, the oldest permanent road course in the USA, built back in 1953.
Did you just Google that?
Oh, no, I Googled it ages ago, but I'm just saying it now.
Like you're reading off the internet.
But this layout is unchanged since it was first built in 1953, which is pretty cool, because a lot of the old circuits get changed here and there.
Yeah, I mean, just to look at it, you know, from an untrained eye, obviously, like, it's like huge, wide curves. There's none of these kind of super sharp, like, terrifying corners.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of long radius corners, especially as you see that bottom, that red dot down at the bottom there. That final corner through turns 8 and 9 just goes on and on and on, and that's a real killer for the tyres.
Yeah.
And we are in for some more production car racing here as well. It's going to be the N500 class, so we've got sort of sports cars basically, but road-going sports cars. Aston Martin DB11s, Ferrari 458 Italias, that kind of thing. Once again, a rolling start. Once again, the sports hard compound of tyre. So not race cars, but your road-going cars.
It's every single one of these races is exciting for very different reasons. But let's just chuck straight over to the race. Let's us stop talking. Let's throw it over to our commentators.
Thank you, Julia and Jack. Welcome back up to the commentary box then ahead of race number 3. Big Willow at Willow Springs Raceway in California. A very different circuit to the two that we've had so far. Jimmy, what are we going to expect for this one?
Well, so far we've had sort of very well-established circuits with runoff areas and curbs. Not here at the Big Willow. If you go off around here, you're going off into the undergrowth and probably to another sip goad if you're not careful.
Yeah, you're going to know about it, certainly. You can see the drivers then limbering up, getting themselves ready in position. So to the grid then, and it is going to be Hungary who will start on pole position in these N500 machines. You can see the Nissan Nismo GTR on pole position. That's by Tapai. Keep an eye out for him going down towards that first corner. Of course, rolling start again for these guys. On the second, outside of row number 1, it's Izagauza for Spain. Then Nakao at the head of row number 2. Japan also having had a good run so far. Then Nicotra in the Mercedes AMG GTS machine, row number 3, headed by Holland. Dan Holland, that is. And alongside Holland, it is Klasic for Great Britain. Hails from the Czech Republic originally. Then Lenoir, Pierre Lenoir on the 3rd row of the grid, and the Aston Martin DB11. Alongside Lenoir is Kai Lee in the Lamborghini Diablo machine. Then McCabe for the USA. He'll be hoping to do some nation's proud. He's nation proud on home soil. Then we've got Gorniach for the home nation of Austria here in Salzburg. Kevin Richley on 11th position in the Viper GTS. He's going to have a real tough time with that car around here. And then Caraza for Portugal, completing the 12-driver strong grid. So a rolling start then down towards that first corner. It's a very tight left-hander, that one, so this is going to be interesting to see how these drivers in particular fare. They're going to get themselves underway very, very soon. They'll head down, of course, out of that final corner onto the start-finish straight and get themselves ready to go racing. So, race 3 of the Gran Turismo World Tour here at Red Bull Hangar 7 for the Nations Cup, about to get underway at the Willow Springs Raceway. It is then lights out and away we go, and a great start for Tapai. Of course, having the rolling start, having that advantage. Will anybody think about making any moves down towards this first corner? Already Kevin Ritchie losing out to Caraza. The leaders making their way through relatively unscathed through there, but I reckon turn 2, Jimmy, here is where it's going to be all about drivers trying to tee themselves up for the 3rd corner.
A lot of corners around here only really have one line through them, so overtaking is going to be quite tricky, but it is definitely possible, as Lenoir is showing, going from 6th, overtaking Klasic there for 6th position. That new DTR looking very nice around there. Of course, a little bit of a Nissan fan myself, so we'll try and hide that. Meanwhile, at the back of the field, midfield, we have Lenoir and Klasic side by side with Holland in the Corvette, heading both of them at DB11 there. Oh, off Nakao!
So Japan, this is a disaster for them on the first lap, straight down to 12th position. Well, Nakao in the Porsche 911 GT3 is going to have it all to do and some more in the next 5.5 laps.
What did I say before this, Tom? Go off round here, big incident, and that's going to be him pretty much on the back of the rest. He's still pinning off the circuit. Let's have a replay.
Let's see what happened there. It was contact with Nicotra, the Italian, going into that left-hander. I didn't quite see what happened at the start of that there, but did Nicotra perhaps just go a bit too fast into there, just punting into him? The incident's under investigation by Race Direction, and Nakao already soaring his way through the order there because he's up into 8th place.
Something must have happened there back of the grid, because Nakao has somehow made a couple of places up there. We'll try and get back to that when we can.
Ithal Sugasa in 2nd position there, the Spaniard, so he's had an absolutely brilliant start here. He started this race quite far down the order there, Jimmy, so he's had an absolute cracker here so far, did the Spaniard, so brilliant stuff for him. Let's see what they're going to be able to do and see whether they're going to be able to challenge the Hungarian Tapai in the lead of this race.
Another interesting mix of cars. These are your sporty road cars available in Gran Turismo Sport, so a little bit easier than the N300 to drive, but a lot more power and still using very difficult tyres.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant stuff. So Pierre Lenoir there with Klasic just in front. So Britain on the podium then, provisionally for the first time in this race. You can see Nicotra and Holland under investigation, so that could be another incident for Nicotra, and he could be facing some post-race penalties here. That could be very, very crucial indeed. Lenoir, though, the French driver in the Aston Martin DB11, trying to find his way through on Klasic at the moment, through this very, very long sweeping right-hander. No way through there. And the thing is as well with this circuit, though there are a lot of sweeping fast corners here, Jimmy, it's often hard to find a place to overtake.
The cars are so evenly matched and balanced, it's very hard to maybe catch someone on the straight. And we're seeing a penalty being awarded here to Nicotra for that very messy start. 10 seconds, that's pretty much his race done now.
Yeah, that's going to be very disappointing, not only for Nicotra, but also for Italy as a whole as well. They've not had a good run of it so far this time in the Nations Cup. So let's see whether they can perhaps claw something back in the double points final race coming up, but they're not going to be able to get themselves winning this Nations Cup. That is for certain. You can see that 10-second penalty which has been added. Kevin Ritchley as well. I'm really wondering what's happened to him, because Ritchley's been a big feature in the Nations Cup that we've seen so far this year, Jimmy, and he's right down in 12th position.
Just fallen off the map, it seems, and this is a race that Germany need to do well in, and Ritchley is not there. But meanwhile, at the front of the field, it's still an open fight here between third and fourth, Klasic and Lenoir. Lenoir, another driver from a previous World Tour event at the Nürburgring. Go check that out on the Gran Turismo TV YouTube channel if you haven't already. I'm in that. It's very good, I must say. No, of course.
As you would say so. Quite right as well. Look at this. Second, third and fourth place as well. Not too far adrift of one another. Ifugasa, rather. I should get that name right eventually by the end of it. A lot of Z's, a lot of U's, a lot of A's in there, but we'll get it there eventually. But Klasic in third position, Lenoir in fourth place. So Porsche versus Ferrari versus Aston Martin. So three very, very high performance machines that you can buy road going, of course, if indeed you do have the disposable income to be able to buy one. But these guys doing an absolutely brilliant job of taming them here on GT Sport. Lenoir, we can see as we ride on board with the Frenchman. Look at the concentration there, Jimmy, on his face on the left-hand side. And look in front at how much Klasic has managed to close up against Ifugasa, rather, in second position.
Yeah, we had a great viewpoint now, but Klasic now looking up the inside of a 911 GT3 for the last corner. Again, a long sweeping corner. It's not really a place to overtake, but now we have a straight. Now we have the slipstream. Klasic goes to the inside. No, that Porsche in a straight line is absolutely leaving the Ferrari for dead. It's just gone.
Yeah, that rear engine must be helping him with traction or something along the lines of that, or just perhaps he got a better run going through that final corner as well. All the while, these guys are dueling with one another there, Jimmy, as well. They're just slowly, just incrementally chipping away at Tapai's lead here. Tapai's not been challenged so far. 1.1 seconds it is, but that's come down from 1.3 over the line.
It's not quick enough so far, though. It's only a 6-lap race there as the Spaniard goes very wide in the long right-hander. Again, as the tyres start to wear that right hand and become more and more tricky. It's very heavy on the front left tyre, so as you get there each lap, it feels a little bit different each time. Here's a great view of the elevation change here at Willow Springs. This really affects how you handle the car. Klasic looks to the inside there, but just about thinks better of it. That could have been contact. A very wise move by Klasic. He's going to wait, I think, for a better opportunity.
Ithar Fugasa then trying to defend all he can, but it looks like it's going to be a matter of when and not if Klasic finds his way past. That Ferrari is looking instantly quicker. You can see the points rankings on the right-hand side of your screen there as well for the different nations at the moment. So let's see how this is going to play out towards the end. Klasic again into that final turn. He's all over the rear end of that Porsche 911. Ithar Fugasa having to try and defend his line through that final corner. Klasic has got the momentum on the outside. Has he got the room to find his way past? It's very tricky here at the Big Willow Raceway, and he won't be able to find his way through there. He's going to have to try and focus more on his corner exit out of the final corner of turn number 9 here at Big Willow. And again, he gets a poorer run through there. So Ithar Fugasa holds on another day.
I don't think he has the pace out the corner. That's why he's being so desperate there, trying to go around the outside. It's not really a move that's going to happen unless you have a car with a lot more grip. Although the top 2 to 4th now, 2nd to 4th, sorry, are now a lot closer than they were before. And again, still chipping away at the lead of the Hungarian in front. And the thing is, we're on the penultimate lap, and if anyone wants to try and get a move done, they need to get there very, very quickly. Otherwise, it's going to be another win for Hungary.
Yeah, certainly so. Well, this race not necessarily as action-packed as we've seen so far. However, there's a lot of tension and certainly a lot of riding on it. Ithar Fugasa clipping the dirt. He's going to run it wide into the left-hander. Is the door going to open for Klasic? Ithar Fugasa has the line into the next corner. The Spaniard does manage to hold on to the position, but Klasic trying to find his way through. Tapai as well, also in the lead. That gap is now down to under 1 second, and Lenoir also dipping a wheel up the inside there. Pressure really is on, and this is going to be an incredible final lap if it shapes like this.
There is Lenoir there trying to exchange lines with Klasic. Klasic in front in that DB11. Very awesome to see that thing racing around here. All the cars now plummeting down the hill to the last corner of the circuit. It's a bit of a double right-hander. First right, a little bit of a mini straight, and then a very tight, increasing radius right hand. And here are the drivers now. Klasic nearly running onto the ground. Had to slow down.
He's going to think about it. Oh, he thinks about diving a move, but here comes Ifaltu Gasser in front as well. He's wide, but he gets a later apex. He gets the run through that final corner. Final lap time here at the Big Willow Raceway. And look at Lenoir. Look at the drive. Look at that gap shrinking between him and Klasic. Is he going to think about a move in towards turn one? He goes to the inside. Can he brake later? Can he outbrake him? Not on this occasion. He's going to have to find another point on this final lap.
Lenoir already knowing the limits of his DB11, just a testament to the skills of the French driver. Although at the front of the field, it's still Taipei at the front. I'm not sure if I think he's going to be okay for now. It looks like the people are too busy squabbling amongst themselves. I think Carraz has actually come up to 5th place and taken McCabe, it seems. So
that's brilliant, considering they were at the back of the grid at the start of the race.
Started last in that LC500, so a great race from Jim so far. But back to the front, here we are. Klasic round the outside, surely not. Lenoir's there as well, 2 by 2 up the hill.
Ifaltu Gasser having to really defend with all of his might. He's trying to put his car in such a position that the drivers behind can't find their way past. Klasic is in a really unfortunate place here. He's got to try and attack Ifaltu Gasser and defend from Pierre Lenoir.
Look how sideways Klasic is. He's really struggling for tyre wear in that Ferrari right now. Of course, mid-engine, rear-wheel drive, the tyres is falling away sideways at every opportunity. He's got the run though, goes to the outside possibly. I'm not sure he's going to have the run round there. I think it's Lenoir's looking for a chance as well. We've seen Klasic be a little bit slow for this right-hander. How's this going to end up? Let's see.
Lots of tension going on here through into the final corner. Lenoir's going to shortly think about a move. Here comes Klasic as well. Down the inside of Ifaltu Gasser. He makes a move at the final corner. It's going to be a drag to the line. The Spaniard's off. He's well wide. Tapai wins it. A brilliant race, but a drag to the line for second. Absolutely incredible. And Lenoir for France gets it by 58 thousandths of a second on the line. Klasic finishes in third. Ifaltu Gasser, well, he will be sick as a parrot coming home in 4th place.
I think they saved all the action for the end for us there, Tom, didn't they? That was an absolutely bonkers finish. Of course, Eduardo getting pushed off into the last corner. He won't be happy with that. I'm sure there'll be some words afterwards between some of the drivers, but very well held to be able to keep it going and keep coming home in 4th position.
Well, that is going to be absolutely crucial in terms of the standings for these Nations Cup drivers as well. Tapai for Hungary doing exactly what he needed to do there. Meanwhile, Kevin Ritchley for Germany, I don't know exactly what happened.
Only just finished just now.
He must have been driving in reverse or something like that. He's only just finished. He's down in 12th position, nearly 7.5 seconds from his nearest rival. But it is undisputedly the Hungarian team that win the 3rd race of the Nations Cup. Tapai does an absolutely fantastic job there. He looked absolutely in control throughout the vast majority of it. No competition from behind for him there, Jimmy, and he was just absolutely masterful.
I guess the problem is for the guys behind is they're all squabbling. If they had maybe, okay, right, let's try and focus on catching the Hungarian driver here, maybe we could have done something, but no, they were just hiding camera now the entire time, and we're going to get some replays on the screen now. Here is the starting incident with Nakao going off to the right there. That was pivotal to the race. He was looking very strong, but didn't really recover from that initial incident.
Yep, certainly did not. You can see Nakao here as well. He was all focused, but this was Klasic as well. Ifaltu Gasser, he had a few mistakes that were made over the course of that one. Really seemed to struggle in the latter stages with tyre wear. This was on the penultimate lap of the race, and you can see just how much more speed Klasic had, but he wasn't able to make a move. He wasn't able to try and execute a performance. Pierre Lenoir as well, who was very close behind, was also trying to find his way through. Look at the competition.
That was a snap. That was a snap there where he saved a fantastic save. And this is Klasic looking up the inside, of course. This allowed Lenoir to get involved as well, and this basically set us up for the photo finish we saw at the end. Klasic there was struggling with tyre wear pretty much the entire way through the race, and here it was, the last corner got a little bit messy with Izugasa, getting pushed off to the right there and just about keeping it going in a straight line. You can see there, so very unlucky. Upset.
Yeah, he's despondent with that one, isn't he?
Very upset.
So unlucky.
As you would be there, headset down.
We're just hearing from Race Direction as well that Klasic has been given a 3-second penalty following that race, so that is going to drop him down. We're just doing the maths here on our screen. That's going to drop down to nearly 8th position there, Jimmy. So, well, Klasic as well, he was absolutely overcome with joy. Look at Lenoir as well. Yeah, Pierre Lenoir absolutely over the moon with that result. So here are the race results then. That's provisional as well before the penalties have been announced. So Tapai, Lenoir and now Ithaf Tugasa ends up on the podium for Spain. Calasa will finish in 4th place, Makabe in 5th, Lee in 6th position, and then you can see the drivers further down the order, some of them not having much of a feature in that one. A few battles going on up and down the grid meanwhile. It does make it very, very interesting, but Klasic crucially there, a post-race penalty off of the podium.
Yeah, sad race for Ritchie, but we're going to toss over now to Jack and Julia. They have our winner for an interview.
Guys, yes, we're here with Adam Tapai. And Adam, you saw the crazy race behind, but for you, was it easy?
Not easy, but I just need to finish the race without making any mistakes.
And so 2 wins now for Hungary. That's very good for you.
Yeah, you'll see.
Are you excited for the final race? Do you like the Red Bull Ring?
Yeah, sure. It's a very great day.
Okay, cool. Well, best of luck for the rest of it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So yeah, there's a 3-second penalty added to obviously our British driver there. Not so, I mean, it made it very exciting at the end, but maybe not so worth it in the long run there.
Yeah, but it's nice to have these decisions made so quickly. We've got scrutineers and race stewards who are watching every single move and are on it like a flash, so there's no sort of sitting around waiting. So great to have that decision straight away. As far as the overall points mean, though,
yes,
Hungary are now in massive control.
They are well ahead. But, you know, of course, we still have our final race where obviously all 3 of the drivers will take a turn, and it's double points. So it doesn't mean that they're definitely going to win. It just means that they better do pretty well to catch up, I think.
We're working on the championship standings. This is how the Nations Cup finishes, of course. So we've got the 4 races. We've had those 1, 2 and 3 individual races. Now it's time for the final team race. There's no doubt about Hungary leading the way, but once we get the final results in for that 3rd race, then we'll be able to give you the full points going into this final race. And that will, of course, play on the minds of the drivers as well, because it's if you're the Hungarian drivers going into this final race where all 3 will be competing together, maybe you just take it a bit steady. Maybe you just err on the side of caution a little bit.
But I mean, how do you, like, obviously come out of your individual race, you know, you come out of your individual race and then straight away, you know, you've got to go back into this final race and, like, whatever's just happened, especially if you were racing in the 3rd race, just, like, dusting it off and getting straight back in again, you know?
Well, it'll be Benjamin Bada starting the final race for Hungary. As you can see, our top of the standings, 10 points clear of Spain, but there's 28 points up for grabs going into this final race. So it is going to be tough. But there are drivers that have just raced then who are going to be the first driver here. Zoran Klasic, for example, we just saw him racing for Great Britain. He's going to be starting this race at the Red Bull Ring.
Not even enough time just to kind of flex your fingers out. You're straight back in the driving seat. Yeah. So we're going to be going for our final race to the Red Bull Ring. There's 22 laps here. Obviously, the drivers are going to be changing as they race, which is, you know, adds another dimension to it.
Here's a look at the Red Bull Ring circuit, though, formerly known as the Österreich Ring. It's a couple of hours up the road from here in Salzburg, 4.3 kilometres long, hosts Formula One, has hosted a lot of races over the years. Those are the 3 sectors, and in this final race they're going to be using the Red Bull concept car, the X2014.
Very, very lovely. We're standing in front of it for the opening, weren't we?
Yeah, it was
very
glorious
nice
stuff. So here are some of the key points on this Red Bull Ring circuit. Firstly, there's a lot of elevation up the side of a mountain. Just about half an hour from Graz, 65 metres elevation change. When you go up the top there, Julie, you get a beautiful view of the valley.
But you see, this would just distract. This is why I'd be a terrible racing driver. I'd be like, wow, look at that view. Oh, I've crashed. Whoops. But yeah, there's a lot of elevation there, and that's obviously going to play hugely on their strategy and how they do it.
Especially going up into that first corner, it means you can brake very, very late and up into this second corner as well, because gravity is helping you slow down as you come up into corner 1 and then turn 2, and then you start to drop down the hill through the hairpin right-hander, and then you've got a couple of lefts, and then this Jochen Rindt corner, named after the 1970 Austrian Formula One world champion, is a really fast downhill right-hander. We see plenty of mistakes there, plenty of people running wide, and that can compromise your run into the final turn. So the Red Bull Ring, a wonderful venue. It is genuinely, and I'm not just saying that.
Is this one of your faves?
I'm genuinely not just saying that. It is one of my favourite tracks to go to in the world. I mean, picturesque does not even begin to describe it. And I think we're going to see some great racing between these guys who are all going to be in the same car for the first time.
This is going to be exciting. I'm keen to see, because obviously we've watched them, you know, have a little bit of a practice, do some of their qualifying and kind of switch, which is fine. But then under race pressure, you know, when you're trying to get your house keys out and it's late at night, there's something about when you have to do it under pressure that suddenly you become all fingers and thumbs. So maybe we'll see a little bit of a mishap with the switchovers.
I'm not strong under pressure. I will.
No. Would you just be like falling over the chair,
exactly.
on the floor? Okay.
There's also some strategy to discuss into this one as well, because they've all got to use 3 compounds of tyre: the soft, the medium, and the hard.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah.
So they've got that's part of the strategy then. Like, which do they use with who and when?
Exactly. So if you're, for example, if you're Hungary starting on pole position, maybe you start on the soft compounded tyre, try and sprint away. They reckon in clean air it's about a second a lap between the soft, medium, and hard tyre compounds. Whereas if you're at the back, do you kind of take it steady on the hards for a while, or do you attack from the soft? So there's a lot of choices to be made.
Wow, it's a lot more complicated than you first looked on the surface, I think, a lot of the time. It's not just get in and race. There's so much to actually, like, take on board here. And obviously, like, the incorrect decision could really cost them the race. And, you know, you could drive the best you can, but you make that wrong decision.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see the drivers just getting into the zone, coming into this final race. That is the man who's going to start on pole position, Benjamin Bada. He is the Hungarian who's going to be starting on the front row of the grid for this final race.
I'm very excited for this one. Obviously, this is the final of our Nations Cup. Let's chuck it over to the casters and let's get this race underway.
Thank you very much indeed, Julia and Jack. And ahead of this final race then there, Jimmy, we're set for an absolutely exciting one. We've got the Red Bull Ring, a very short circuit. We've got very powerful cars in the Red Bull X2014 machines. We've got increased tyre wear. We've got racing medium tyres for these drivers only. And for the first time this evening, we've got driver changes as well.
Yeah, all in the same car. So driver change is going to be a really big deal around here, because you might think, oh, it's very easy just to get in and get out of a racing seat. But when you're under pressure, you maybe make a little mistake. Maybe you trip. Maybe you have to adjust the seat very quickly as well. So these little things come into the race and make things a bit more tricky for the drivers.
Yeah, it certainly does. And it's interesting to know what different strategies. You can see the French team here just congregating amongst one another as they work out what kind of strategies they've got. The Italians taking a bit more of a relaxed approach here by the looks of things, Jimmy.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to have a little bit of relaxing as well. Of course, here is TRL Lightning. Michael Hizel.
Yeah, it's been a day to forget really for Germany though, hasn't it? So
yeah,
far?
It really has been. He'll be disappointed with that. I know him personally. He's not the type of guy who enjoys coming in 8th position and 7th position. He's very much a winning driver. One of the best teams we've seen so far, the Japanese guys, they're also in position to possibly come away with a win here. But of course, people to watch, the Hungarians.
Yeah, absolutely right, as you say there, Jimmy. Just to remind you of the standings before this double points final race, and you can see 40 points, a 10-point lead for Hungary over Spain. Japan not too far adrift as well. France a little bit further away there in 4th position. But again, anything can change in this race. Great Britain and Italy tied on points there as well. Hong Kong pretty much out of the running here, but regardless, they could still be set for a bit of an upset in this race, depending on what sort of pace. We know that Hong Kong have shown some pace in the practice sessions we've seen so far, but it is definitely all to play for. I would say there, Jimmy, around about the top 4, maybe even the top 6 for the final point standings.
It's going to take a lot for Hungary to do here to throw this away, but of course we've seen things like that happen in World Tour events before, and I'm sure we'll see them again. You can see there is a close-up, very nice looking beard there. On,
much better than yours or mine. Well, I haven't got one.
How dare you?
Yeah, I shaved it all off this morning because it was looking terrible. It's very, very patchy. You can see the Hungarian team there just having a bit of a discussion amongst one another.
There is a little bit of a rule, just to clarify, that only 2 drivers are allowed on the stage at any one time, so one of the other drivers has to sit it out and wait to sort of come back in again. Just to clarify tyres, we should go over that very quickly.
Yeah, they're all on racing medium tyres for this one. So what they will do is the drivers will pit in, they will change onto the same compound of tyres, racing medium tyres that is, put some more fuel on board as well, and then during that pit stop when the car is being serviced in the pit lane, they will change over the driver. So they're not allowed to do it on a live circuit, they have to come into the pit lane as they would do in an endurance race typically as well. A wink to the camera there for Italy as well.
Well, that Italian flair coming out again. These guys are always great fun to watch. And now let's head to the circuit, shall we?
Final time then for the Gran Turismo Nations Cup. This is how it's going to line up. All of these cars, by the way, in the liveries representing their particular nation. So you can see the Hungarian Red Bull X 2014 on pole position. So Hungary then will have pole. Will they be leading down towards that crucial first corner? France alongside them, the blue, white and red machine. Row 2, headed by Spain. Red and yellow machine, very easy to distinguish. Alongside them, it's Brazil. Brazil having had a bit of a mixed run so far, I think it's fair to say, in this Nations Cup. The United States of America heading row 3 of the grid. And alongside them, it is Great Britain. British racing green for the Brits here this afternoon. Then the next row, Hong Kong in the red and white machine. And alongside Hong Kong, it is Japan in the white and red machine. The next row of the grid, Australia. Keep an eye out for them as well. Flashes of speed we've seen through them throughout this evening, but not the consistency. Austria as well, home track, home venue here at the Red Bull Ring. Italy down in 11th position on the final row of the grid. And completing the 12 drivers, 12 teams rather, I should say, it is Germany. So what will they be able to do? They'll be hoping for some kind of a good amount of fortune going down towards that first turn. So it is going to be a rolling start for these drivers. Pressure is on. Double points to remind you, and a 22-lap race. Driver changes to be made for the teams as well. Let's see what they will do when they come into the pit lane and when they will elect to run those strategies. Out of the final corner we go though. Gran Turismo World Tour here at the Red Bull Ring. The final for the Nations Cup is underway, and it's a great start for Hungary. The slipstream already coming into effect. Very, very difficult to try and judge your braking point down in towards turn 1. Spain already thinking about a move, but the top 3 lining astern, not changing positions. The United States of America moving ahead of Brazil. They move up. Britain also making some grounds. Brazil now dropping down the order, so they've had an incident by the looks of things at the first turn. Everybody scything past them through the field. So big, big drama here, and you can see in the background Brazil right at the very back of the pack as Spain and the USA go side by side. Great Britain and Japan also going side by side.
Very clean start from these guys around. It can be very tempting to throw one up the inside at one of these corners, but everyone's been nice and good so far. France up the inside of Hungary for the lead of the race. Whoa! Hungary going to go around the outside, use the downforce of that X 2014. He'll now have the inside for the double left, but France is going to have the momentum coming out. I think Hungary's going to pull back in front here. Here we go into the left-hander. You can run nice and wide here. France contact between the two. France still alongside. How is this possible at this point? France using the downforce. Hungary then comes back to the inside. Spain was a bit of this as well in the background. France pulls ahead. What a move!
Surely this can't be sustainable for the remainder of this race. The pit stops are going to be very, very crucial in this one. France, though, do manage to lead the way. You can see America trying to attack Spain as well, coming into the penultimate turn, into the final corner. France versus Hungary. On board, we ride with Hungary. Some crucial points to mention as this gap will indeed shrink going down towards the first corner. We'll mention that in a few moments. Here come Hungary down the inside at turn number 1. Will they manage to outbrake France? They get the move done and dusted. They get the apex as well, and they take back the race lead.
Absolutely fantastic action so far. In the background is Spain, US, Japan, all close together. Hungary still defending from France. These are the downforce machines, so the slipstream's very strong around here. France looking to the outside yet again. Well, I don't think... Oh, here comes Spain.
Spain, look at that. What a great run they had under brakes.
Nowhere to go, though. Nowhere to go. Hungary is stopped on the apex at this point. Hungarian driver looking to the right-hand side to defend. The Spanish driver looking to buzz all around to the mirror saying, look, I'm here, don't look in front, look at me.
The Spanish commentators next door to us there, Jimmy, as well, are going absolutely crazy. Look at Japan as well, finding their way through onto the rostrum ahead of France. So France from the lead of the race at the start of this lap are down into 4th place. And Germany as well, from the back of the grid, are up into 6th place.
Germany, of course, not really possible for them to win this competition right now, but they are determined to go out on a high. Hungary first, Spain second, Japan first, France 4th, and Great Britain in that British Racing Green X 2014 in 5th position. Looking back now from Japan, look at how close France gets here. Looks to the inside of the last corner. There's an incident involving the Japanese and the United States driver, so we'll get into that very shortly and we'll see what happened there.
Look at the heartbeat as well. You can see for Japan, it's pretty much a constant 110 there and thereabouts, so really going pretty heavy at the moment as we drive with the Japanese driver. We ride on board with him through the first corner. Hong Kong getting the better of the USA. The United States of America going tumbling down the order, down into 10th position then for them, considering they were battling nearly inside the top 5 in the opening couple of laps. That is a big, big disappointment. One thing to mention whilst we just have a quick break in the overtaking moves and the drama on track is that these X2014s are not like the ones they'll have been using at home and not like the ones you'll have been using at home either. There's less aero on these cars, so they're a lot more slippery, and there's more air resistance there as well. So it does make things very, very tricky indeed for these drivers to handle and adapt to so quickly.
And of course, bear in mind, we do have the tyre wear as well being very high, so even with the downforce, these cars are going to struggle as we come through some of the corners. You can see there times 11 on the tyre wear, so every lap is 11 laps on the tyres, and here we are again.
Spain running wide. They're going to allow Japan to get onto the back of them, surely coming into the final couple of corners. Spain know that they've made a duff of that as well. They already go defensive, but fortunately for them, they don't manage to get past by Japan or France or Great Britain, who are immediately behind them.
Assuming a lot of this is actually going to depend on pit stops and how fast the guys can get in and out of the pit lane. We expect to see a stop at the end of lap 8 or so, but we'll get to that in a minute as the car's snaking down the pit straight, all looking for that little bit of slipstream. Now coming up through T1. Long run towards T2. Some consider this right-left to be 2 corners. I don't, frankly. They're completely flat and very easy in pretty much any car. Then up to the real T2. As Jack said before the race started, you can break up here very late because of the gravity. Japan up the inside of Spain. That was contact, I think, there, Tom.
Oh,
and Spain goes round!
Spain goes round! Big drama, that's going to compromise. Oh, and Germany caught up as well. Big drama on lap 4 here. Germany having nowhere to go, completely unsighted in that. The innocent victims in an incident that wasn't their fault. And Spain and Germany's race goes absolutely southwards then. Very, very disappointing for both nations.
Well, that was great for Great Britain, if you excuse the wordplay there. They're now up into 3rd position. Of course, there is now incidents being looked at.
Yeah, we've got one for Spain and Germany there, Jimmy, and we've got one also for Australia and Germany there as well. So let's keep an eye on that and see how that goes. Spain and Japan, rather, we should say. So let's see how that will go. Here is Japan, then they're now in 2nd position, but are they going to get a penalty from race direction? Let's see if we can piece together what happened. Here is Japan up the inside.
Just contact, it seems. It looks like actually Spain got loose on the exit, tried to hit the throttle to straighten it up, and of course just caught up the cars in the background who came into the corner unsighted. And it's actually created a little bit of a gap between 3rd and 4th place, and that's very important around here because slipstream is how these cars are staying together. Now there's a gap, these guys might be able to put away, but we'll have to wait and see. Great Britain now on the back of the slipstream of Japan. Not going to be close enough up into T2 here.
Yeah, Great Britain really closing up that gap though there, Jimmy. They're on the podium at the moment. They are going to be trying to get themselves a race victory. They've got 3 supremely talented drivers, as have all of the nations here this evening as well, and they're going to try and find themselves onto that top step of the podium if they can. And penalty for Japan, 5 seconds then they've been given following that incident. So the stewards here have deemed Japan to be at fault. So 2nd place then is going to go for a Burton for Great Britain. They're going to find their way past pretty much with a good amount of ease at the next penalty point.
And that will, of course, yes, promote GB up to 2nd. But as things stand, Hungary with the lead. If the race ended now, Hungary would be your Nations Cup champion. So Hungary don't really have to do much in this race in terms of finishing position. They can finish pretty much wherever they like. And look at that, no, slow down. Japan back down to 5th. And GB now in a place they haven't been throughout this competition so far, right on the back of the leader.
Well, the last time Great Britain went for gold was probably the 2012 Olympics. But this is absolutely fantastic. Down towards the 1st corner. Great Britain closing on Hungary through the 1st turn. These Red Bull X2014 machines, absolutely brilliant, and a great run for Great Britain. The British Racing Green car is surely going to go for a move into the left-hander, then into the right-hander of turn 3. Contact between the 2. We're riding on board. It's Klasic who's racing at the moment. He's down the inside. He's into the race lead. Team Great Britain leads the way out of turn number 3, but not for long because Hungary get the exit, they get the cutback, and they're side by side.
Did you see Klasic out of the corner? He was struggling for traction. The tyre's really starting to wear now. He was having to juggle the wheel to keep it in a straight line. Looks to the outside though, but there's no grip out there at the moment, so Hungary still takes the place. There was a penalty awarded while we were gone. I think it was to Australia for 3 seconds. That's not really going to affect the results as of now. They're still in 6th position. Japan back up to 3rd. Italy's had an incident, but they're down to 10th. They've gone from 4th to 10th position. What happened there?
Well, big drama then for Italy. We didn't see what happened on camera. We might get a replay of that one later on in the race. Looking at Great Britain though, they are all over the back of Hungary like a bad rash. So they're going to need some cream for that one, but down in towards the penultimate corner. He's trying to find his way past. He's trying to close up and not get caught up too much in that turbulent air. Australia with another 3-second penalty in this one there, Jimmy. So things going from bad to worse. They're in 4th place currently. They're going to drop down just inside, maybe if they're lucky, the top 10.
Oh,
Hong Kong pitting.
That's
first
an
driver
early
change.
pit stop for Hong Kong, that is coming in. We expect to see end of lap 8, end of lap 7. So the driver change is happening now. There'll be one driver in, one driver out. I'm sure we're going to picture-in-picture with that most likely. There it is, our driver, new driver seated, just moving the seat to his position. And off we go. Meanwhile, Hungary and Great Britain still going at it. This is the thing around this circuit. When you have a slipstream, there's not really any getting away from anyone. Brazil in as well, so also choosing an early stop.
Brilliant stuff then. So Brazil, will there be a tactic that pays off for them? Of course, they're going to have to go a little bit longer in this mid-stint. Maybe they've realised that they haven't got their quickest driver in the car and they want to get somebody else out. You can see the driver change taking place in the bottom left corner of your screens. Look at this as well. Very close side-by-side racing still between Hungary and Great Britain into the long sweeping left-hand corner. Great Britain gets the switchback. They're going to go side-by-side once again, struggling for traction into the left-hander, and Hungary cuts the nose of Great Britain off. Brilliant racing between the two.
Classic's really struggling with traction there. I'm not quite sure if that was a better point to illustrate that, as coming out of that right hand of the rear end of the car, just not playing ball. Ideally, they want one more lap.
Oh, Hungary pitting.
Hungary. Great Britain goes round again. This is going to be the undercut, it seems, at this point.
Let's see whether it's a strategy that pays off then. So medium race tyres for them. They change over to their next racing driver. So let's see what they're going to be able to do here.
That's Taipei in the car at the moment.
Yep. So he's into the car. He's into the pit lane. The driver change is taking place. You can see more fuel, more tyres, racing medium tyres. Spain in, Hungary in, United States in as well, and France. So everybody making their pit stops then on lap 8. Great Britain trying to go for the overcuts here. Is this going to be a tactic for Klasic? Will it work out for him? That means that Japan now and Germany are up into 2nd place. They haven't pitted. They've gone on longer here as well. Tactics very, very important in this one.
It is. Germany still going around now. I'm going to say, Tom, we've seen this in F1 before. We've seen the undercut come in. That is going to be very important here. These guys are now on very, very old tyres. They're going to be going very slow.
Another penalty.
Another penalty. It's just not been their race. Very messy from the Japanese guys so far, who started so strong. But right now, look out for Hungary. GB will be in this lap. I'm going to call that now. I think it's going to be M. Thomas getting in the car next, from what I can see on the stage at the moment.
Well, absolutely. You've got to bet that Great Britain are going to be in this lap as well, as you say there, Jimmy, because they were just struggling so much with grip. Is it going to be a tactic that works out, though, for them? They do indeed dart into the pit lane. So Great Britain, their nearest target was Hungary, and Hungary's not too far away. So I think you're absolutely bob on here, Jimmy. Hungary are going to get the undercut pretty nicely by the looks of things. So Thomas then into the car. The pit stops going on. Let's see how the positions do change. Great Britain going tumbling down the order. The next target is going to be Hungary. Let's see how the gap changes. Japan also in. Hungary goes past. Austria goes past. Is this going to be a tactic that will work for them? Maybe in the latter stages of this one. They'll have fresher tyres on board their machines. You can see as well that Germany, Australia, Great Britain comes out in 3rd place. So, hang on a minute.
He's off
the track, and that allows Hungary through. So big drama, and a mistake from Thomas then coming out of the pit lane does allow Hungary and Austria to go through.
He actually came out ahead of the Hungarians, but then just didn't get on the throttle. I think he got on the throttle a bit too sharp. The rear end got away from him, and onto the grass he went. That's going to cost him big time. He is just I think, going to be in the slipstream of the Austrian guys in front. Sorry, I made that mistake a couple of times this week. But at the front, it's Germany. They now have clear air, but they're going to have to pit probably at the end of this lap.
Well, they've got a 5-second advantage over Australia here, Jimmy, but that's not going to be enough for them to hold on to that position. They're going to be dropping down to just inside the top 5, maybe just outside of the top 5, probably outside of it as well.
Well, we have Australia and Austria both pitting on this lap. I'm going to say I'm going to take that risk now. What did Germany do?
Let's see.
They stay out?
They staying out again? Surely not. Lap 9 out of 22 here. Those tyres are going to be like chewing gum by the end of this lap. Surely they're going to be offering absolutely no grip at all. Austria into the pit lane.
Now, there's nothing in the rules that says driver time. It just says
they have to make the pit stops.
Each driver has to make the pit stop. So Michael Hazel, who's one of the faster guys in the German camp, may be opting to do a bit more time.
Well, big drama then. Austria and Australia into the pit lane. So the only nation that hasn't made a pit stop is Germany. Will it be a tactic that pays off for them? Look at France all over the backside of Great Britain now. We're close in terms of the distance apart between countries, and we're very close on circuit as well. France darting down the inside of the AMS corner. Up the inside they go, and Thomas has to relinquish that position.
These guys need to work together now. If they're going to catch the guys in front, they've got to identify that it's faster to run as a pair than run on their own. So Thomas is going to be trying to chase down the French driver as it stands, and of course they have the Hungarians just 2 seconds ahead of them. The German are still yet to pit. I'm looking over, there is a driver waiting right now.
Yeah, it's DRL Lightning in the car. We know how quick he can be. Is he any good on used tyres? Well, he looks to be at the moment. That gap between themselves and Hungary, 10
he's going to come in. He's coming in.
Yeah, he's coming in. You can see him there going towards the inside of the circuit. So this will be a pit stop then on lap 10 out of 22. So Germany into the pit lane. Will it be a tactic that pays off? We know how quick their drivers can be and who is going to get into the car. Let's wait and see. This is looking at Hungary now as well. You can see them in second position. The driver change taking place for Germany. So a change for them as they drop down the order. Let's see what will happen. Hungary take over at the front, as well as France and Great Britain also going through. But Germany, of course, they've got that pit exit. It is slightly shorter, but they're nowhere near it at the moment in any way, shape or form. A penalty as well here, I can see on our screen, Jimmy, for Hong Kong in 5th place. Germany come out of the pit lane, then they're in 4th position by the looks of things. Just waiting to see what happens as they get themselves off the racetrack.
Look at France. Sorry, France have pulled away from Team GP through the middle sector and are actively now gaining on the Hungarian driver. This is huge. France, I'm not quite sure who's in the French car right now, but they are absolutely pushing that X2014 to the limit. There is Owens Lenoir in the car at the moment, a very, very fast driver.
And we saw how quick he was, especially at the end of race 3 last time around at the Big Willow Raceway there. You can see his heart monitor going away, 125 beats per minute. It's going up and up and up at the moment. So let's see how he will be able to deal with that pressure. Hong Kong going down the order as they serve that time penalty. So bad to worse then for that nation. Big disappointment for them, a lot of promise. Sadly, not a lot of execution for them.
Not quite sure what happened to Italy there. A real shame. There is our current points ranking. At the moment, Hungarian leading. We see here, and here is the points we expect to see. The points we expect to see right now, if the race finishes as it does. Team GP 5th, Spain 4th, Japan 3rd, France 2nd, and importantly Hungary would take the win.
Very big thanks to our presenter Jack Nichols as well, who's dropped off the drivers chart for us, so we now know who is going to be in the car at each specific time. So we're now on the second out of the drivers that they've got. So it is Lenoir in the French car, as you can see at the moment, but in the Hungarian machine it is Tapai that is leading the way at the moment on the defensive. So let's see what they are going to be able to do, whether they will be able to defend that position. We're coming up, we're already over the halfway stage of this race now, Jimmy, and it's going to be interesting to see when they opt to pit for that second and final time in this race.
You have to really think about it. You can go for the undercut and take the tyre advantage, but if you're following someone around here, that's worth a lot more time than the undercut is. So you have to make the choice, right, do I want to stay in the slipstream or do I want to go around one more time? French driver now, Lenoir, is right on the back, and that is who's out in the car right now? We've got, that is Taipei in the car, sorry, as we said before, right on the back of the Hungarian driver, and just seemingly waiting now, maybe just staying behind.
Oh, they're going to the pits, are they? They're going towards the inside of the circuit. Maybe they're ducking out of the slipstream there.
I think he's just saying, look, I'm behind you, but they're mind games there, of course. If the driver's looking in his mirrors, he isn't looking at the apex of the next corner.
Look at the face of Tapai on the bottom left corner of your screen. Full concentration from the Hungarian. France pulling out of the slipstream down towards the first corner, perhaps trying to distract Hungary at the moment, try and make them look in their mirrors, maybe just miss their braking point by a couple of metres. Sometimes that is all it will take to try and find their way past. Going defensive they are. You can see France trying to pull alongside them. They're going to have to go the long way round, though, into turn number 3 here. They're side by side and going down onto the brakes. Hungary brakes later.
Not quite. There is another warning for Japan. They've been a little bit faster. France goes to the inside, but gets the oversteer, gets in the front a bit too much. The rear tyres spin up, and the car loses traction, and that lets the Hungarian driver have a little breath of fresh air. Now, just to very quickly mention something, the Great Britain driver is M. Thomas, currently in the car at the moment. He is actually a pad user. He doesn't usually use a wheel, so he's come here without the knowledge of, without being used to using a wheel, and still has that GP car in 3rd place. What a performance.
Look at Spain and Japan as well. Japan's having a bit of a shocker of a run out of that corner, and Spain are all over their rear wing at the moment. Through the middle sector they go, and you can see visibly how much faster Spain are in this particular point. It's Ithal Thugasa at the moment behind the wheel of that Red Bull X2014 machine. Behind the wheel of the Japanese car, it is Nakao, and they're going very, very close indeed, and surely you can sense it's going to be a matter of when and not if for Spain to try and find their way past their Japanese competitors.
Yeah, Germany down in 8th position now. Maybe that was the...
And Hong Kong in the pit lane again as well, Jimmy.
Hong Kong coming in early again, so that'll be their final stop. They've got to go very far on that last set of tyres. We'll see if that works out for them.
Japan again getting a bit wide, bit on the exit, so that is going to compromise their run out of turn number 1 through turn 2 and through turn 3. They go defensive. They try and force Spain to go all the way around the outside, and Ithal Dugasa is going to try and find his way up the inside at the AMS corner, but he's no way through there at the moment. Maybe he'll have to wait just another day to try and find his way through. Meanwhile, Italy now down in 11th position, having been handed a penalty. Brazil also in the pits, Jimmy.
Been a bad race for Italy so far, and Germany really. They've just been really in the wars. Not usually their own fault, but still down below the top 6. We're currently looking at the Spanish car, of course, in that Spanish flag livery. Great to see the Gran Turismo livery editor being actually used in this. We don't really get that so much in the big events. It's great to see it make an appearance, of course. So the Brazilians in for their final stop, presumably. That might go again. Only 2 stops really required for this race for the driver change. And here is the Spanish driver, well, saying right onto the back of the Japanese driver, but it looks like Hungary pitted in. Hungary pitted in for their last stop. Now, this is big, because France are around on their own now. Team GP gaining on the French team as well.
Spain also in.
We have Blajan in the car at the end. We know how fast Blajan is, so this is going to be a sprint to the finish now. People now taking their last pit stops. There is Rincon in the car as well.
Yeah, I can see the drivers just changing from our commentary position here, Jimmy, as well, and they're all looking pretty tired after that one. A lot of mental concentration going in. Hungary then out of the pit lane in 6th position. Let's not forget the drivers in front have not pitted yet. They are still on their first pit stop. They've got one more to make in this race at a very, very minimum, and big contact as well between them. Into the back of Germany, into the back of Australia go Germany as well, and Hungary perhaps just cold tyres there, a little bit unsighted on the brakes and going straight into the back of them.
This is our out lap, Tom. It needs to be a good lap if they are pitting at a different point than the French guys are. So this is actually terrible for Hungary, and this could allow France to get the gap they need when they come out of the pit stop.
And they're going to have to be careful as well, because race direction, we already know they've been handing out a plethora of penalties so far this evening. Let's see whether they're going to hand out any more, potentially because of that incident. Let's see. It is indeed under investigation. You can see between Germany and Hungary, France in the pits.
Look how close the GB car is, though. They've gained up massively there. That French driver, Lenoir, must be really struggling now.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Great Britain have done an absolute masterstroke then here. Let's see what will happen. So into the French car then will go Garnier, and into the Great British car will go Martin Grady. We know how fast Martin Grady can be on his day as well.
Both men of experience, I should say. And here they are, out nose to tail. Importantly, here comes the Hungarian car and the Australian car. Where is Hungary? They're being slowed up massively by Australia. Who's going to come out in the net lead of this race?
They're ahead.
GB and France are ahead as well. Hungary behind the 2, importantly, so it's lost 2 positions there in the pit stop.
Wow, that's big drama, and let's not forget that incident is still under investigation by Race Direction, so there might be a penalty handed out for Hungary just to rub salt into the wound for them. France now in 2nd position. All over the back of them is Great Britain. In the lead of the race now is Japan, but they haven't made their 2nd pit stop, and you know, because of the gap that they've got, just 6.7 seconds, that they will be passed by the drivers behind unless they have some kind of an absolute miracle dash to the finish.
Hungary wide again at the exit. They're losing time hand over fist at the moment, down to 6th and with a penalty.
Hungary, yeah, 3-second
this is
penalty.
terrible for them at the moment. They're still in a good position, but the thing is, if France or GB do well in this race, there is a chance, a slight chance, that Hungary will not be coming away with the championship here.
Well, this is very, very big indeed. Japan into the pit lane then, lap 16 out of 22. Into the box they go. They're going to lose their race lead. It now becomes a de facto race lead between France and Great Britain. It's going to be an all-out battle on the circuit for this race lead. Australia going past. Austria surely going to go through. No, Australia in the pits. Austria also in the pits. So 3 nations in the pits then at the start of lap 17. France go wide out of turn 1 there, Jimmy, and Great Britain closing. So France are going to have to hope that Garnier has got something in his back pocket, or Grady is going to find his way through and into that race lead here in the final.
What a climax this is building to here at the Red Bull Win at the Gran Turismo World Tour event. Here comes Martin Grady to the inside there of Garnier. He's going to come down to T3. Look how cool and collected Martin looks there. On the brakes, he's not going to go for it just yet, but he is in the prime position. He has the slipstream. As long as he can stay there, he can choose his moment to attack.
He's got lots of experience here as well. Here's the live points ranking there, Jimmy. As it stands, Hungary would still have the championship victory in the Nations Cup at the moment, but only by 3 points ahead of France. So France need to win this, and they need to hope that Hungary have an absolute shocker more than anything, because it's double points in this race, let's not forget. Instead of 14 points for the winners, it's 28 points.
If Hong Kong and Japan have a good finish to the end of this race, there is a chance that Hungary will lose that place, and that might promote France up to the actual winners of the entire Nations Cup, although they need to beat Team GB. And if Martin Grady has anything to say about that, that's going to be a very difficult task. Here we are then, T1 again, for the 18th time of asking. Grady a little bit slow off the exit there. Garnier using all the track. Bit more.
Oh,
there goes Team GB.
Great Britain leads.
Oh, my.
My goodness me, on lap 18 out of 22, Britain leads the way, but down in towards turn 3. Are they going to find a way through? France, there's contact between them. Oh, no. France and Great Britain make contact, and surely Race Direction will be looking at that one. Just a bit too eager on the brakes there for Garnier behind the wheel of the X2014. Grady still manages to hold on to the lead. He still leads the way, but they're still 3.5 laps from home here as well.
This is great news for Hungary. They need GB to win this race if their championship is going to be secure. Martin Grady now has a clear track, but importantly, the French drivers now have the slipstream. So it's going to be Garnier. He is now going to try and pull back up to the rear of that British Racing green liveried X2014, but in the background Spain as well. If these guys fight too hard, there'll be a Spanish driver there to pick up the pieces, and France, the French driver, pulling back up to the rear wing of Martin Grady once more.
Wow, big drama indeed. Let's see whether Race Direction do investigate that incident between France and Great Britain. We've seen penalties handed out for a very similar incident following that one, and very close on the brakes into turn 1 as well. Then France looking very racy indeed. Great exit, they're on the grass as well. You can see the pressure's on, you can see his heart is beating out of his chest at the moment now as well. And France going to try and take the lead of the race away down into turn 3. Up the inside go France on Great Britain. Side by side they were, and France now leads the way. The French commentators just over the way from us here, Jimmy, they are going absolutely apoplectic following that.
And I kind of hope that the GP guy will win, because you won't hear the end of it if the French guys win. But of course, as objective commentators, you won't talk about that too much. In the background, Hungary up to P3. They are not done in this race yet, and they are within striking distance of the top 2. This could be a 3 or 4 car race to the finish now, Tom.
Well, this is very, very exciting indeed. So you can see the 3 contingents there, 3rd, 4th and 5th of Hungary, Spain and Japan, looking very, very close indeed. You can see the live points ranking on the right side of your screen. Hungary would take it, a 5-point advantage over Great Britain. So this could be very, very crucial indeed, with Hungary making their ascension through the field here. And if they finish behind Great Britain, I'm just going to try and do the maths on the point standings here there, Jimmy, and try and find out exactly what the place would be if France finished in 2nd position. There would be a 4-point difference between them, so Hungary would still take it by just 1 point.
Look at this now, Tom. 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, all in your picture. We're with Spain now. They're all coming back together. I thought it was only going to be a 2-car race. Hungary coming back. This could be going down to P3 there for Team GB, although they're on the slipstream of France as well. So here they are, all coming up to T2. Hong Kong getting involved as well. We are 20 laps into this race, and the top 5 are covered by less than a second. This is absolutely fantastic race, and this is what the World Tour is all about.
Absolutely brilliant stuff from all the competitors here. And look at it now, it's almost nearly, in some instances, a 5-way scrap for this race lead. Just 1.5 laps remaining here at the Red Bull ring to decide the winner of this final. And it's anybody's guess at the moment. Nobody knows who's going to do it. We know that Hungary and France are battling for the championship, and whatever outcome happens here this evening could be absolutely crucial in this Nations Cup.
Absolute snake of cars now. We're going to be coming on to the penultimate lap. Hungary, GB, all in your picture right now, coming round the last corner. Now, it's going to become a very high-speed game of chess. There is Blajan there, on board, looking determined, just taking a check in his mirrors to make sure no one's going to have a go. Just puts the car to the inside, says, please don't overtake me here. Let's do it here. Not a bad exit from Grady there. Bad exit from the Hungarian, from Blajan. That's going to allow the Spanish driver to get up behind. Of course, now that slipstream isn't going to be as effective from this far back.
USA being given a penalty there, Jimmy, down into 9th position. They're rather running France, having to defend from Great Britain. Britain down the inside. Do they get the lead of the race? They're very close. There's no contact between them, but they're going to compromise their exit. They're still going to run side by side. France retain the lead. Here comes Hungary now as well in the slipstream. A 3-way battle for the race lead. Down in towards the following corner. Hungary trying to find their way down down the inside. Great Britain trying to lead the way. France holds on to it on the upshot. Spain and Japan going side by side as well.
This is going to be an absolutely fantastic last lap. I can tell you that now for free. Grady there, still holding on to second place. The thing is, you make a mistake, you take a lunge, you get it wrong, you're going to be passed by not one, not two, but probably even 3 cars at this point. All the pressure right now is on Garnier, the French driver. Can he hold on for one more lap?
You just get the feeling, don't you, that this is going to end badly somewhere along the line. We've got another lap to go here at the very short, very tight and twisty, but yet very quick Red Bull Ring. And it's the Nations Cup final. It is all to play for with double points. It's all to play for the championship as well. Japan and Spain going nearly into the wall. Great Britain going for the race lead as well against France. Down the inside, nearly in the first corner. There's contact between them. France going off at turn number 1.
Here comes Hungary now, going to take advantage of the bad run through there. Grady just a little bit too polite, I think, on the apex and let France get away, but that's at the Hungarian driver.
Down to turn 3. Here comes Hungary.
Japan in the background. Oh my, it's all happening now.
Are off, and Hungary are off as well, nearly. Wow, big drama, and France might have thrown it all away here. Hungary now leads the way. France down to 3rd position.
Here comes Grady on the outside.
Here comes Grady. Is he going to do it for Britain? Down it towards the right-hander. Nearly side by side they run. Britain on the outside. They have to compromise the exit. Surely it's going to be in the final sector where we see these moves being made.
He got muscled out there again, not being as aggressive as he could be through there. A little bit of an incident in the background, but right now it's Hungary leading. This is their race. They've come from third to first on the last lap now. The last only 2 more corners to go. Team GP in the background. In the background we have Japan, France and Hong Kong all together there. Almost 3 wide in the background with Japan leading, Hong Kong up to 4th. France have gone from 1st to 5th in 1 lap. Here it is then, last corner, and it will be Hungary that takes the win from Team GP here at the Red Bull Ring.
Absolutely brilliant stuff. Hungary takes the victory by 2/10 of a second and the Nations Cup final title. Absolutely incredible. Great Britain in 2nd, Japan on the podium in 3rd place, France in 4th, Hong Kong in 5th position. There was an incident under investigation there as well by the race stewards, so we'll see how that one is deciphered and whether there are any post-race penalties. But undisputedly there, Jimmy, Hungary win the Nations Cup here tonight at the GT Sport World Tour at the Red Bull Hangar 7.
What an absolutely epic race that was, Tom. It seems that time and time again the World Tour just delivers fantastic, clean and most importantly exciting racing. And of course the Hungarians doing a fantastic job across all races we've seen this evening, and there they are, they're the 3 drivers. They don't look very happy having that result, but I think they're probably just trying to calm down after that.
Yeah, you can see how much their BPM was going over the course of that race, Jimmy, as you say, and it really was an absolutely electric performance. We can see from our commentary position all the competitors shaking hands with one another and embracing them following that particular race. We're just having notice from race direction in our ears as well that Japan have been given a 5-second penalty following their incident with Spain going on to the final lap. So let's see how that will affect things. Well, it certainly does mean that Japan will not then be on the podium here in the Nations Cup. So that is big, big drama following the end of that Nations Cup final. You can see Martin Grady there in the middle of your shot, just smiling at us to the camera, shaking hands with his fellow competitors. On the left of him is Thomas, as they're talking through to their competitors following an absolutely amazing final here at the GT Sport World Tour for the Nations Cup. I tell you what, Jimmy, we need to cool down after that one because that was absolutely unbelievable. I don't know how it could have gotten any closer.
I'm not sure my voice can survive another one of those, Tom, but here it is. From the get-go, it was everyone for themselves. France and Hungary showing from the early they meant business. Hungary, of course, just keeping France on the outside for the majority, but it was the French driver that came out in the lead on the early on. There is Bado there looking his steely, non-emotional self as always. And it was just really a race of changing decisions. Here was a big thing here. I think this was, no, not quite. That was a couple of laps later, but of course we didn't have the incident with Spain. Spain moving up to second early on, but it would go wrong for them a bit later on in the race.
Well, this was big, big drama. You can see the disappointment there on one of the competitors' faces. I think that was Italy as well. See Japan and Spain going side by side. This was the big incident that really decided it in the early stages. Spain going round as well. Germany getting caught up. An unfortunate passenger in that incident. A penalty being given in the end there for Japan following that one. So big, big drama for them. You can see the disappointment on Spain's face, and head hands on their head rather, following that one as well. And look at the pressure as France were just trying to cool off and trying to keep it pretty calm. Great Britain, meanwhile, and Hungary going for the race lead on lap 6. This was down the inside at turn number 3. Up the inside they found themselves, and this would really be a theme that continued for the rest of that race.
It turns out in the end that Team GP did have what it takes to drive at the front. Here's one of the driver swaps on board there. There's M. Thomas there fumbling their headphones a bit. You can get a bit nervous on the driver swap, but he got in. And unfortunately, actually on the pit exit, he made a little bit of a mistake here. Cold tyres got in the front a bit too quickly, a bit too eagerly, and actually went off to the right here, caught the grass, and actually lost about a second or so, which allowed Hungary back into the net lead.
Yeah, it certainly didn't help him any amount, did it? But regardless, an absolutely brilliant final stint there from Martin Grady. Certainly did help them at the end of that one. You can see Hungary's driver change. This was their final one. Patrick Blajan going into the cockpit of their Red Bull X 2014. And this was really where it would be interesting to see whether they would be able to make their way through the field. They came out side by side nearly with Australia for 4th place, but then lost out to Germany on pit exit. So the question was, would Hungary be able to catch up on the back of the rest of the field? Well, certainly they would do, because they made their way through the field with quick succession. Great Britain, meanwhile, and France went hammer and tong for the race lead. However, Jimmy, whilst they were squabbling amongst one another, Spain, Hungary and Hong Kong closed up.
See the French drivers there, very passionate bunch, good guys. Got to meet them back, of course, at the World Tour event, and here showing their skill once more. It was here that Grady made a little bit of a mistake, we'll say that, but then luckily for him, the French driver went onto the grass and allowed Team GB to momentarily lead this race, to the lots of comments of it's coming home on the YouTube stream.
Deary me, I realised my microphone was turned off as I was laughing then. Meanwhile, this was the battle for the lead as France found themselves up the inside of Great Britain. Very, very close racing indeed as they were still going side by side. This was the final lap though, and Great Britain and France making contact at the first corner. No penalties handed out following that one, just a racing incident as race direction deemed it. This was Japan versus Spain on the final lap as well. France going wide at turn number 3 allowed Hungary and Great Britain to ascend themselves into the lead, and the question was, would Great Britain be able to close up on the back of Hungary before the race was finished? Well, the answer to that was a very firm no, because Patrick Blajan was absolutely in control of it through the final sector. He didn't allow Grady to close up. They took the race victory in the final and the overall cup here tonight for the Gran Turismo World Tour event at the Red Bull Ring in Salzburg. Absolutely brilliant. You can see there, 68 points. Hungary finished ahead of France. And absolutely brilliant stuff. Nearly a 20-point advantage that they had over France at the checkered flag there. You can see France and Spain only separated by 1 point, and Great Britain 1 point further back from that. Japan a couple of points back as well in 5th position. Difficult day though in the office for the likes of Italy, Australia, Germany, Germany, United States of America, and the Brazilian country as well. They were all having a bit of difficult times for them. So very, very big drama indeed, as we saw. Absolutely incredible stuff between them. And you can see really what it means. Lots of action going on here at the Red Bull Ring. Some of the commentators getting very passionate, as it sounds, over to our left-hand side as well, Jimmy.
Well, that makes no change to me at the moment. You can hear the cheers in the background. The drivers get ready. They're just they're very happy in the background. It's great to see such community between the drivers as well. It's a competitive event, but everyone's very friendly. Lots of shaking of hands, lots of good sportsmanship, of course, absolutely. Which is, as you know, what GT Sport is all about.
Yeah, absolutely. Sportsmanship really does count for it. And what were the most impressive points for you in that race in particular? Do you think it was the incidents we had in the first few laps? Did you think it was the final few laps with Great Britain challenging France for the race lead?
I think it was just the tenacity that everyone showed. No one was really willing to give up at that point. But I think we are now ready for the rewards. So we'll pass it over to Julia.
Well, so that's it. That's the end of our Nations Cup, our first championship here for the Gran Turismo World Tour. And why don't we invite on our winners? So in 3rd place, we have Spain. Give them a big round of applause, please. Yes! I can hear the Spanish commentators over there. Well done. They're going to come up onto the podium in 3rd place. We did incredibly well. Yes. And in... Hug it out. You can fit on there, just about. And in 2nd place, we have France. Yes. And in 1st place, we have Hungary! The winner of our Nations Cup here at GT World Tour. Fantastic. They did really well, winning 2 out of the 3 races there. So they're very happy. So I think we have the awards to hand out. Just while they get there, get a few photos taken. Okay, this is Stephanie Lugger, who's our chief steward, handing out the 3rd place there to Spain. Well done. And then handing out our 2nd place position is Stefan Filastra, who's the head of brand from the FIA. And then, of course, to hand out our 1st place, we have the creator of Gran Turismo, Yamauchi-san. Yamauchi-san. And we are also handing out the award for the fastest time, which obviously goes... Yes, who wins a fantastic, beautiful, beautiful watch there. So big round of applause for all of our teams. They've done incredibly well in our first Gran Turismo World Tour Nations Cup. They're getting all their photos taken. They look incredibly happy. Well, very serious, but very happy also. Okay. So am I going to have a chat with the winning team with Hungary? I'm just gonna. Right. Hello. I'm just going to lean up here. I'm not tall enough for 1st place position, I'm afraid. Here we go. How do you feel?
We are happy.
I mean, if they said they were cross, you'd be a bit upset, right? How do you think? Did you do as well as you could?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah? Anything you want to change about your performance? Not you. You win the watch.
No, it was perfect for us, you know. Yeah. It couldn't have been better.
Yeah. But, how was it? How was the competition? Were they good competition?
Yeah, it was very good. Clean racing, tough fights, so it was very good.
Oh, well, big congratulations, and a big congratulations to all of our winners there. So we are going to be chucking it over now to our top 5 moments. Let's chuck it over to Tom and Jimmy.
I haven't been called Tim in a long time.
Tim and Johnny, there we go. I'm changing your names.
Tim and Johnny. Sorry, I called him Jerry earlier. Don't worry about it there. Thanks very much. Juliet will call you now from this evening. Yeah, no worries. Anyway, so our top 5 moments then from that race there, Jimmy. We're going to have a little look at them later on. You can see the drivers still on the podium celebrating following that one. Give us a smile there, boys, because that was absolutely fantastic. But our top 5 moments then from the entirety of the Nations Cup. This was race number 2, and this was going into the right-hander. This was Grasso for Italy going off and allowing Miezono through on the final lap.
And here we have from race 3 that memorable pass clash. It's actually pushing the Spanish driver right onto the gravel, and he will lose not 1 but 2 positions. Very interesting development now from race.
Yeah, this is race 1 with Yamanaka-san and Blajan on the final lap at the Fuji Speedway. They were going side by side, and it was a drag to the line for the first race victory that Japan won on home soil. They were absolutely over the moon with that, and quite rightly so. Now, moment number 2 from this one. This was in the final, on the final lap between Hungary and Great Britain. And the main point here is Hungary holding off Great Britain despite their mounting pressure from behind to take the overall victory in the Nations Cup.
Of course, the number 1 moment coming up in a little bit. Well, we'll get to that in a second, but a very great end result for Hungary. And here is the top moment. It is the crash from our last race. Spain, of course, getting a little bit looser after contact with Japan, and then carnage ensues with Germany caught up in the background. A sad end to their Nations Cup, but it pretty much ended how it started, not where they expected.
No, absolutely not. It looked like they would have a lot more in the tank there, as you said, Jimmy. So it really has been a very, very exciting Nations Cup. Hugely brilliant racing we've had so far. Out of all 4 races really this evening, lots of unpredictability. And the best thing was the championship went right down to the final lap.
Yeah, we got to the point where on about 5 laps to go, it could have gone to about 1 or 3 teams, which is ridiculous. But of course, the Hungarian drivers are so strong. Only one time did they not lose a race, and they lost that race by 0.03 of a second. So it shows you just how competitive those guys are here today.
Absolutely right. And we've talked about lots of very exciting points over the course of that one. We've got the Manufacturer Series coming up a little bit later on as well, and we're going to be finding out a little bit more about what's been going to be coming up with that one as well.
It is, and now we're going to be tossing back to our host Jack and the producer of Gran Turismo, the creator of Gran Turismo, I should say, Kazunori Yamauchi.
Yes, I'm very fortunate to be here with Yamauchi-san, and first of all, what a fantastic evening of racing we have seen already.
今晩のレースは本当に素晴らしかったですね。
そうですね。予選の時からね、僕も本当に驚いてしまって、今回300馬力の市販車から1000馬力近い LMP1 の車までいろんな車で、あるいはいろんなコースでレースをしましたけれども、本当にドライバーの能力がすごく高いので、どの車にもあっという間に適応してしまうのがやっぱりすごいなと思いました。
Yes, you know, we've had the quality of the racing that we've seen tonight is incredible, and it really surprised me. You know, we've had these drivers go through 300 horsepower commercial cars, all the way up to LMP cars with over 1,000 horsepower, and we've had them driving on a large variety of tracks as well, and their ability to actually just get used to and get into those cars and go racing is incredible.
And what about the future for Gran Turismo? Now there's this association with the FIA. What's next for the game and for the tournament?
そしたら未来の GT は、展開はどういったものになるのでしょうか。こうやって FIA と手を組んで、今後のゲームの未来というのはどういったものとして見てみますか。
まだまだ僕らがやることっていうのはたくさんあって、こういったイベントも今回2回目ですけれどもね、回を追うごとに完成度を高めていく。それが僕らのミッションなんですね。で、僕らが目指しているのはモータースポーツの未来でもあるし、あるいはビデオゲームの未来でもある。それを必死に探りながら前に進んでるんですね。
So I think you know, there's still lots and lots more for us to do. You know, this is the second time we've hosted a World Tour event like this, and we've been going through and refining every part of it, you know, every time, and that's our mission right now. You know, our main goal is really to foster the future of motorsports and also the future of video games, and we're really just trailblazing at this time.
Taka Yamauchi-san, arigato. And now we can take a look at a VT about the location here in Salzburg.
Today we find ourselves in the Eastern Alps. The Gran Turismo World Tour has come to Austria. Why here? The answer lies at the crossroads of racing heritage and high tech. Guarded over by the Hohensalzburg fortress, Hangar 7 is a temple dedicated to technology and speed. Surrounded by iconic racecraft, we're on a search to find the next legendary player. From Amadeus Mozart to Felix Baumgartner, expectations run high here in Austria. Under 1,200 tons of steel and glass here in Hangar 7, 36 drivers will attempt to make the jump from great to elite. And when things are finally settled here today, from the shadow of the mountains and the machines, champions will emerge.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is what it is all about, the Gran Turismo World Tour. Here we go then, and we're off away in racing. Who's going to emerge from the lead in all of this? What a fantastic move, but the race is not over yet.
Oh, it's over!
Oh. He has to keep them at bay. Oh, but he's running a bit wide. They're still side by side.
This is fantastic driving.
You can't ask for much more than that.
Wow, welcome back. So we've got one championship underway, but that isn't enough. Can't just have one championship. Don't be silly. We've got the next one up. It's the Manufacturer Series. So, I mean, Nations Cup, that was some really exciting racing going on there.
That last race was a thriller, and full credit to Hungary. Absolutely dominated. That was 3 of the 4 races Hungary won. They thoroughly deserved that victory.
Yeah, I mean, there's some the end of every single race was just nail-bitingly ridiculous is the word that I'm looking for.
Yeah, it's a good word, and hopefully we'll see more of it in the Manufacturers' Cup. So we've still got 3 more races to come. 2 semi-finals, and then into the sort of major final. So the top 6 teams from the 2 semi-finals will go into the final. All the races are 2 drivers per car, and yeah, that's how it's going to run.
Go through.
Exactly. So there'll be 12 drivers at the end of it.
And we still got that switch over as well to contend with, which is exciting.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we saw in that last race in the Nations Cup just how crucial it can be when you get different drivers in the car. One man who isn't in the car tonight, I'm afraid to say, is Adam Soswillo. And Adam, you're here as a reserve driver, but I mean, you've got a lot of experience in Gran Turismo.
Yeah, here today just a reserve. Gutted not to be driving. Yesterday I was all right, but today, yeah, a bit gutted not to be driving.
And tell us a little bit about your season, because you've won the last 3 Nations Cup races on the bounce, haven't you? In the online competitions.
Yeah, I did pretty well. I didn't expect to win 3 in a row. So yeah, it was great to come off with them results, and I guess now looking forward to the regional finals in Madrid.
I mean, what's it like being part of kind of the Gran Turismo family, like the community? You know, if maybe there's someone out there who's never really played the game, isn't really part of the community, what's it like being like smack bang in the middle of it?
I mean, it's great. If you can be invited to events like this, you know, get a free holiday out of it.
I just meant the community in general, not the swag and the perks, but I mean, we can talk about that.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, it's a great community. Involved with, you know, all the forums and other racing series as well. So
is it quite friendly to come
It is.
into?
I mean, you can, you know, if you need a bit of training or something, people will help you out with setups or tips. You know, we're all very friendly, but it's all very serious on track, so.
Yeah, I mean, because obviously the thing is, you know, it's a serious, you know, kind of racing game, and sometimes that kind of puts gamers themselves off. They're used to kind of doing, you know, pick up and play, but it's, you know, if you've got that kind of support from the community as well, it's well worth having a go, right?
Yeah, definitely. Anyone can pick up and play.
Yeah.
All you need is a PS4 and a Gran Turismo.
Yeah.
You start off with a controller, and then that's what I did, and then eventually bought myself a wheel. And it takes a bit of time to transition to a wheel like this. But you get used to it, and I think you enjoy it more as well, and I think you'll find a lot more pace with a wheel as well.
Who's going to win the Manufacturers Series?
Oh.
Good question. I would possibly say Porsche.
Okay, we're going for Porsche. Great, thank you. There we go, you heard it here
so
first
much.
from the actual expert, not just us.
Well, let's have a look at the qualifying standings right now and just see what it looks like as we're going to head into this particular championship. So here we go. Let's take a look.
So these are the individual qualifying standings that we saw right at the start of the show, but for the manufacturers, that is combined to give them their grid positions going into these 2 semi-final A and B races. So you saw Tomoaki Yamanaka, he was the fastest qualifier, and as a result, he is going to be starting at the front of his grid in semi-final A, and then you can see Gorniak and Lenoir for Volkswagen down at the bottom.
I know, there's so much to kind of play for, and as we were saying before, obviously they kind of predetermined what particular manufacturers they were going to be linked to before coming into this, obviously with, you know, preference to people who are playing, and driving with particular ones. But I think there's still so much to play for, and they're still literally coming off the back of the last championship. I mean, you know, come on.
Yeah, but we're straight into it. We're straight into the next track, so let's find out a little bit more about it.
So to talk about the Italian circuit around Lake Maggiore, I'm joined by Giorgio Mangano. Tell us about your history with Gran Turismo.
I started playing Gran Turismo with Gran Turismo 5. I started practicing, and then that's how I make myself to Gran Turismo.
And the Lake Maggiore circuit, what's the track like?
It has long corners, but also tight ones.
What sort of car do you want around there?
I prefer maybe a car that is faster in the corners.
What are the key corners on the track?
The hairpin after the long straight, that's a point where you can gain a lot of time.
Is it a point where you can overtake?
Of course, yeah, it's the most common point where you can overtake, try on the inside or outside. It's a track that I like. I hope to do a good race.
Great, thank you.
Thank you very much.
So that's a look at the Lago Maggiore circuit around the real lake. Have you been to the Italian lakes?
I have not, but yeah, I might, you know. I feel like this always actually makes me want to go travelling.
Yeah?
Watching races, definitely.
Coming to Salzburg isn't enough.
Well, no, it's not. I want to go to all these places, thank you very much.
So the car category for these are the GR3s, which are equivalent to FIA GT3 cars. Those are what we're going to be seeing, the likes of Mercedes, Lamborghini, Renault, Porsche, Mazda, Chevrolet in this first race. And there's going to be 7 laps. They're all going to be on the racing hard compound of tyre. And as I say, there's no points to worry about in this. So old, what did you call them? Bob and Johnny in the commentary box.
Tommy? I don't know
whoever
what
they are, they're not going to have to get their fingers out for maths. It's the top 6 go through to the final, 12 drivers in the final, 12 teams in the final. Whoever wins, wins.
I know, it's a lot more straightforward than we're making it sound. Let's throw it over to our commentators who are going to take you through this first semi-final race.
Well, how are you then, Bob? You're right.
I'm not sure I remember my old name. I might just...
Well, it's time then for the Manufacturers Series. My name's Tom Brooks. This is Jimmy Broadbent alongside me, and it is time then to get ready to go racing. Manufacturers Cup, of course, nations don't necessarily matter. We've got a mixture of different nationalities per different car. Lots of different cars on the grid for this one as well, Jimmy. What do we reckon? What are we going to expect?
Well, the thing is, we've just had this Nations Cup race where all these guys are going against each other for their nations, and now we're having nations being blended together for the Manufacturers Series. So you see these guys, Japanese guy there and Manu Rodri. Doesn't matter now, they're teammates.
Yeah, absolutely right. And it is time then to get ready to go racing here at the Salzburg place, the Red Bull Hangar 7 rather, in Salzburg in Austria. We'll get it out there eventually.
I like the Salzburg place better.
The Salzburg place. Well, this is how they line up on the grid then. You can see an absolute mixture of different machinery, and it's Toyota with Blajan and Yamanaka-san on the pole position. The second place is Law and Mangano for Italy in the Lamborghini. Row 2 headed by Rincon and Nakao. And alongside them is the Peugeot RTZ of Garnier and Grady, the Frenchman and the Briton teaming up for this one. Row 3 rather, is De Jesus and Itha Aguerawa. Then alongside them in the Porsche is Holland and Gonzaga. Mazda represented by La and Kevin Richley. Bit of a difficult day for both those drivers here so far. Lee and Glasso in the Corvette are in 8th position. 9th position on the grid is Neto and Thomas. And that is how they line up then. So, 7 laps of the reverse layout of the Lago Maggiore circuit. A very, very big challenge for these drivers, especially going down towards that very tight first corner. It'll be a rolling start then in these Group 3 machines, a 7-lap race, and don't forget the top 6 finishers will be going through into the final, taking place very, very shortly after this one. So let's see what will happen then. The countdown timer is on, and the first race of the Manufacturers' Cup is underway, and it's a great start for Toyota. Lamborghini soon following, and already breaking out an advantage over Mercedes-Benz. So down towards the first corner, it's Toyota still leading the way. Porsche also making some good ground as they come barreling down in towards that first corner. Everybody lining pretty much astern there. Toyota, Jimmy, holding on to their lead.
Didn't stop the Lambo driver from having a quick peek up the inside, though. I wouldn't blame him for doing that. Looks like Renault and Porsche swapping up positions a bit further back down the field. Now we're a bit of a unique challenge this on the reverse version of the Maggiore circuit. Of course, we're very much used to that roller coaster corner down at the hairpin, but now we're going to be doing it in reverse. We've got downhill here, not quite flat down here, I wouldn't think, because of the gravity assisting you, speeding you up, and now here it is, that great banked left-hander, I'll say now. Look at the elevation through there. Interesting, the line's a bit different. Here's a bit further back down the field. We've got the Peugeot with Mercedes-Benz just in front at the moment, of course.
Yeah, those guys really, really trying to find their way through, and it's going to be interesting to see how Peugeot do. Don't forget, of course, we saw the likes of Martin Grady, who will be the second driver in this car after the pit stops, trying to challenge, and we know how quick he was at the end of that Nations Cup final race in particular as well.
Garnier is actually his teammate. These are the guys that were fighting in the final, which shows you just how much this game is about community. You were fighting one guy 1 minute, and now you're his teammate.
Yeah, absolutely right there as well. And keep an eye out as well, not too far behind them, as Mazda Mazda getting the better of Porsche. We saw Adam Sassuolo, who's the reserve driver for Great Britain, earlier on this evening. He was saying that Porsche are probably going to win this, or he's got his bet on them, and you can see they're coming out of some very big competition from the likes of Chevrolet and Mazda in the mix there as well. Mazda and Chevrolet going side by side now. Mazda down the inside of Chevrolet into the left-hander. Will they find their way through? They run them right to the outside of the circuit. Very, very bit of forceful driving there on the opening lap out of 7, but the upshot is that it is Mazda now out in 6th position.
That Corvette seeming very fast and straight line. The Porsche dive to the inside. That was a little bit robust for my liking. Let's see what the stewards think, and the Chevy comes back on the inside. Big dab of opposite lock on the exit as he hits the throttle, lights up the rear tyres, ultimately gets a worse exit, but Porsche do move up into 7th position, but I've got a feeling we'll be hearing from the stewards about that one.
Yeah, certainly will do. That was probably avoidable contact, wasn't it? You can see Chevrolet in the Corvette already trying to find their way back past there as well. Very, very close racing. You can see, as Jimmy said, absolutely bob on there, Jimmy, as the incident is under investigation between Chevrolet and Porsche. But you can see Chevrolet now trying to find their way past Porsche once again in this first sector. Over the brow of the hill they come, down through this very, very quick part of the lap, and you can see the Hong Kong-based driver of Lee behind the wheel of that Corvette at the moment. He's already still trying to find his way through.
Not really much he can do at this point. A bit too far back to lunge, just needs to gain a bit of time. Going through that fantastic left-hand corner. Now it's up the hill. This is where engine power makes the difference. The Corvette pretty quick in a straight line. That rumbling V8 engine, very distinctive noise from that thing pretty much around the world. Look how much it pulls on that Porsche, right on the back now of a 7th place car.
Yeah, really using all of the track there as well is Lee. You can see him getting closer and closer. So this third sector is potentially a place where the Hong Kong driver behind the wheel of that Chevrolet Corvette is perhaps just a little bit stronger than the Porsche. Oh, what a big moment, and he's straight into the barrier. So just as I was talking about it, the commentator's curse has come out tonight then, and the Chevrolet straight to the scene of the accident.
Textbook mistake there. Just got onto the curb. We'll see a replay of it now. Watch his rear left tyre. Well, you won't see it from this point of view, but just runs onto the grass. Bam! There he goes, right to the right-hand side circuit, into the wall for good measure. And that's going to be his race, or their race now, pretty much over. We'll see. Saying that, though, Porsche in front of them awarded a 2-second penalty. Peugeot be inside of Mercedes. We just caught the end of that. The Peugeot car there just moves past the AMG coming through the final corner. So a great move there.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant racing between them. Yeah, absolutely fantastic, as you say there, Jimmy. Those guys still going very, very close out there on track, and you can see them. This is a replay as Peugeot go down the inside of Mercedes-Benz. Nice textbook bit of driving there from the Peugeot.
Nice and clean, unlike the Porsche earlier on. So that's how you do it.
Mazda in the pits there, Jimmy, as well. So they've already made their driver change, which I was going to say it's a bit early, but it is only a 7-lap race, this one there. So it's about, or just before half distance. And let's keep an eye out as well, because tyre wear is on times 11 here as well, so they're going to have to contend with some pretty old rubber at the end of this race.
Like we said before, there is no limit on driver times. That may be that the faster driver has gone, right, okay, let me get in the car, maybe we can gain a bit of time that way. Meanwhile, Renault Sport now actually putting on to the back of Mercedes. It looks like the AMG had a bad opening start of the lap, lost 1 place to the Pug on the last lap through the last corner, and now is under fire from the Renault, but the Renault not too quick in a straight line. As you can see here, driver looking very vocal. One of our Australian drivers travelled a long way to be here. It's great to see such a varied diversity of countries here at this event.
Absolutely, and speaking of diversity as well, one of the beauties of esports in general is that you get people from all different walks of life doing all different types of jobs and having different pastimes and all different ages as well. You can have drivers that are in their late teens, drivers in their early 20s, early 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s even to some extent as well, if you think you're fast enough. Perhaps you've got a bit of a hidden talent if you're sat there at home watching this and you think, I fancy getting a PlayStation 4 and Gran Turismo Sport. Well, there's never a better time like the present. Get out to your nearest store that sells one tomorrow, go and buy one and get yourself behind the wheel of a car. You never know, you might end up at one of these events.
Yeah, it turns out you're quick. You might be you commentator we'll be commentating on very soon.
The poor things.
Yeah, poor guys. We wouldn't wish that on anybody. Here we go. Then Toyota coming into the pit, so I'll lead it in. This is an important stop. And that'll be a driver change, of course, as well. Will Lamborghini follow suit? No, but Peugeot do. So, a couple of guys opting to stay out.
Nicao into the driving seat then of the Toyota. Peugeot also changing as well. That's Martin Grady, the Briton. He's now behind the wheel of that RCZ. We know how quick he can be. He said he doesn't really like this Peugeot, though, in terms of how it feels. Aston Martin at the back of the grid, also in the pit lane there as well. So a driver change going on, and Thomas, the British driver, into the hot seat.
So let's see what he can do. Meanwhile, at the front of the field, we have Renault and Mercedes still together. Lamborghini with a little bit of a gap now that we have Toyota pit in, but of course it will be Lamborghini's turn to pit very soon as well. And we'll have to see if they come out behind Toyota, coming out with a 2-second lead initially, but of course pit stops can mix that up.
Yeah, strategy really is going to play quite a big part in this one here. You can see this left-hander here, the hairpin, which normally is a very, very fast decelerating right-hander. It's a little bit slower in this reverse layout of the Lago Maggiore circuit that we are running. You can see Mercedes-Benz and Renault still very close on circuit. It's proving to be a bit of a battle of strategy for this one as well. Let's see who is going to lead the way. Don't forget, before the pit stops took place, it was Toyota who were out in front. We're now over the halfway stage in the race, so it's going to be interesting to see what tactics Mercedes, Renault and Lamborghini, the race leaders no less, employ in this race. And you can see how much Renault are closing right up on the back of the AMG GT3 as well.
There is Toyota in the background, very strong at the moment. Here comes Renault, big lunge up the inside though, isn't going to have the exit speed through there. Mercedes taking the wider line, which allowed a higher exit speed, meaning that Renault unfortunately left in the dust down the straight. Wow, that AMG's got some legs. Coming into this last sector now, which is usually the first sector on the usual version of the course. Very twisty through here, just gradually slowing the car down before you get to the hairpin. And this is where mechanical grip really comes into play. Let's see who's got the best of it.
Let's see who dives into the pit lane before too long there as well. It's going to be very interesting, this one. Still on lap 4 out of 7. Lamborghini still leading the way. They're into the pit lane then. So come Mercedes, so come Renault. So they're all following suit now as well. So the top 3 into the pits. Toyota take over the lead in the front. They are pretty much unchallenged so far as everybody now pitting. Porsche into the pits as well. Peugeot now take a de facto second place in this race with just 2 laps now remaining. So the undercolours worked absolutely beautifully there for Toyota. They have got a bigger lead than they had before the pit stop.
They gained about 2 seconds there, so a great piece of strategic thinking from the team at Toyota at the moment. And now it's just a matter of getting to the end in one piece, which is easier said than done. We've seen it already in the Nations Cup races. Anyone can make a mistake at any time. And of course now we'll just pop back to Mazda. This car doesn't actually exist in real life, but that's the great thing about the Group 3 stuff, or the Group 3 cars I should say, in Gran Turismo Sport, that the cars that wouldn't usually be made into Group 3 cars can be, and this is one of them, the Mazda Atenza.
It really is one of the beauties of esports and sim racing in general, really, is that the team at Polyphony Digital, the founders of Gran Turismo as well, have got the opportunity to put in cars that aren't in the real-life GT3 series, as you say there, Jimmy. So it does make it just that very, very much more exciting, because you've got machinery like this Mazda that you wouldn't perhaps see on the circuit in real life. This Renault Sport machine, though, meanwhile, still in 5th position. You can see there the Spaniard behind the wheel, trying to eke out a bit more of an advantage there inside the top 5 at the moment. So this could be pretty interesting to see how it goes.
What is interesting to see is the different driving styles we've seen so far. You see how much the Spaniard, I can't quite make out his name, is actually working the wheel at the moment. He's really putting a lot of input in. There are some drivers who drive with their fingertips, but he's wrestling the thing. He'll be sweaty after this race.
Yeah, it certainly will do, with those gloves and boots on as well that they're wearing. It's
very nifty.
Yeah, very nifty. Not easy going, though, when temperatures such as we have here in the Red Bull Hangar 7.
They wouldn't give me a pair, by the way.
No, they wouldn't give me one either. I'm not quick enough. So, meanwhile, you're sponsored, don't worry about it. Team Peugeot still in 4th position. Martin Grady, and an absolutely brilliant job. He's really close up onto the back of the Mercedes and the Lamborghini as well. Nice low heart rate there as well. So he's not finding himself under too much stress or too much pressure at the moment.
Good exit.
Yeah, absolutely. Coming out of that final corner, is the slipstream going to be very effective? It's not so effective in these Group 3 cars, and you can see that as well. He's not being able to draw alongside him down towards that first corner. They're nearly going side by side. Into the first turn we go, trying to find a bit of a move, but no way through there for the Briton at the moment.
I don't think that was actually a proper attempt at a move, but I think that was more just a fake out, saying, look, I'm here. Maybe try, maybe go wide. It almost worked. The Merc went a little bit wide there. But what this sort of mini squabbling is allowing to do, I think the Merc is now the cork in the bottle at this point. It's now we're seeing 5th and 6th close up on the back of this battle. So now we're going to have a three-way fight for 3rd place. It's all coming together again at the end of the race.
Yeah, absolutely right there, as you say, Jimmy, as well. Meanwhile, Chevrolet and Aston Martin were exchanging positions. We can see that Aston Martin now down there in 8th place.
I just saw, it wasn't on our camera, but Renault have just gone up the inside of the Peugeot. It was anyway down to the last corner, but the Peugeot is now pulling back alongside. There it is on your screen. In the meanwhile, Mazda in the background as well with a good run. Bit of a brick compared to the other cars, but it's very fast in a straight line, it seems, through these very fast, very tricky S's. The Renault right on the back of the Peugeot right now. Not really anywhere to go, a bit of a single line corner, but the corner we're coming up to very shortly, this long double A, or the one single apex, Mercedes!
Mercedes off! That's going to compromise their exit and their run through there, surely, but they don't manage to... Oh, they do nearly, because Peugeot and Martin Grady is trying to find his way through, but somehow, miraculously, despite that moment, Mercedes managing to hold on to that position, and instead of it being a three-way scrap, it's now a four-way scrap for the podium.
I have no idea how the Mercedes driver kept that. I would have lost that.
Or Renault, really, and Peugeot even rather, looking very, very racy indeed. We're going to come onto the final lap. Look at Mazda as well, muscling their way through. Renault down the inside of Peugeot into the final turn. Really, really close racing. Sorry, not into the final turn.
3 wide.
Wow, very close indeed.
Peugeot contact with the AMG, pushes him wide. Mazda through into 4th position now, not quite enough to get back into 3rd. Renault Sport now right on the inside of the Mazda. Here we go, onto the last lap. These races always tend to do this, a bit slow at the start, and now really ramping up.
And you can see the pressure really is on as well as we come down the start-finish straight into the first corner. The Renault on the inside, the Peugeot going for the outside line. Mazda on the outside of Renault. Are they going to find their way through all the way around the outside? Contact between them onto the grass almost slightly, and Mazda hold on to that position, but there's an incident involving them, and it's under investigation by Race Direction.
I have to wonder about that. I think that Martin was a little bit too punchy there. I think he might get a penalty, but we'll save that until we know the information. Mazda, though, the net winner here, up into 4th position.
Don't forget as well, somebody here might be in course to lose out if they have a bit of a moment, because it's only the top 6 from this race that are going through in terms of the manufacturers. And look at Renault darting to the outside of Mazda into the right-handed hairpin. Are they going to get a good exit? Mazda go to the outside. They go onto the curb as well. Will that compromise their run as they come over the hill and come down in towards the left-hander? We ride on board with the Renault that's attacking. Mazda go defensive, darting before the braking zone, sweeping it into the left-hander, then into the right, which follows. And Mazda looking very squirrely there as well. Very, very close indeed between them, but they're just managing to hold on to that position for the moment.
I thought you overdid it a bit there. The exit speed is compromised. It definitely is. The Renault car now right on the back of that Mazda. Massive rear wing on the back of that thing. You can almost reach out and touch it. Into the inside goes the Renault driver, but the front tyres just give up. The grip isn't there. He can't keep the move done, and Mazda is safe for one more straight.
Well, this is very, very close.
Oh, penalty for the Mazda!
Whoa! Big drama then. So a 3-second penalty for the Mazda will put them just inside the top 6. Very, very big drama on the final lap. No such worries for the Toyota. Absolutely brilliant stuff. And Nakao driving the Toyota comes out of the final corner to take the checkered flag and take the victory in semi-final A for the Manufacturers' Cup. Lamborghini will come home in 2nd position. Brilliant race for the Italian manufacturer. And Peugeot will come over the line in 3rd place, but that's subject to anything from Race Direction. And look at 4th place, nearly side by side between Renault and Mazda. Renault getting, of course, Mazda having that 3-second penalty. Well, big drama, and Mazda then, just by the skin of their teeth, make it through into the final.
Yeah, that was very lucky. They didn't get a bigger penalty for that. You know, when we cut there to the Japanese driver, 10 seconds he finished ahead of the Lamborghini. You saw that saying, yep, I know what I just did.
Yeah, absolutely right. He looked calm, control, and comfortable throughout the course of that one. And that Toyota Vision Gran Turismo machine, the FT1, not a car that you will find in real life, but a car, again, due to the beauty of Gran Turismo, that you will find on GT Sport. Proves exactly, really, why that you can have such close racing over the course of that one.
Definitely not a Supra, that one.
No, definitely not. No,
definitely
we won't have that set.
We won't have that, no. But we've seen, again, penalties coming into play, and you saw the 3 seconds on the line there. Just shows you how careful you have to be around here. You can't be lunging at people in corners, because if you do, there's a chance you're going to hit them. And, of course, the stewards, eagle-eyed as they are,
well, let's have a look at some replays then there, Jimmy, and see what happened. This was Chevrolet's undoing in the early part of the race, straight to the scene of the accident, the inside barrier, as they were battling with Porsche. Look at the moment there, and you can see him just looking on there. That was Kai Lee.
Nice support there shown by his teammate. Came in, patted his shoulders, said, don't worry, keep going, don't worry about it. That's nice to see.
Good stuff. And you can see Mazda and Renault here. This was in the latter stages of the race, an absolute all-out battle. Mercedes getting it very squirrely indeed. Renault behind, Mazda in front, and look at Nakao there as well. Big moment that Nakao had. Absolutely fantastic bit of driving as we ride on board with the Renault. This was him trying to attack the Mazda. Very close racing it was indeed on this final lap, trying to find their way through up the inside. But as you said, Jimmy, the front tyres crying no more, no grip for them.
Absolutely none. Very easy to do that around here. Followed the Mazda up, but then we saw he got a penalty. and that was their race done. They would end up finishing home in 6th position, but it was Toyota who took the win. A dominant performance from them, absolutely. I mean, that's the best way to start off the manufacturers.
Yeah, 10-second victory certainly is nothing to be sniffed up at. Absolutely fantastic race. So let's have a look at the standings then following race 1. Toyota finished on top ahead of Lamborghini and Peugeot. Renault, Mercedes, Mazda very close at the finish, but they were in 4th, 5th and 6th. Chevrolet, Aston Martin and Porsche, who Adam Sassuolo said were the favourites going into this one, down in 9th position at the end of the checkered flag.
Well, we aren't going to be listening to Adam anymore, I think. No more mic time for Adam if anyone's listening. I think he doesn't know what he's talking about, bless him. No, but just go to show that any team can be competitive. We're going to have some more Group 3 races coming up very shortly. Of course, more drivers taking part as well, with more manufacturers, which is the important thing.
Absolutely.
We haven't yet seen the strongest come.
No, exactly not. We've got so many more drivers, so much more talent, so many more cars coming along the way. And let's not forget, of course, we've got the top 6 from that one going through. As we said, Mazda just making their way through by the skin of their teeth. Now, we've got another 6 that are going to go through from semi-final B. So we'll have a 12-car manufacturer final coming up very, very shortly. In the meantime, let's go over and talk to our winners from the semi-final A.
So, yes, we have our winners here from Toyota, Yamanaka and Blazjan. And how did you find that race?
It was a really good race for us because my teammate was very consistent, so I think he won the race for us.
Oh, you won the race, I see. Okay. And how is it, obviously, with the manufacturer series, you're playing with someone who, you know, in the Nations Cup you were racing against. You're not friends before, but you're friends now. How is that?
こうやってメーカーシリーズで前回のレースで敵同士だったドライバーと一緒に友達になってレースするというのはどういう感じですか？
そうですね。彼本当に速くてで、かつコンスタントにラップをまとめてて、バトルした時にはすごいやっぱり信頼できる方だなと思ってて、もう本当に心強いです。はい。
Yeah, I think you know, when I was racing against him, you know, he was really marking this constant lap times, and you know, that in turn, you know, when he's on my team, was a very you know, I guess a drive that I could really trust, you know, while I'm racing with him.
Oh, well, big congratulations. So you're going through to the final. Good luck in the final. We're going to take a look at our next track in Sainte-Croix.
So I'm here with Andrew McCabe. He's part of the USA team to talk about Sainte-Croix, the raceway that is fictional but around a real lake in France. Andrew, let's talk about you first of all. How long have you been playing Gran Turismo?
I've been playing Gran Turismo since I was 6 years old in 2001. I started playing competitively in 2012 and I haven't stopped from there.
So you're a big fan of Jeff Gordon and NASCAR and that kind of thing, but the Sainte-Croix track, very different to a NASCAR oval, I guess.
Yeah.
What's the track like?
It's a very wide track. There's a lot of fast flowing turns, some long straights in there. There's a really cool bridge that you go across. It's one of my favorite parts of the track. The S-turns leading up to the bridge.
Do you think there are good overtaking opportunities?
There are some good overtaking opportunities. Like there's the tight turn after the long straight. The final corner, if you can get alongside, that's a good opportunity. First turn as well. It's a wide track. It's a track that I do look forward to racing on.
Have you raced there before competitively?
I've done one official FIA race there and I managed to win.
Okay, so you know it pretty well?
Yeah.
So if you end up in that race, you'll be quite happy?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Cool. Well, thank you very much for talking us through it. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Well, that is the Sainte-Croix circuit. Here's a look at it around the, again, a real lake down in Provence in France. Have you been to Provence?
I have not. This makes me seem like I've never been anywhere. I just haven't been to places where there are racetracks.
But these are fictional racetracks.
Well, fictional racetracks and real racetracks.
Okay, well, after this, we'll go to Provence, then we'll go to the lakes.
Is it? Is this what's happening afterwards? Is it like a coach leaving? Because I would be down for that, right?
Anyway, 6 laps, racing hard compound of tyre, 13 times tyre wear, and as we were saying, it's a really cool track actually because there's a massive suspension bridge in the middle of the circuit, which makes it look really cool.
It is.
Have you been over a suspension bridge in your life?
I literally hate this person right now. He's so annoying.
Okay, so here's a look at the race 1 ranking.
Okay.
Toyota dominating, really, and it's the top 6 that go through. So that means Chevrolet, Aston Martin and Porsche are all eliminated.
They are all out. And honestly, it's just, I love the fact that you're going from competing against each other to then obviously, you know, racing side by side. And it just seems to like the whole kind of, you know, Gran Turismo community just seems to be like super cool. As in, like, you just sort of hang out, you're racing against each other, then you're best buds in the next championship.
That's what's cool. That is really cool.
Right.
Yeah, I can't disagree. And because you do get the bits of rivalry here and there, but I've been impressed how little sort of, not coming to blows, because that's a bit strong, but there haven't really been many, you know, oh, you did this to me, you did that to me, which has been good. The racing in general has been clean.
Sportsmanship. Good sportsmanship, and that's really, really nice to see.
Jimmy Broadbent and Tom Brooks.
He's learnt the names.
There we go.
Well done.
Should we go to them?
Well,
or should we just say their names?
Just say their names out loud.
Here we go. Tom Brooks and Jimmy Broadbent.
We're just overselling it now.
What bit of paper did you look that up on there, Jack? Thank you very much indeed.
Someone's given them a slip.
Yeah, they have, haven't they? Certainly so. Well, it's time then for semi-final B for the Manufacturers Series, and this is going to be absolutely fantastic. So we've already got the first 6 manufacturers who have made their way through. Now we've got another 9 on track, and 3 of them won't be making their way through into this into the final that's taking place after this one at the St. Croix circuit. So let's see how these drivers are going to fare. You can see everybody lined up and ready to go. It's going to be interesting, this one as well there, Jimmy. Of course, Group 3 cars, as we had with semi-final A, 4 times fuel consumption, 13 times tyre wear as well. So, again, it's a bit of a difficult circuit, this one as well, because it's part street circuit and part real racetrack as well. And, well, I say real racetrack, but real, you know, with bits and bobs on it.
It is indeed another nice shot there of Salzburg. A reminder of where we are, just outside of there in the Hangar 7, which is a very nice large greenhouse, especially when it's warm.
Certainly is. So this is the grid then for semi-final B at St. Croix. Let's see how the drivers will fare, and let's see which manufacturers, crucially, will be making it through to the final. Nissan with Hizal and McCabe, rather, I should say, in their machine. Alongside them is Leonhardt and Miyazono, who was so quick in that Nations Cup races earlier on. Corazza and Tapai on the second row of the group, the BMW, then Klasic and Santiago in the Dodge. They'll have a bit of a difficult time in that machine. Wong and Nikotra in the Lexus on row number 3. They're alongside with Gorniach and Pierre Lenoir as well, very handy behind the wheel of that Volkswagen. Then we've got Barda and Castro on row number 4. Alongside them is McLaren with Nussbaumer and Healy. And then the 9th and final car on the grid is Barker and Marin. So let's see how the drivers will fare.
Just worth noting that some of those animations are a bit mixed up there. I think the guy behind the scenes has been working a little bit too long today, bless him. We'll give him a pat on the head for that. But anyway, here we are then. Second semi-final race of the evening of the manufacturers. Nissan's going to lead us away in the Turbo Brick, as we've called it on our regional streams.
Yep, a 6-lap race then, so let's see how they will go as they come over the timing line. The countdown timer is on. Semi-final B for the Manufacturers' Cup is underway, and Nissan predictably, of course, lead the way, but immediately you can see Honda, Volkswagen as well, and BMW all trying to dart into the slipstream of the respective cars that are in front of them. Find the braking point down towards the first corner there, lads, because it's going to be very tricky if you can't slow the car down. Thankfully, everybody manages to be able to do so, and the upshot is Nissan, Honda and BMW still hold position.
Nice and easy through here on the first lap, of course. Nissan very quick in a straight line, not so quick in the corners usually, so we'll see how that pans out. In the background, Dodge there, you can hear that rumbling V10 engine as we now peel off to the right hand. This is where the other variation of the circuit comes over to the right. You go to the left on the other version. Honda right on the back of the Nissan driver, and lots to look at around Gevo Drive. You can be very nice and focused on the racetrack and not on the beautiful scenery that lies around. Here's one of the memorable bits here, the suspension bridge that Julia's ever been on.
Yeah, absolutely right. So over the suspension bridge these drivers go, probably not for their first time either, and down towards the very tricky and tight, crucially, left-hander, which follows it. This could be a very good overtaking opportunity, actually, in the latter stages of this race. And look at how close they get to the barrier on the outside of that corner. They haven't got long to accelerate either, because they come then into a very, very slow right-hand corner. They're carrying a lot of speed into there, but they're having to scrub it off going through that turn in particular there as well. And then they go over towards the right-hand side of the track as they try to use the slipstream from the cars in front. There's another right-hander which follows, a bit of a right-hand kink here. You can see them feathering the throttle through there as they flick it right. And you can see the Dodge Viper trying to get onto the back of that BMW machine. No way through for them there at the moment. Again, similar to what we saw in semi-final A here, Jimmy. Bit of a slower start for these guys, but there will be action aplenty, especially after those first pit stops.
We saw the strength right there, Tom, of the Viper there, pulling into the back of the BMW in front. They got that wrong. There's a change in position a bit further down. Jaguar and Volkswagen changing around.
Volkswagen and McLaren actually changing position for seventh position. So that's very, very good to see. So Volkswagen making their way up the order. They've got a bit of a interesting driver lineup as well, and we've seen some of a bit of wide there as well as we ride on board with the Dodge, just missing that apex by a country mile at that final corner. Over the timing line we come then to complete the first lap out of 6, and you can see Honda and BMW nearly going side by side down the start-finish straight. Honda taking the defensive line down in towards turn 1. BMW forced to try and go the long way around, but there's no opportunity for them to use it. Will they get a better exit out of that corner though and be able to mount something into the next couple?
We'll have to wait and see. Not really many overtaking spots coming up right here, right now. You know, vastly faster car. Saying that, the BMW has listened to me and gone, you know what, Jimmy, you're wrong. I'm going up the inside of the Honda, but now he's on the outside for this long right-hander. Honda's going to take their position back and try and save my dignity, does he? In the background of the Dodge, look at the overspeed. He goes to the inside of both of them, does he? No, he doesn't. Not quite. I think he thought better of that. I would have thought better of that, but just the Dodge showing that it is very much a competitor in this scrap for second.
Nearly going 3 wide on some parts of the track there. Over the suspension bridge they come, then down into that very, very difficult left-hander. Will the slipstream prove to be effective for BMW? They're in it now. They're going to dart towards the inside into the left-hander. Will they outbrake the Honda? They're going to try to. They're going to try and find their way up the inside. They're running very close indeed, and into the wall goes the Honda on corner exit there as well. BMW with a bit of snap oversteer on the exit of that turn as well to boot, but the upshot is that BMW now lead ahead of Honda for second position.
Just gave the Honda enough room. He was so close to Barrett, there were sparks. There is actually a incident there being investigated. In my mind, that was a fair pass, but we'll see what they say. In the background, 2x2 behind the Dodge, the Lexus and the Jaguar. We haven't got a camera on that right now, but there has been a change of position. Jaguar has got past the Lexus, but meanwhile, second and third still scrapping. The Honda not quite away from the BMW yet. A bit upset, I'm sure, that he's lost a position. But in the meanwhile, the Nissan is absolutely driving away at the front of the field. Where have we seen this before?
Yeah, absolutely right, as you say there, Jimmy. So let's see what will happen, whether these two will be able to close up or whether the pit stops will come into the 4 as well. Let's not forget, of course, these drivers do have to pit. They have to change over drivers, so they have to put their second drivers in the car, which could definitely change the dynamics of this race. And as we crucially saw in race 1, the strategy will be very, very interesting. This is the start then of their 3rd lap. So let's see whether they will pit at the end of this one. It's half race distance now. Volkswagen in the pits then. So at the end of lap number 2. So either they're not confident with their driver or the tyres are wearing out like a piece of chewing gum on the bottom of that machine.
I think that would be Lenoir getting into the car for Volkswagen, if I'm not very much mistaken, and I usually am, as a commentator once said.
Oh, I don't want to put it past you, but as you say.
Here we are now, Team Honda. Great to see the driver's perspective here. You get an idea of how stressful this can be, or how calm this can be. There are some drivers who will just take it in their stride. You see, he checks the mirror a couple of times, then focuses on the corner in front. The thing is, that Dodge has such straight line speed that any chance there's any whiff of a straight, the Dodge is right back there. Now, unfortunately for the BMW, we're coming on to a rather long one across the bridge. Once more, McLaren in the background.
Yeah, very, very big moment there for McLaren in 7th position. So, and Audi getting very squirrely on corner exit as well to boot. So that is a big, big shame there for the McLaren. They're going to have to pull out all the stops. Let's see if we can piece together what happened. Going through the right-hander, did the rear end just break away? Was there contact?
Yeah.
Yes, there was between the Lexus and the McLaren, and the Lexus all at fault there. I dare say there will be a penalty coming along very, very soon indeed. Oh, look at this as well. Wow, very close indeed between the McLaren and the Audi. There was contact between the two of them there coming out of the left-hander. They run side by side through the right-hander. Audi trying to go the long way around. They're going to hold on. Are they going to run out of the track? They go into the right-hander kick, which follows. McLaren will have the inside line for this one. They're still running side by side. This is brilliant racing between them. They're battling for glory. They're not battling for a place in the final at the moment. And McLaren manages to try. Oh, no, they don't, because Audi gets back ahead. They're still side by side. This is is brilliant. And into the next right-hander, McLaren up the inside finally, and they're ahead.
There you go. Unfortunately for them, it doesn't really mean anything at this point, unless it's a dropout in front. Of course, Lexus may get a penalty, but they have got quite a big gap at the moment. Someone who isn't really worrying about their time right now is Nissan, and in come our leaders to the pit, a bit late on the pit entry there, actually.
Bit of a last-minute call, maybe.
Yeah.
Honda into the pits. BMW soon following as well. So the top three all now opting for the same strategy. Dodge also in the pit lane. Nissan in the pit lane. Jaguar take over the lead at the front of this race. So different strategy then from the British manufacturer. Out of the pit lane, nice and easy driver change there for Nissan. They've got their second drivers now in the car, crucially, and they've got a 2-lap sprint to the finish.
Yeah, lightning over to McCabe there. I keep calling him lightning, I like to call him Hazel, really. This is what happens when you're used to usernames. It gets a little bit mixed up in your mind. But right now, look at this battle for third place. That Dodge is all over the back of the NSX. Almost can get into the diffuser if he tried hard enough. There is a penalty there for the Lexus. 3 seconds. So we'll see how that affects things when we get towards when the pit stops are all said and done, of course. But that might be the difference between them qualifying and them not qualifying for the manufacturer's final.
Let's see what happens with regards to that. They're in 7th place at the moment, are Lexus, but they're 3.6 seconds crucially ahead of Audi as well. Not Audi that it wasn't Audi that they biffed off, it was the McLaren that they biffed off earlier on. Meanwhile, look at Dodge and Honda. Now they've got some fresh rubber, and look at Nissan already. Don't forget Jaguar, they haven't pitted. They're on old rubber, and Nissan, now they've got their tyres up to temperature, are trying to take the lead away. This is absolutely emphatic driving there from Nissan, and out of the left-hander you can see a warning for BMW as well for ignoring the pit lane line. So if they do that again, or if they disobey or make another mistake on this track, perhaps running a bit wide at some kind of penalty area, for example, they will receive a penalty, and it might even be a bit harsher than they would have received otherwise. Nissan, though,
the Jaguar actually defending. I wouldn't think it would do that around here, considering it is owing a pit stop, but just showing that he isn't willing to give this up easily.
Well, this could be crucial as well, let's not forget, because of course if he's holding up Nissan, the Jaguar driver, then it could prove to be very, very instrumental in how this race turns out for the likes of Dodge and Honda that are quite close behind.
Attempting the cutback there, but they didn't quite work. These guys are just slowing each other up right now doing this. The Jaguar will likely be in this lap, so just trying to maybe close the gap from the lead car to the rest. And of course, even so, you might force the other driver into the mistake, and if the mistake is big enough, that might actually come back to help you out when you come round to qualifying. So Nissan goes to the outside again to try once more. I think we'll see the Jaguar peel in there, and the Nissan will be released. McCabe driving that right now. Jaguar into the pit lane. Wow, that was a little bit naughty on the pit line.
Yeah, it certainly was. Very late call there for Jaguar as they change over drivers then. The American gets into the car. Let's see how they will fare. They're going to drop right down, but they might just be, no, they're not going to be the last classified. Oh, they are going to be the last, no, they're going to be in 4th position rather, sorry, getting a bit confused as they all come out of the pit lane, but Jaguar filter out into 4th position. The gap then between Nissan and Dodge on the penultimate lap here, Jimmy, 2.1 seconds between them.
Now that's come down, that's about just under 4 seconds when the pit stop happened. In the background there, the very fashionable looking VW going up the inside of the NSX.
Hang on, what's happened to Honda here? Because they're down in 6th position.
Volkswagen hasn't pitted yet at the moment. Looks like a bad stop for the Honda. Yeah, you're right, because Jaguar has jumped them with their pit stop.
So they must have had some kind of an incident that we haven't seen on track, because they were fighting up inside the top 5 now. If they stay on as they are, and indeed by that I mean they get ahead of Volkswagen, because they've still got to make their pit stop, let's not forget, they will still make it through into that semi-final, but it will be pretty interesting to see who ends up, because of course it goes in grid order for the final, so it depends on who is the faster out of the drivers as to whether we have grid A, Group A, Group B, Group A, Group B, or Group B, Group A, Group B, Group A as the grid formation for the final.
And we'll get into that when we know ourselves, but right now it's Jaguar, Volkswagen and Honda in your picture at the moment, coming down for this long sweeping right-hander. Got to be patient out of it. The thing is, you can't get the throttle early because there's no curb, there's only a barrier there, and those are not as forgiving as curbs are, I hear. Here comes the Honda then, in the slipstream of the Volkswagen. Got the drop top down, getting the wind in his hair as he takes himself round the French Lakes. Not a bad way to do things, is it?
Wind in the hair or the flies in the helmet. Depends on which way you look at it, doesn't it, really? Still, the Volkswagen doing an absolutely brilliant job. That either means that they've got a good amount of pace, but the Honda sails it down the inside into the right-hander. Testament to the amount of grip they've got with the new boots underneath that NSX.
Easy peasy there, bit textbook. Now the Honda will try and chase down the Jaguar and try and gain back some of that time they've obviously lost at some point over the course of this race. It's not looking good for Volkswagen. They're yet to pit, and they are in 6th position. So right now, Lexus looks like they're going to be the last qualifier.
Yeah, Lenoir looks like he could be out of this manufacturer's final. That's a big disappointment there for the fast-flying Frenchman. He's doing everything he is trying to. And is he going to come into the pit lane? No, he isn't. onto the final lap. And according to our screens here there, Jimmy, they haven't pitted yet. They haven't made that driver change.
I'm just checking to see if he has come in. I didn't see him come in.
No, so I didn't either. And according to our graphic, you can see on the tower graphic on the left-hand side of your screen, the only one that hasn't made a pit stop, indicated under the P, does mean that they are the only team that have not pitted according to what we see here. Meanwhile, McLaren and Audi still going door to door as they try to fight amongst one another. This isn't, of course, for a final position, but it is a great battle going on nonetheless, and they haven't been separated before the pit stops, and now after the pit stops they're still fairly closely met.
Problem is, at this point you're squabbling. You guys are not qualifying, so if you can't catch the guys in front, it's not going to work out. You have to really push. Okay, so we're just being told by our director that Volkswagen has actually pitted. So that's just a little bit of a bug on our UI then. So actually, this is looking good for Volkswagen, but now they're going to have to defend from Lexus, who are actually on a bit of a charge at the moment.
Well, this is going to be very, very interesting indeed. Let's see what will happen over this bridge. It's, of course, still for position. Still would be good for them to try and get honours, and they still go side by side almost as well. That McLaren's got some great legs, though, on that straight.
It has, but still at the moment. Oh, wow, the Audi getting a little bit too close to the barrier there and leaving some paint behind. It's a bit of a souvenir for the French hosts of the race around here. But now we're coming on to our final lap for our leaders. So Nissan leads Dodge, leads BMW, leads Jaguar. So at the moment, your top 6 manufacturers, of course, we have Honda in 5th and Volkswagen in 6th. They are all going through to the final. At this point, Lexus, McLaren and Audi are not.
An absolutely brilliant performance it's been from Nissan over the course of this race. Very much like we saw in the first one with Toyota. It has been an absolutely masterful performance from them. They've had no competition from behind. Even in the pit stops, they've been able to increase their advantage well. They've looked calm, confident, comfortable, and everything else in between. And into the final corner we go with Nissan. An absolutely brilliant drive from McCabe. The American driver comes over the line to take victory for Nissan in the manufacturer's semi-final B. They make it through as the winners ahead of Dodge and BMW on the podium. Jaguar in 4th place, Honda in 5th position, and then Volkswagen will be the last of the manufacturers that makes it through into semi-final B.
The Nissan team very happy to get through there. I think that McCabe has not had a great session so far. I think he's very happy to sort of redeem himself there and put on a very good performance in the Nissan there. So Nissan wins race 2. And now we'll be preparing for the finals. At this point, it is anyone's game, Tom.
Yeah, it certainly is. We still don't know the grid order for the grand final as well. And that's going to be very interesting, taking place at the Red Bull Ring, our second visit to there this evening. No disputing Nissan, though. They take victory in the Nissan GT-R. An absolutely brilliant performance behind the wheel of that Group 3 machine. A fantastic race for all involved. Lots and lots of action, lots of drama taking place over the course of that one. Some great battles further back down the order as well. Perhaps not quite the thriller we had at the end of semi-final A, but still very interesting in a lot of different ways.
I found we saw a little bit more pushing and shoving in this race. Not really what we want to see, and of course drivers are penalised for that. But I think it comes with competitive series as well. So I think we've got some replays coming up in just a tick, so we'll go over those in a second. Here they are.
See what happens. This is lap number 2, and this is between Honda and BMW for second.
Our first example of a little bit of naughty driving, I think. BMW came in a little bit hot there. There was no penalty awarded, but the Honda did get muffled out. I think maybe the BMW could have given a little bit more room, but that's racing.
Slightly forceful, wasn't it? But regardless, they didn't lose too much time following that one. You can see a bit of a shake of the head for one of the drivers here. This was Lexus versus McLaren in the early stage. That was very forceful. That was very naughty for Lexus. And unsurprisingly, they received a penalty following that one.
See there the frustration on the Australian driver's face, and here was the Nissan trying to get past the Jaguar, who hadn't pitted at this point and was being held up. It didn't actually affect the result in the end, but it goes to show the racing spirit is there regardless of whether you're actually in the race after the pit stop or not.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant stuff. A masterful performance then from Nissan. A dominant win by them for 3.1 seconds. They were ahead of Dodge. BMW also on the rostrum there as well. Congratulations all round. You can see how much it means to both drivers as well. That's Adam McCabe there. Fantastic result for them. Let's have a look at the standings then. So race 2's final ranking, you can see Nissan finishing ahead of Dodge, ahead of BMW. Then we've got Jaguar, who are in 4th position, then Honda ahead of Volkswagen, the last of the manufacturers to make it through. Lexus, McLaren and Audi all missing the cut after semi-final B.
So I wasn't aware of the name change for Jaguar, but now we're going to head back to Jack and Julia.
Hello and welcome back to our GT desk, where it's been pretty non-stop.
It's a great desk as well.
It's also, I have to wear heels behind this, otherwise I'd be like this big. It'd be super weird. I'm so excited to go into this final, but we just want to check and see what you guys are thinking at home. So we've got a little bit of social content to share with you, because, you know, everyone likes being on the internet and whatnot, you know. Don't they? I think they do. So, the Gran Turismo Thrustmaster best sim rig I've ever seen. Lol.
Lol. Yeah.
Lol.
It is a cool little setup that these guys have, and that's something that all the drivers have to get a little bit used to, because they have different setups at home. Sminen says genuinely entertaining racing.
Good. Well, you don't sound so surprised. It's very entertaining, always.
It has been good, and it has been non-stop as well. We haven't had a single dull race. Okay, that first semi-final A was dominated a bit by Toyota, but they're going to have their work cut out for them in the next race, I think.
No, absolutely. So, okay, obviously this is the Manufacturers Series. We've had our 2 semi-finals now, and we are about to start the grand final to find out who's going to win this championship. Everything still to play for. Yeah, still got some incredible racing ahead of us. I want to know who's going to win.
Well, we'll find out. Hang
know
around.
We're going to know.
But before we get into the final race, we're just going to have a little chat. You've seen our commentators, Tom and Jimmy, but doing the I had to think about it then. But doing the Spanish commentary is a man called Lucas Ordóñez, and I've had the pleasure of commentating a lot on him in real life. He's a professional racing driver, but he was the first winner of the GT Academy back in 2009. But this year he's been racing in the Spa 24 Hours, in the Blancpain Endurance Series for the Nissan team. So, Lucas, this must bring back a lot of memories for you.
Yes, for sure. It's great to be here. Great to be with all these amazing drivers. Brings me great memories 10 years ago. Winning the GT Academy, becoming a real racing driver from Gran Turismo. So to see the level of competition, this show here in Salzburg is just amazing.
And so the game has obviously changed a lot in those 10 years, but how big a change was it going from the sim racing to the real car?
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's quite a big step, but obviously it's great, no? In simulator, in Gran Turismo, the physics and the graphics and the realism is every time better and better. Back in 2008, we were driving with Gran Turismo 5 Prologue. We only had the chance to drive in a time trial, so we could not race against others. And now, you know, watching these guys racing each other in this quality, and myself racing in real cars all around the world is a dream come true, and I hope you enjoy it at home.
Well, I suppose one of the other things is what people don't really understand is it's all very well, you know, racing at home and, you know, doing really, really well online, but it's something else to actually, you know, there's a live stream going on, there's all your competitors sitting next to you, and you're on a stage and everyone's watching you. How do you handle that pressure? Because it's a lot. Is it worse than real driving?
Yeah, well, it's a big challenge for them, no? You have to watch them. They are competing at home in the room, in a closed room, and when they come here, they have cameras, they have interviews, they have all of you guys putting the cameras in front of their face and having to deal with a teammate, with Kazunori Yamauchi here, which is you know, the creator of Gran Turismo. It's a lot of pressure, a lot of nerves, but it's also fantastic for them, and hopefully it's a good training for them for the FIA Gran Turismo Championship Finals in Madrid.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Lucas. Thanks for taking the time. You can go back to your Spanish commentary now. But great to have Lucas here as part of the team. I couldn't actually believe it. When I turned up the other day, I was like, oh, Lucas Ordóñez is
I
here.
know you.
Yeah.
You do real racing. So we are about to head into our final of today of the Manufacturer Series. And this one is going to be on the Red Bull Ring. So why don't we take a quick look at how that's going to play out?
Yep, we've already seen the Red Bull Ring once today, and here's a look at it once more. Last time it was the Red Bull X 2014 that we saw them racing in, all in the same car, but as it's the manufacturer series, they're all going to be still in their GT3 specification, GR3 class in the game cars. So once again, turn 1, a really good overtaking opportunity, same at turn 3, but we even saw some action through turns 6 and 7. I think it was Great Britain trying to go around the outside at those double left-handers. So pretty much overtaking opportunities everywhere around the circuit. Have you ever been to Austria?
I have. Well, I'm here now.
There
so
we go.
You know
So finally,
finally. Stop making it sound like I don't leave my house. Because I do. No, I'm so excited for this. I think like the room is actually completely buzzing for everyone to finally see how this is going to turn out. And obviously, you know, people who didn't do so well in the Nations Cup, it's a chance for them to kind of redeem themselves and show off what they can do on this global stage.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's all Japanese front row. Toyota versus Nissan are going to be fighting it out. It's the Manufacturers Series. And for one final time this evening, let's hand over to the excellent Tom Brooks and Jimmy Broadbent.
Oh. Thank you very much indeed there, the excellent Jack and Julia.
I'm just glad they got our names right this time.
Yeah, absolutely
Very
right.
happy with that.
Yeah, I know, Bob. Anyway, back to the action then for the Manufacturers final. This is going to be very, very exciting, this one. Lots of action to come then. As Jack said, an all-Japanese front row here as well. Toyota versus Nissan at the Red Bull Ring. That first corner is very tight. This is how the final ranking looks. So it will be Toyota heading Nissan on the first row of the grid. Then we'll have Lamborghini and Dodge on row 2, Peugeot and BMW on row 3, Renault and Jaguar row 4, Mercedes and Honda row 5, Mazda and Volkswagen on row number 6.
Let's talk about some strengths we've seen. We've seen that the Nissan is fast in a straight line here, and what does Red Bull Ring have in abundance? Straight lines. So we saw in the last race, Slipstream is going to come into play as well. Of course, not quite as heavily as in the X2014s, but I still have faith that it's going to be a very close and very fun race to watch.
Yeah, absolutely right, as you say there, Jimmy. All these drivers now limbering up. Of course, they've been in the seat for quite a good amount of time tonight, so they've gotten a lot of practice, and some of them have had a bit of practice around this Red Bull Ring as well here this evening. They raced the X2014 machines in the Nations Cup final that we had earlier on this evening, and how enthralling that was. If you missed it, then go back and watch it, because I tell you what, you do not want to miss it. It was absolutely brilliant, and the pressure really is on here, so let's see what's going to happen. What do you think?
It's anyone's game. As Julia said, there are some drivers who maybe didn't do so well in the Nations Cup, getting another stab at it now in the manufacturers event. You're seeing all the guys having a little chat amongst themselves, just getting prepared. Of course, some people not used to being teammates here, although a lot of these guys are very much aware of each other. They race weekly in, of course, our regional series that we've been broadcasting as well. We're seeing a very nice pair of shoes and gloves combinations that the drivers were given to take part in this event. I want to reiterate that I would like a pair of those shoes and gloves. Last time I asked, I got told to go away and, well, slightly stronger go away.
Yeah, you'll have to get in line for that as well, because I think there's a few people here that are queuing up for them as well. It does look absolutely brilliant. All these drivers kitted out, of course, with the Gran Turismo Sport T-shirts as well, part of the FIA, of course, this being an FIA-affiliated part of the championship now as well. So let's see what will happen ahead of the final. It is final time then for the Manufacturers Cup here on GT Sport. An all-Japanese front row with Toyota leading Nissan at the Red Bull Ring. 17 laps. Blajan and Yamanaka-san behind the wheel of the Toyota Vision Gran Turismo FT1. Hizal and McCabe on the second position in the Nissan. Row 3, Law and Mangano. Let's see how they will fare in the Lamborghini. Then it is the Dodge of Klasic and Santiago, the Briton and the American. Peugeot, Garnier and Grady, very quick, but will the machinery be up to the task? BMW, Capraza and Tapai. Third row of the grid, De Jesus and Ithar Zarugasa. Alongside them, Barda and Castro in the Jaguar F-Type machine. Getting towards the back of the grid, Mercedes-Benz with Rincon and Nakao. And alongside Nakao and Rincon, it is Leonhardt and Miyazono. Final row of the grid, La and Kevin Richley. Very fast lineup that will be, and an all-German lineup as well. And Gorniak and Pierre Lenoir in the Volkswagen Vision Gran Turismo machine. A rolling start, 17 laps here at the Red Bull Ring in Austria. What do we reckon quickly, Jimmy, down towards that first turn?
Watch out for Nissan. Going to be very strong at the start, and I think that we're going to see a move on first before the end of the first lap.
Well, the drivers warming up their tyres, warming up their brakes, getting everything ready and underway. No passing, of course, until they come over the timing line. When that 3-second countdown comes on, we know that racing is about to go green. The manufacturer's final is underway here at the Red Bull Ring. Toyota lead the way, but who is going to get the slipstream? Who is going to get the jump down in towards that first turn and get the whole shot? It is Nissan that's still trying to challenge, but Toyota that lead the way into turn 1, but they've run it a little bit wide there, exceeding track limits. Let's see if they gain an advantage. Lamborghini up into second place as well. A brilliant exit for them. Nissan were compromised, and they're going for the race lead down in towards turn 3. BMW also losing ground in the opener. Down in towards turn 3. Lamborghini lead the way in the manufacturer's final. They're being pushed wide though by Toyota. They run it off, and look at Dodge, very close. Oh, and a spin as well. It's a spin for BMW. They go round at turn 3. That's them out of contention by the looks of it. And now it's Dodge that lead the way. Toyota, Lamborghini, Nissan, all trying to challenge. What a start to the race. Toyota into second, Nissan trying for third. Brilliant stuff.
Lamborghini runs a bit wide there on the exit, loses the place in Nissan. What a start from Dodge up to first position, really making the most of that V10 rumbling engine. Now ahead of Toyota, a little bit of a sloppy start really for Toyota. There's going to be a investigation between Renault and BMW. We saw that in the background. I don't think we've got a replay of it, but it looked like BMW really suffered there. Now down to 10th place, but meanwhile it's Dodge still leading the way. Toyota right on the rear wing though, coming into the double right-hander at the end of the course. Not really a place to overtake, so he'll follow through nice and easy. And I don't think I'll be saying this, but it looks like it's going to be Dodge that leads the first lap.
Well, that is very, very surprising. So let's see what the Dodge drivers are going to be able to do. Hopefully there'll be nothing that's dodgy. Meanwhile, Toyota have a penalty in second place then. So Renault have a penalty and Mazda have a penalty. 0.8 of a second for Toyota, as you can see. That'll come into effect when they come past the next yellow marker.
I think,
big slide!
On the curb there, just got the car a little bit loose. He's going to lose time now all the way up the straight to T2. I think that penalty came on T1 where he went a bit wide around the first corner, and I think the marshal went, nope, you aren't doing that. Dodge, though, leading nice and strongly from the front. This
Look at Lamborghini being under pressure by Peugeot as well into turn 3. Peugeot down the inside, they're up into 4th place.
Peugeot with a great move there, nice and easy, and of course Toyota still have to serve that penalty, so here comes Peugeot, here come the rest of the cars. Toyota sitting duck on the straight there after that penalty. There goes Peugeot into P3. The mighty pug, as they call it in the forums, is then accosted by the Lamborghini on the inside. Bright green, you can't miss that in your mirror. Peugeot hanging on the outside, which becomes the inside for the double left-hander for this middle section. These guys are starting as they mean to go on. Toyota coming back though, not quite enough room for an overtake.
Well, very close in this middle sector of the second lap. Don't forget, boys, there's still another 15 to go and a compulsory pit stop and driver change for them as well. So let's see how that will affect the dynamic of this race. Dodge, though, clear air out in front at the moment, Jimmy. 0.6 of a second advantage they have. Nissan, though, reading it in corner by corner.
We'll have to see what that Nissan has at this point. Dodge looking very strong around here. Here looking back from Team Peugeot. Lamborghini a bit slow there off the first right, sorry. Toyota now right in the wheel tracks. Lamborghini wide on the AstroTurf. That's going to slow him down. Here comes Toyota side by side then, coming up to T1. This should be a textbook pass. But that Lamborghini, that's got grunt in the straight line. It's still keeping with Toyota on the inside. Can it? Toyota there.
Oh, contact between them.
And wide goes the Lambo. Just about keeps it together. Wow. I thought he was going round there, Tom.
Wow, that was very close indeed. And you can see Jaguar are coming to join the party now as well by doing a bit of rally crossing as they come to the inside of the straight. Are they going to dart down the inside? Are they going to think about a lunge? They're just a bit too far back, I think, but you can guarantee they're going to try to. It's a great opportunity to try and get T-boned through there as well. Meanwhile, lots of action taking place further back.
BMW's actually starting to make its way back into the fray after that incident on the first lap, so this might not be it for them. It's back into the slipstream, which is where he needs to be to bring that manufacturer back up into contention. Meanwhile, we're looking at Jaguar and Mercedes there. Jaguar in that, of course, British racing green. What else would it be? And the AMG Merc close behind. This like Toyota has got past Lamborghini. Well, they got past at T1, but they've cemented that at the moment and now chasing down the mighty Peugeot in front.
Let's see what will happen. An incident under investigation between Lamborghini and Toyota as well. So let's see what will happen with this.
That was a T1, I think. I mean, that was the
incident we saw earlier on.
Yeah, so the steward's not quite happy with that. We'll see if anything comes of it. I'm not sure. Lamborghini has actually been given a little bit of a tap on the wrist, saying, "Come on, come down a bit."
And that can be pretty crucial as well, because if they do something like exceeding track limits, gain more of an advantage. Dodge, the race leaders, speaking of gaining an advantage, have got a penalty, and Nissan take over at the front. Well, big drama then. So the lead changes, and they're side by side down to the start-finish straight, down to the first corner. Nissan takes over at the front in this race. Wow!
Now the penalty zone isn't until coming midway down T2, so we aren't going to see the effect of that right now. I think what maybe happened, given that Nissan was right on the back of the Dodge, is they went a bit wide for the double right at the end of the course, went onto the AstroTurf out there and got the slow-down penalty. You can't do that. You can't extend the circuit in Gran Turismo Sport. You stay within the track limits, or you get one of these. And now look how this is going to affect Dodge, who were leading this race this time last lap, but Peugeot now are going to pop past, I think.
The crucial thing for Dodge here is that they actually had a little bit of a buffer over Peugeot. Not enough for Peugeot to not try a bit of a move, but they have the defensive line. They go side by side in the braking zone into T4, and Peugeot clean around the outside. What a bit of driving. Will he hold the inside line to the next corner? They're still side by side. Peugeot goes for the inside line, banging door handles they are, and Peugeot up into second.
I think the Peugeot isn't too keen on keeping its wind mirrors, it seems, and giving the Dodge a little bit of a wiggle out of there, saying, come on, mate, be a bit fairer than that. Dodge, though, first to third position, not a good lap for them.
And look at the crucial thing as well. Now Nissan have got some clear air out in front. They've pulled a 2-second advantage over the rest of the field.
Of course, doesn't help that Dodge had that penalty as well, but we'll see if they can claw it back. The thing is, the Dodge is quicker in a straight line, and I think pretty much anything on this circuit, maybe the Nissan is there as well. But now he's stuck behind the Peugeot.
Yeah, absolutely right. Meanwhile, we look at Team Toyota on the left-hand side of your picture. Let's see how these drivers are going to do. Don't forget, we've still got pit stops to come here. Still, these drivers have got to change their tyres, change drivers as well in the mid-stages of this race. Bit too early for that pit stop window to be open. Bit wide there for Toyota as well. They're very much on the ragged edge, considering they qualified in second position here, Jimmy, as well. They're not performing how we were expecting them to.
I was watching the Lamborghini in the background, actually. We'll get back to that in a second, because the Dodge is going to go to the inside. Here comes the Toyota as well. Look at the run. Look at the run on both these cars. On the Peugeot, not quite enough straight line speed in that bucket, it seems. Dodge goes to the inside. Oh, Peugeot nice and loose on the outside, but now the Dodge is going to show the grunt of that American muscle on the inside. It's going to pull past. Will he tow the totally not Supra with him? We'll wait and see. No, the Supra's
and look at Lamborghini as well.
There it is.
Lamborghini coming into the play there. They were thinking about a bit of a fancy move. There's an incident under investigation between BMW and Honda, and they're getting very close indeed for second and third place, and fourth and fifth. They're both running side by side, two pairs, and it's Peugeot down the inside of Dodge. It's almost Toyota down the inside of Lamborghini, but they have to back out of it. Peugeot still in second, Dodge in third, Lamborghini in fourth, and then Toyota in fifth.
Now, all the time these guys are squabbling, Nissan are going to just pull away in the background there. You just see him just driving out of the right of your picture. But here is Dodge. We've got second, third, fourth, fifth, all in your picture at the moment. Look how close this is. You can throw a blanket over these guys at the moment.
Oh, big squirrely front end moment there for Toyota. They had to take a couple of bites of the cherry, but they've got a great exit out of there as well, and are closing right up on the back of the Lamborghini. So let's see what happens as Lamborghini runs it again wide out of that final corner. Not the first time we've seen that. They're looking a little bit more ragged here as well.
Tyre wear starting to come in play. It's times 12 tyre wear around here, which means one lap is equivalent to 12 laps of wear of the tyre. Do the maths, and you can see the cars are struggling quite a bit. Lambo's getting out on that big sausage curb again. It's the car's getting loose and it's almost bottoming out, so not really a good way to do things, or skating across it, I should say. Toyota deep in the slipstream. Will he pull to the right? Very popular overtaking move. He does. Let's see if he's good on the brakes. No, he pulls back in and settles the fifth. But the AMG in the background says, I'm coming through. I'm not sure that was contact. I think they were very close, and the AMG from nowhere is now up to fifth.
Side by side they come down this straight then. This is going to be very telling to see whether they can hold that inside line. Look at Dodge and Peugeot just in the forefront of your shot there as well. Still going side by side for position. Dodge managing to hold on. Toyota trying to slice their way through. Mercedes up into fifth place, and a warning for Honda as well following a collision with the car. Big squirrely moments out of the right-hander as well for Mercedes. Look at them as we ride on board the Toyota, trying for the outside line, and Dodge and Peugeot have changed places in front as well. This is brilliant side-by-side racing between them. We ride on board with them, and the Toyota gets hung out to dry.
Right now, this is the right. Look at the BPM there. That's Blajan. 147 I just saw on street. He is really concentrating, and that heart will be beating out of his chest. I'm sure he's trying to calm himself down a bit. Mercedes goes defensive here. Are they pitting anyone on the right very early? No, he's not. So that line would have really compromised the AMG through there. As we now come on to the
penalty in front,
penalty
Jimmy,
for Dodge
as well.
again. Dodge again with another penalty. This is how they're losing this race.
Yeah, that's absolutely. The race has really kind of slipped through their fingers. They had such an advantage, and now they've lost out as well. Mazda, the first drivers, then the first team to blink. They go into the pit lane. Dodge with that penalty then, Jimmy. They're losing positions. They're hemorrhaging time. They could drop down to 8th position by the time they've served that time penalty.
They could do. We'll see very shortly. The penalty zone is coming up, so we'll see how that affects the standings. Meanwhile, Nissan still putting away at the front. The Peugeot just about keeping things. Jaguar with a big lunge in the background. Oh, he nearly clouted the Toyota, but just about managed to avoid it. So Dodge, here's a penalty, and now watch that Dodge just blow it down the other. There's contact.
Big contact! Big contact on the start on the straight then. Lamborghini and Dodge come to blows as the Dodge tries to serve its penalty. Lamborghini, well, that was big drama indeed. They both managed to keep it on the straight and narrow, but that incident is under investigation. Jimmy, you're shaking your head in the commentary box. What do you think?
It's just a ghosting there. All the drivers know that when the penalty is served, the car is going to ghost and then come back into play again, and the drivers behind just made no effort to avoid it. They just drove at it like it was going to stay like that. It was just a silly incident. It really was.
Well, there we go. Meanwhile, you can now see Mercedes in 3rd position. Toyota have inherited 4th place. Lamborghini and Dodge, the big losers, of course, following that one. Lamborghini in 5th, Dodge now in 7th position. Jaguar sandwiching, or the filling in the sandwich between the two at the moment. Meanwhile, Nissan running away with this one. 2.5 seconds nearly the advantage they have. An incident involving BMW and Jaguar, meanwhile, is now under investigation by the racing stewards.
I wonder how long it's going to be before we see our top guys come in. We're on lap 8 now, so either end of this lap or end of the next. Volkswagen coming in from P10, so not really much to put there. Toyota getting nice and loose again on the exit. The thing is, these tyres are really starting to go now. A lot of these guys don't run traction control. We've had that discussion with them before because they think it's faster. Problem is, of course, once the tyres start to wear and you're still planting the throttle out of these tight corners, the car is going to skid, going to slide, and that's what you're seeing right now.
Well, that is exactly right, and you can see just how much they are struggling for traction. They are struggling for grip out of those slower corners. Out of turn 3, that's the AMS corner. It's a very slow corner, that one. You have to pull up on the anchors quite heavily, shift down the gearbox to about 2nd, or maybe even 1st, depending on what gear ratios you are running into there, and then you get onto the power, and when you've got no grip underneath you, it can be a very hair-raising moment. We're looking at the Toyota. Meanwhile, look at the heartbeat for Blajan here, 152 beats per minute. I tell you what, he's going to be lucky that he doesn't have a Connery at this rate.
Well, he's awake, I can tell you that. Something's working out for him. Blajan, one of the quick guys from the last World Tour at the Nürburgring. Great to see him again be at the sharp end of the field. Nissan, though, at the moment, still the ones to beat.
Look at the way he's working that wheel there, Jimmy, as well. He's really struggling for traction here, is Blajan at the moment.
Down we come in.
Yeah, down towards the right-hander. Let's see what happens. Let's see if anybody does decide to blink. No, none of the leaders, but Toyota do blink then. They're going to try for the undercut here, Jimmy.
That looked like a bit of a quick decision there, so I wonder if he got a tap on the shoulder like, right, in you get. So it'll be one of the Japanese drivers replacing him.
Yep, that's looks like Yamanaka that's getting into there. No, it could be Nakao, in fact. Let's see if we can piece together what's happened. There's Miyazono into the box as well. So lots of cars coming in. Renault, Honda, Dodge, Lamborghini, Toyota, all into the pit lane then, and all coming out now as well. So let's see how this will fare.
So we have 2 groups really now. 2 groups who have decided to peel off from the rest. And the undercut is a thing around here. Bear in mind that Nissan is running on its own. There's no slipstream for that. It's not being pulled along. So the undercut could be quite effective around here. But the thing is, Nissan will probably be in next lap. He'll also be able to know that these guys have already pitted in. So he'll have that information on his screen. So he'll be thinking, right, okay, let's get ready. Let's get into the pits now. And then maybe we'll come out in front.
And surely the main thing is he's not going to think about, they're not going to gain 2.5 seconds on him over the space of a lap. That's near an impossibility, especially around such a short lap as this. So let's see whether Nissan do decide to blink. He'll know with the information he's got in his cockpit that the other drivers have blinked, that they have pitted. So let's see whether this does prove to be the case here this evening rather, I should say. Nissan now lead the way from Peugeot, from Mercedes-Benz. You can see the top 5 there haven't pitted. Are they all going to come in on lap 9 out of 17? We're over the halfway stage. You can see over to the right-hand side as well, Nissan coming into the pits then. So they do decide to blink on this lap. Will they lose some of the margin that they had? Remember, it was over 3 seconds at one point before they started the pits. Let's see whether it's over 3 seconds by the time they exit the pit lane.
There's Cecile there getting out of the car, handing over to McKay. Little fist bumps. They come on, go, mate, we did this once, let's do it again. That'll be a satisfying result, I think, for Mick. He had a bad run in the Nations Cup with his fellow Germans, and now having a bit of a better run here today. So Peugeot in as well. who comes out first. So it's going to be Nissan out first, Peugeot in second. I think Jaguar still not pitted and going around, going for the longer strategy, it seems. Didn't really work out for them at the St. Croix circuit. I wonder if it will help them out here at all. Toyota coming around. Let's see how things have played out. It is Nissan in front of Peugeot, in front of Mercedes, and Toyota down in what will be a net 5th position once Jaguar pits in.
So let's see what will happen then. The last 7 laps of this final here at the Red Bull Ring. Mercedes on the defensive from Toyota. Look at the drive that Toyota have gotten out of turn number 3. Look at the more traction that they have behind the wheel of that machine as well. They're looking like they're going to try and think about a bit of a move before too long here as Honda get the better of Lamborghini for 7th.
Yeah, a couple of penalties being served there as well. I think that's why Honda passed. And here is on board from Team Toyota, absolutely eating up that gap to the AMG in front, peels to the inside. I would have sent it there if it were me, but that's why I'm not here. He does it anyway, up inside. Oh!
Big contact, they're both off. The Mercedes into the gravel trap. Toyota stay on the circuit. A penalty is definitely going to be coming the way then of Toyota, and more contact coming back onto the track as well with Honda.
I think the AMG got a little bit scared there, a little bit flustered by that incident, and you know, I would say that's fair enough, but didn't get back on the throttle. So here we go, Toyota goes up the inside. He just didn't brake for the corner.
Yeah, he didn't slow down enough, did he? I mean, you can say you saw Mercedes turn in there. He was just going for his normal racing line at that point.
Yeah, that'll be a for sure penalty.
Jaguar in the pits as well, Jimmy.
Jaguar now fall down the order. I don't think they're anywhere near the front at this point. But Nissan, the gap still about 2.6 seconds. The thing is, the gap now to everyone else is, it's about 6 seconds behind the Peugeot. So really, Peugeot are the only challengers right now. And in a straight fight around here, I don't think that car is capable.
No, I'm inclined to agree with you there, Jimmy. So let's see what will happen. Nissan still leading the way. As you say, they don't have that straight line speed advantage to Peugeot in second position.
Okay, so Nissan on your screen right now. 3 seconds, the American driver McCabe in right now. There's a gap, and Jaguar wide there after the exit of the pit. Possibility cold tyres. They are a thing in Gran Turismo Sport. You come out the pits, you try and push too quickly, you're going to end up finding yourself on the grass, and that's not the first time we've seen a Jaguar fall off a circuit.
Yeah, exactly right. So
and again, there you go, understeer.
So all drivers now, Jimmy, have pitted towards the end of this one. Look at Mercedes now getting the better of Jaguar in the latter stages of this one. Like candy from a baby, Mercedes now trying, of course, that recovery drive more than anything. They're just trying to salvage some kind of a decent result, really, at the end of this manufacturer's final, following it being, well, I think rather cruelly, I think it's fair to say, taken away from them. But look who they're now right behind. They're right behind Honda. And let's see what's going to happen. Toyota with a penalty as well there, Jimmy.
Yep, we saw that coming a mile away. That was for the lunge at the first left-hander in the middle sector. So that will be another blow to their campaign. That's going to probably lose them quite a few positions from that. But we'll wait and see from there. Here is, again, McCabe leading the field, 150 BPM. He's feeling the pressure too, but we've seen already he can drive maturely. All he's got to do is take this around a couple more laps, and that will be a manufacturer's final win.
Absolutely.
For the Nissan.
Yeah, brilliant performance from them, as you can see. And McCabe doing everything he can, doing everything absolutely right as well. He's just increasing that advantage lap after lap. Now sits at 3.8 seconds out in front. This GT3 car going on an absolutely brilliant battle as well for 7th place. Jaguar versus Lamborghini. Lamborghini on the outside, Jaguar on the inside as they go side by side almost there as well. Toyota serving their penalty. They drop now down to 4th position and now into 5th position as well as Honda goes streaming on through.
Yep, that was what we expected, down to 6th now. Dodge, who are coming back after their penalties earlier on, I can't help but think a race of what if for them. If they were a bit cleaner, they're maybe a bit further up towards the end of the field, but it's not over yet. It's not over till it's over. We have just under 5 laps remaining now. Anything can happen still at this stage.
Yeah, it certainly can there, Jimmy, as you say. So let's see what indeed will happen. So it's going to be very interesting between these guys and see what will happen with Toyota as well. We know how aggressive they have been on several occasions really throughout the course of this one. And now, of course, they're sitting really behind the main reason that they are down in 6th position.
They are, and they'll probably be thinking, you know what, I should be in front of these guys. What is important now is to not have the red mist descend. It's very easy in these races, tensions are high. Someone gives you a bit, you think, you know what, I'm going to give him a biff back. That's not how you do things in racing. You have to rise above it, and I'm happy to say we haven't seen anything like that at all over the course of the entirety of the Gran Turismo World Tours.
Well, as I said on the sportsmanship video, sportsmanship is very important. And of course, you don't do things that make you look bad.
It's important that you don't become a missile.
Absolutely. Oh, that was one of the lines, wasn't it? Oh, it was such a long time ago we voiced that now, I tell you. Brings back memories, it does. Meanwhile, Mercedes then squirreling the rear end out of turn number 3. The AMS corner there, a very difficult zone there to get on the power, especially when you've got tyres that are a bit like chewing gum at the moment.
The driver's going through there in second gear. I'm just spying over onto the rigs. I think first gear's a little bit too much, maybe a little bit too short through there. And second gear is better for traction. So this is where we saw Team Toyota have a bit of a stab up the inside. They're not quite as close this time, but given the speed he carried before, I wouldn't be surprised if he tried again. No, a bit more sensible this time. Follows the AMG through.
Meanwhile, we can see on our screen as well that Jaguar are still trying to get the better of Lamborghini here as well. So it's interesting as well because Jaguar haven't necessarily had the pace as we've seen so far over the course of the weekend, really, and over this manufacturer's final. It has been a very, very tricky time for them.
I tell you what, just thinking over the drivers now, a lot of drivers, of course, standing over haven't driven their stint. It is one of the most awkward feelings when you're standing there and watching someone else drive the car. You might trust them, but it's not you in control, and that's always a little bit of a heart beating. I would like to see the BPM on the guys that are watching as well.
Absolutely, I would too.
Here we go then, down to T1. AMG still defending from Toyota. AMG's got quite a bit of grunt in the straight line, it seems, so the Toyota isn't really able to do anything on these long straights apart from have a little bit of slipstream come in, but Toyota seems to be a lot better under braking, which is why the gap comes back down again.
Yeah, certainly so. Well, let's see what will happen in these last few laps of it. You can see, look how much gap that Toyota closes up. They are going to lose that on traction again, and it is going to increase once more, but still.
I've got to say, the Mercedes drivers are very animated. We've seen some wheel juggling from him today, and no exception. Let's see how he is then down to T3. Heavy on the brakes, turn the car to the left, nice and soft. Let's try and get one turn in, one turn out. Do we get it? There you go, that's more like it. That's what we like to see. A lot smoother. Toyota's still there in the background. And here is on board with the Toyota. A lot higher pitch engine noise compared to the AMG. Nice camera. It's great to see the wheel work being put in, literal wheels on your screen right now. Nice and tight to this curb, then try and straight line this as much as possible without running over the curb. The curbs are quite slippy around here, as you're seeing, as the Team Toyota driver just gets on. Really using every inch of road around here and a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely right. They really are pushing the limits to the extreme, as you say. So let's see what will happen in these last few laps. Toyota really closing up on the back. Let's have a look at the lap times, actually, Jimmy, the last time around as well. We haven't mentioned that so far this evening. Toyota, last time around, was a 1:30.934. Mercedes-Benz just a couple of tenths of a second slower, but as they come over the line, is that going to change between them in terms of the times? No, it stays pretty much the same, so no way through for Toyota, especially if they're only going a couple of tenths of a second faster so far.
You know who has the fastest lap so far? It's a Dodge.
Well, that's...
that says it all for them, really. They have the fastest lap, they're down in third. That sort of shows you how their race has gone. They did so well on the first lap to put themselves in position to fight for the win, but then a couple of silly mistakes, a couple of penalties, and now they're down in third. And unless something big happens at the front, we're probably not going to see any change there. Meanwhile, it's not over. The battle for 7th here, of course. No prizes for anywhere below 3rd, but now it's bragging rights. It's pride at this point. 7th position is still 7th position at the Gran Turismo World Tour, which is not bad. If it were me, I'd probably be somewhere off the back here, off the back 12.
Oh, I'd have been going the wrong way round by now. I'll tell you something about that.
We'd have to take you out the back and dispose of you, Tom, if you driving.
Completely right. I wouldn't have made it this far to get here, Jimmy, let's be honest. Meanwhile, Jaguar there in 8th position. You can see them, again, that front-engine car, it's not looking too bad so far, but the mid-engined Lamborghini, the Huracan, is just looking a little bit more composed. However, I say it's looking composed, but we have seen a few wider moments, a few more ragged moments, where they've just been pushing the limits a bit too hard over the course of this one.
Well, this is the tyre wear coming into play, of course. Getting to this point on the stint, the tyres are going to feel like, they're going to feel horrible. They're going to feel very warm, very slippery, and the cars are going to handle something more akin to a 60s Formula car.
Yeah, they'll be understeering like a shopping trolley, won't they? Going through a certain...
I always oversteer mine.
Oversteer your shopping trolley? Yeah, what kind of shopping are you putting in?
You've got to tip it in.
What's your weight distribution like? I want to find that one out, I'll tell you. Meanwhile, out of the first corner, Jaguar closing up on the back of Lamborghini. Again, Lamborghini pushing the limits just a bit too far out of that first corner. You can see them struggling for traction, but then just the might of that engine just gives them just enough of a cushion so they're not challenged into the next turn.
Look,
meanwhile, speaking of challenging into turns, Mazda rather I should say, and BMW going side by side. Mazda sails it down the inside. Do they hold on to the position? Volkswagen, they think about getting involved in this action there as well. And as they come down the straight, we could see a three-way scrap for position going on here. Very, very nicely indeed.
Mazda to the inside then to defend. It could be a matter of discourse. BMW after a bit of a poor race so far, looking to salvage at least something. Looks to the outside at T3, doesn't quite make it. The VW looks gets involved as well there. Tries to stick a nose in, but is firmly denied. Now, will the BMW try and have a look up the inside here? Not usually a place to overtake as we've seen so far. No, Mazda's got it covered at this point, so we're not far off coming on to our last lap. Penultimate lap right now. Our leader is just coming round the final corner. So for the Nissan camp, it's going to be just one more lap. They've got a 5-second gap at the moment, and all that stands between themselves and manufacturer's victory is one lap of the Red Bull Ring.
Meanwhile, Jaguar versus Lamborghini is hotting up onto the last lap then, so let's see how they're going to be able to fare around the Austrian hillside circuit. Very, very close indeed between them. Meanwhile, Mercedes-Benz and Toyota exchanging positions for 4th and 5th. They've got a bit of history in this race, let's be honest. Down the start-finish straight we go. Jaguar having to pull to the outside as Lamborghini take the defensive line in towards turn number 1. Will they get the cutback? Will they get the drive out of there? The main thing is they're not really going to get anything going down into the AMS corner. What they need to do, really, is just try and bide their time, get the slipstream going down in towards the turn that follows.
Yep, I'm not sure it's going to be on at this point. We'll have a look. What's the Jaguar? What the intentions are, I wonder. Looks to the inside, kind of half-heartedly. Gets on the brakes, but not really anywhere to go there. Just trying to close the gap, I think.
Good exit, good exit.
Saying that, the Lamberts are a terrible corner through there. Now they're side by side. Who's got the grunt? It's Italy versus UK manufacturers here coming down to T3. Jaguar's got the inside line. It's only for 7th, but it's one more place in the air before Lambo looks to the outside to try and keep it round there. What a camera angle this is. A bit of contact. Lambo forced wide, loses not 1 but 2 positions, and here comes the VW.
Wow, very exciting racing indeed, and Mazda are going to try and get themselves up into 7th place before the end of this one. Will they have the time to do so? Will they have the opportunity to do so there as well? Meanwhile, no problems for the race leader, Nissan. 5 seconds the advantage they have coming into the final corner. Adam McCabe driving behind the wheel of the Nissan GT-R, and out of the final corner and over the line to take victory in the Manufacturers' Cup here tonight. An absolutely brilliant result, and he and his teammates, wow, what an end, what a race, what dominance from them. Peugeot rather I should say, and Dodge complete the podium. Mercedes-Benz ahead of Toyota, ahead of Honda. Jaguar 7th on the line, just by the skin of their teeth, ahead of Mazda. Lamborghini in 9th. Volkswagen in 10th, BMW in 11th, and Renault completing the top 12 finishers.
I loved watching that celebration there. You saw that McKay put his hand up in the air to say, yes, we've won. And then Lightning was like, no, you haven't won just yet, get to the line. There's a man who's seen defeat before.
Absolutely brilliant stuff. Very, very big congratulations then to the 2 teammates in the Nissan. The Manufacturers' Cup then here this evening in Salzburg at Red Bull's Hangar 7. Won by Nissan. A brilliant race, a brilliant couple of races for them. They won both of the races that they were competing in, and you can see exactly why. It was just fantastic stuff, and that's exactly why they're here this evening as well.
Great to see their handshakes all around. Look at them, they're really happy. Look at them.
Look at that.
That's great to see.
Several handshakes, several ones, absolutely.
When one isn't enough.
When one isn't enough, give them 5. Absolutely brilliant. So that was just incredible, wasn't it? From start to finish, over the course of this evening, we've had some fantastic racing. The Nations Cup, the Manufacturers' Cup, quite easily now won, of course, by Nissan, as we know, having taken victory from that final. Just quickly, what have been your standout points? Let's go of this particular final there, Jimmy.
So, of course, Dodge was the one to watch on that one, making early moves. Everyone went a little bit wide there at T2, and Dodge on the inside, taking advantage, of course, in the background. BMW losing their race right there and then after contact. But Dodge, the big victor, up into P1 after the first couple of corners.
Meanwhile, this was lap number 2. This was Lamborghini trying to get the better of Peugeot. Very close racing indeed. Close quarters between them. Jaguar and Toyota also close behind in that particular moment of the race there as well. This was Peugeot sailing it down the inside of Lamborghini. Fantastic stuff from all involved through there. And then Toyota getting the better of Lamborghini as they come down in towards the first corner.
Yeah, very tight through there. Lambo getting onto the sausage curb and getting a bit sideways, losing momentum, which of course allowed the Jaguar to close up as well. But from there, Jaguar Peugeot goes into the grass a bit, not quite sure what he was thinking. Tried this rallycross, as you said earlier on, didn't quite pay off, and there is a little view there.
He's not giving us the finger.
Manny Rodriguez. No, that's just his finger. And then we have Peugeot taking Dodge up the inside there. A great move. We only saw one other move around here like that. I'm sure you're going to see what that was very shortly.
Yeah, it certainly will, without a doubt, as you say there. So that was Dodge, really. They had the race kind of in the bag in the early stages, but a couple of unforced errors sadly put them out of contention. This was Toyota versus Mercedes in the early stages of this particular one. Just coming up towards the mid-stage of this run, lap 6 out of 17. You can see how much these two were battling. They were very close on circuit before the pit stops, and this was Dodge getting a penalty. And this was one of a few penalties there actually were given over the course of that race.
Contact.
And this was the big incident with Lamborghini.
Yeah, a bit of a tricky one there. The car ghosted, and of course Lamborghini wasn't quite paying attention, I don't think, and then actually ran into the back of Dodge. You can see there, Mangano not looking too happy about that incident, as I wouldn't be either, shaking of their heads. But that is racing. Toyota came in then from being ninth, tried an early pit stop. It sort of paid off. They gained a couple of places from it. You see real-time driver swaps. Don't really get that online, but look at that teamwork there, putting his headphones on for him. Very cool.
Yeah, very nice indeed. Hopefully they were the right way round. You could see as they came out of the pit lane there as well, what was the upshot going to be? Well, Toyota were in 5th place, and this was the big incident at the side of the race for Toyota, really. Straight into the side of Mercedes at the left-hander, and that really was good night Vienna for the Japanese manufacturer. Mercedes going off the track, losing ground, losing positions, and a penalty handed out. And of course, insult to injury, they had another crash with a Honda as they came back onto the track.
They have a phrase in oval racing: cautions, precautions, accident, accidents. Here was the Jaguar on the final lap of the race, looking up the inside of the Lamborghini after a poor exit from T2 from a Lambo. Goes to the inside. Lambo goes a little bit wide, slides on the exit, and actually loses 2 places to both the Jaguar and the Mazda.
Well, very, very big drama, but absolutely no doubt regarding the Nissan. A fantastic result for the two teammates. Over the line they came to take a dominant victory in the manufacturer's final. And look at what it meant to them. This was the delight. Look at that. Absolute elation on the face of both drivers. Superb racing up and down the field in that manufacturer's series. The final standings then, of course, see Nissan on top ahead of Peugeot, Dodge in 3rd position, Mercedes-Benz finishing in 4th place there, Jimmy. Top 5 completed by Toyota.
Not a bad run there at all, and it's great to see such a varied list of manufacturers there. Of course, in the end, it was Japanese manufacturer that rules out from the French. I'm sure the French commentators wouldn't like that too much, a couple of booths down, but well earned, and very good to see a popular winner here as well.
Absolutely fantastic stuff. Well, it's been an enthralling evening. We've had a brilliant, brilliant time here. Jimmy, thank you so much for your company this evening.
It's always been great of you, Tomo. Love it.
Absolute stuff. So from Jimmy Broadbent and from myself, Tom Brooks, thank you so much for joining us up here in the commentary box. But let's head now back over to Jack and Julia.
Welcome back to the floor here. Yes, what a spectacular final championship race we had there, and it gives me the great pleasure to bring on our winning teams for the Manufacturer Series. In 3rd place, could we please welcome on the team from Dodge? Big round of applause. And in 2nd place, we have Peugeot. And our Manufacturer Series winners. Let's bring on the team from Nissan. Yes, there they are, looking very pleased with themselves. Winning both of their races, of course. Look at the camaraderie here, it's fantastic. Everyone's just got on so well. Some superb sportsmanship all the way through from start to finish. It really has been a great event. Get a few pictures there, savor the moment. Okay, so we now have Stephanie Lunkner, who's going to be handing out our 3rd place award to Dodge. She is our chief steward. So big round of applause to Dodge there. Well done. Thank you so much, Stephanie. And then we have Stefan Filastra, who's the head of brand from the FIA, handing out our 2nd place award, and that goes to Peugeot. Congratulations. Woo! Oh, yes. And Yamauchi-san handing out our winners, Nissan. Big round of applause. big congratulations to all of our competitors here at the GT World Tour. Everyone has done exceptionally well. Just taking a few photos there. Desperate to talk to our winners, but obviously they need to get those all-important pictures. So we're going to have a quick chat now with our winners. Team Nissan, come down here, come and talk to me.
Just the winners, just the winners.
Come stand with me. Right, face this way. Let's talk to the world. How do you feel, Izal?
Amazing, speechless. I'm really speechless. I mean,
really?
Yeah.
Did you not expect to win? You seem a bit shocked.
Really, I wasn't. Honestly, I didn't thought about winning here, man. Honestly, because I was practicing like less than 10 minutes or so on the practice session. So on my stand, I was kind of like figuring out where the braking points were, but yeah, it was down to the consistency and probably due to luck because of the other competitors having a penalty. And I was just trying not to get a penalty, but man, yeah.
That's exactly the reaction we want. How do you feel?
I have no idea what to feel like right now. I would have been happy with just getting last, honestly.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
I was just here to have fun, but a win is a win. So I'm really proud of this guy and
same.
How was it working together?
It was pretty cool. Yeah.
Because we both are teammates in as a sim racing team, so yeah. It's awesome.
Well, I mean, you did so well. Obviously, you won both, so congratulations, you guys. You go and celebrate. Off you go. Well done. Well done. Fantastic job. Fantastic job. Big round of applause for our winners once more. Wow. 2 championships, 1 evening. They're just going to hang out in the background. They don't want to get off the TV.
You want to wrap it up?
You can. 2 championships in 1 evening. It has been an absolutely fantastic evening of racing here. So wonderful to see everyone working so well together. Great sportsmanship and some really edge-of-the-seat races as well.
The racing has been fantastic. And one thing I haven't even thought of or mentioned is just how amazing the game has looked tonight. You know, that's something that's blown my mind. It looks absolutely phenomenal. But congratulations to Hungary, congratulations to Team Nissan.
Yeah.
They're our big winners for the evening. But I mean, this
how is it for you actually? You know, obviously coming, from real motorsport and coming into the kind of Gran Turismo world. How have you found it?
I thought the racing was phenomenal. I thought it was really clean. It was really good. And this is only the World Tour, a standalone event, and it's given us this much racing. We're now going to go on to the regional finals and the world finals, which you'll be able to follow across the Gran Turismo website and YouTube and that kind of thing.
It's going to be amazing. Obviously, yeah, all to play for still, coming into the final Worlds at the end. Just remains to say thank you so much to all of our teams. Thank you to everyone here for watching, the entire crew, Yamauchi-san, Gran Turismo team, Polyphonic Digital, to my co-host Jack Nichols, and to everyone and you guys there at home. Thank you for joining us. We will see you again next time on the Gran Turismo World Tour.